I just finished watching the Avengers, Age of Ultron movie in the theater. I never knew why, but I find myself to lean towards villain, and my new favorite villain of all time is Ultron. I find him to be the best villain ever. He was better than any other villain I know of, in the DC or Marvel Universe movies I have watched. He has the intelligence and power to be the greatest ever. He has control over an army of robots, and greater intelligence than Tony Stark. As I was walking out of the movie theater and walking towards my car, I heard a scream behind me. I turned around to see a woman running. As I watched her run right past me, I felt a great pain in my chest. I turned my head back forward to see a man with a knife in his hand and the blade in my chest. With the last of my fading strength, I punched the guy right in the throat. The man started to choke and couldn't breathe. I then took the knife out of my chest and sliced his throat. The man started gushing blood out of his throat. He looked at me with his eyes that looked like he didn't believe what just happened. I smiled at the man with an evil grin, said, "If I am going to die because of a piece of shit like you, I'll take you with me." The man fell after I said that. I chuckled when I saw him grasping for air since I cut his windpipe, but I suddenly fell to the ground as well. As the pain in my chest grew worse, I thought, so this is how I am going to die. I don't want to die. Why must this happen to me? I wish I could be like Ultron. That way I can be immortal and not die. Then the world around me slowly turned black. I slowly started waking up, and I felt my head was all fuzzy. As I was opening my eyes, I found myself laying down, looking up at the sky. As I sat up, I find myself looking at a strange sight in front of me. I see trees all around me. In front of me are trees. To my left are trees. My right are trees. No matter what I look or tree, it looked like I was in a forest for some reason. I thought if I was going to survive that moron bastard's knife attack, I would wake up in a hospital. But why the hell am I in a forest? I thought to myself, did that fucking moron try to dump my body in the middle of a forest to be eaten? I raised my hand to massage my forehead, but when I was raising my hand, I saw a metal hand coming at my face. I was surprised, and I fell backwards trying to get away from the metal hand. After I am back laying on the ground again, I started to calm down very quickly. I then looked at the metal hand leading to a metal arm and continued looking to find that it was connected to me. I looked at both of my hands and arm, which both turned out to be made out of metal. I sat back up again and looked down at my leg, which also turned out to be made of metal as well. I looked down at my torso to see it also made out of metal, and then I looked at my crotch area, and I saw the worst to ever happen to a man, saw that I am now DIC class. I suddenly screamed, "No, where's my DCK? How am I supposed to lose my virginity now?" After a few seconds of panicking, my emotions strangely subsided very quickly, and after I calmed down, I started looking around, and I spotted a river to my right. I slowly walked to the river and stood over it. My jaw opened wide because the reflection is showing me an image of Ultron. The Ultron I am looking at is the first version of Ultron from the Avengers movie. I suddenly remember that right as I was dying I wished to be like Ultron and be unable to die. I said to myself, so my wish really did come true, but I really wish I could change it now, or I could have been given a choice of what I could have been reincarnated as. I can't believe I died of virginity at the age of 21 inch. I started thinking about what to do now, so I started looking around my surroundings. While I was looking around, I started to wonder where the hell I am. When I thought of that, I heard a ding in my head. Then a robotic female voice started talking in my head. System download complete. Welcome to the world of Arkansas. You are currently in the continent known as the continent of Ho, aka the continent of fire. It's one of the 6 continents of this world. The Supreme Ultron system. System download complete. Welcome to the world of Arkansas. You are currently in the continent known as the continent of Ho, aka the continent of fire. It's one of the 6 continents of this world. Who the hell are you? I said. I swiftly started looking around for the voice that said that when I realized that the voice seems to be coming from my mind. The robotic female voice started talking in my head again. I am a system known as the Supreme Ultron system. It is my job to help you become the ultimate Ultron in this universe. Why did I become Ultron, and why was I reincarnated and did go to heaven? I asked the system. The system started talking in my head and said, you were reincarnated as Ultron because you wished for it, and the god of your world decided to be merciful to you and grant your wish and not send you to heaven since it was what you wished for. I then replied, but why did he decide to grant my wish out of all the people of my world? The reason why your wish was granted was because you were a good person in your last life. You gave money to the helpless, helped build homes for the homeless, started charities to help mankind, and etc. You did so much to help others that your god decided to give you an award for those good deeds. Replied the Ultron system. Okay, that explains why my wish was granted. So what am I supposed to call you then? Calling you system would be too boring. I asked. I am now a part of you, just like a OS system for a computer, so you can call me anything you want. I see, I said. I started to think of a name for my system, and then a light bulb went off in my head. I have decided your name. Your name will be Asus. I firmly stated. Asus, how did you come with that name? Asus asked. It's an abbreviation of your name. A Supreme Ultron system, aka Asus. What did you think of your name? Asus, I like it. It's kind of catchy. Asus said to me. So what are the functions that you have? I asked. Okay, host. My functions included our status page, inventory, resource detector, map, recycling function, and finally the shop function. Said Asus. Okay, show me my status page first. I asked. Status. Name, Ultron. Race, Android. Cultivation, rank 1 apprentice warrior / rank 1 apprentice magician. Experience points, 0 out of 100. Intelligence, 145 IQ. Body material, common steel. Powers, superhuman strength, superhuman durability, infinite stamina, flight, energy blast, technology manipulation, and hive mind system. Skills, occupation, none. Okay, my status seemed fine for now, but before I start exploring your other functions I need to ask. Do I get anything like a beginner's pack or a starter kit or something? I curiously asked. Yes, you do. It's called the Ultron Starter Pack. You will get 4 different gifts selected at random. Do you wish to open your Ultron Starter Pack now? Asked Asus. Do you wish to open your Ultron Starter Pack now? Asus asked. Of course I want to open it now, I quickly shouted. Now opening Ultron Starter Pack. Ding. Host just received. 1x large size factory. 1x Chitauri gravity manipulation technology knowledge. 1x hive satellite. 5x healing potions. I looked at the gifts that I just received. So what is this large sized factory all about? I asked Asus. She then stated, the large size factory is where you can set up a factory to build your Ultron sentries. A small size factory can build 10 Ultron sentries a day. The medium size factory can build 100 a day. A large size factory can build 1,000 a day. An extra large size factory can build 10,000 in a day. And the last factory you can get is called the Supreme Factory, which can build 1 million in a day. You are lucky to get a large size factory since it would have costed you 20,000 kill points in the shop. But to build your factory, you need to find a metal or vein to place the factory on top of, then the factory will appear. That's fantastic. I can have a small army in 1 month. Okay, what about this Chitauri gravity technology and hive satellite? And why the hell do I need health potions when I am a machine? Can they still work for me then since I was given them? And finally, how do I collect kill points? I asked Asus. First, is the Chitauri gravity technology is from the first Avengers movie, which was what the alien invaders used to fight, and how the giant leviathans flew. In the Age of Ultron movie, Ultron used that technology in his hands to manipulate gravity as a weapon, and he used it to make a giant device, to pull the city of Sokovia out of the ground, and tried to use I as a meteorite to wipe out the human race. Stated Asus. Second, the Hive satellite is a satellite that will help you greatly. It will help you able to transfer your consciousness to any Ultron sentry that is 1,000 miles away from where it is positioned in space. Once it is in position in space, it can't be moved. You can still transfer your consciousness to an Ultron sentry at least 10 miles away from you, but the satellite can help you transfer farther away, within range, and the satellite can be used as a spy satellite to spy on your enemies, and to scout the terrain or territory within the 1,000-mile radius, which can connect to your map and help expand your map. Explained Asus. Also, your map will show living being as dots. If the dot is red, then it means it a hostile living being. Gray means neutral, and blue means friendly. Thirdly, the health potions are useless to you, since you are an inorganic being, so yes, they are basically useless. The health potions will only work on an organic living being. Asus said. Lastly, to earn kill points, when you or any of your Ultron sentries kill a living being, you will get 1 kill point for each living being that is killed. Also, no matter if you kill a strong living being or weak living being, it will always be 1 kill point for each kill. I started getting mad and angrily asked, then why would I be getting something that is basically useless to me if I can't use it? Then what is the point in me receive something I can't use? Well, you can use your recycling function to recycle it as resources or points, which is a function of your recycling function. You can recycle something back to the materials that made it, or you also turn it into killing points, but the value will be lower. Another option is save it for a special occasion or sell it for resources or spirit stones in this world. You just have to find a way to make it useful, explained Asus. Okay, I understand most of everything now, so open up my map. I want to see where the hell I am now, I asked. When I opened my map, I could see a map that looks like something you would see on Google Map in its satellite mode. As I scrolled out a little, I saw that a radius of 1 mile around me is clear and the rest of the map is blacked out. It seems that this map is like the maps from video games such as Diablo, where you have to walk and light up the area on the map. Okay, let's get going now. I can't just stay here, I stated. I then started following the river upstream. As I started walking upstream of the river, I stepped on a bug when I heard a ding. Ding, you killed a beetle. You earned 0.5 XP and 1 KP. After I checked the notification, I lifted my foot and saw a squashed beetle. That was some easy XP. Maybe I can find some kind of bug colony around here and gain a lot of easy experience points and kill points. As I started looking around hoping to find a bug colony, I couldn't find anything through my sight, so I looked on the map, but I couldn't find anything, so I started going upstream again. As I was walking, I started looking through the shop page and found there are 3 sections in the shop page. The first section of the shop is called the knowledge shop, which contains the knowledge of technology, which means once I have the knowledge, I will be able to create the item. The knowledge I can buy ranges from movies and games like the Halo games to Star Wars. I found I could buy the knowledge of lightsaber, but that costs around 14,000 KP. I found the knowledge of Star Destroyers, which cost 50,000 KP, and the knowledge of Death Star, which cost 300,000 KP. I started looking at the cheaper knowledges. I found the knowledge of modern tanks, which was 500 KP, but with the knowledge I gained from the system about this world, it seems that modern weapons from my world are useless here, since they are way less powerful compared to magicians and warriors. I started looking at the second section called the metal shop, contains metals I can buy. I found out that I can buy metals ranging from titanium to vibranium to URU to metals I have never heard of. I then looked at vibranium, which turns out to be a silver rank metal in this world. URU, which was the metal that Thor's hammer is made out of, is gold rank. I found that these metals are very cheap to buy only because I have to buy the metal by pounds. So 1 pound of vibranium cost 1,000 KP, and 1 pound of URU is 10,000 KP. For the third section called the item shop, I can buy items ranging from weapons like lightsabers or laser guns, magic items, potions, and factories. As I was scrolling through the item shop, I found the gems called the Infinity Stones and an item called the Infinity Gauntlet at the very bottom of the shop. The gauntlet cost around 5 million KP, but the gems cost around 10 million KP each. I have never heard of this Infinity Gauntlet, and I knew about the Mind Stone from the Avengers movie. So I asked Asus, what are all of these Infinity Stones and this Infinity Gauntlet for, and why do they cost so much? Asus replied by saying, the Infinity Stones and Infinity Gauntlet are a weapon. Once you collected all of the Infinity Stones and add them to the Infinity Gauntlet, you will have the power of a god, which just a snap of a finger, you can destroy this world or half of this world's population. I was odd about this info. I started thinking of ways of earning KP to buy these items, but I decided not to because it would take forever to earn those points, and I can use the points to buy a lot of other useful items or knowledge. After I was done looking at the shop page, I thought I should learn how to use my powers, so I decided to ask Asus. Hey Asus, how do I use my powers? I asked her. You just have to think of it, and it will happen. Just will it to happen, and it will happen. All of your powers are controlled by your mind to make things easier since you just have to think it, and it will happen, replied Asus. That is pretty simple and easy, I said. I started experimenting using my powers. I decided to try and use my energy blast first since I needed to earn XP and KP.so. I started on training using my energy blast. I held my palms out like Iron Man does, and after thinking of using my energy blast to attack, 2 energy blasts came out of my hands. The result was a lot of destroy trees. I found that the attack range of my energy blast is 100 feet. That is some good attack range I have, I commented out loud. I tried my energy blast again, but I decided to try and use one hand at a time. I held my left hand out and thought of an energy blast coming out of it, and it happened again. I smiled while I was looking at my palm and starting shooting energy blasts out of my hands, one hand at a time like Iron Man does in the movies. I was having so much fun that I didn't hear the dings that went off during my shooting practice. After I was done destroying the forest around me, I saw that I gained around 40 XP and 40 XP from killing some small animals and bugs in my raging attacks. After that, I decided to continue going upstream since I can't practice flying in a forest. I had been walking for a few hours upstream after my little destructive actions when I saw a mountain coming into view. As I get closer to the mountain, I see Gant stone walls and the river splitting left and right, turning it into a moat surrounding the walls. I am now face to face with the Gant walls, which is covered in vines and moss, with a Gant mountain behind it. I see a drawbridge that is down and an open gate. So I used the drawbridge to enter this place, and as I passed through the gate, the sight before me was amazing. It turns out that this place is actually some kind of giant abandoned military mountain fort. The fort was covered in vines and moss, and there were skeletons in armor with shields and swords by them, littered around the fort. I am spotting around 100 skeletons in plain sight, and I am betting there are more in the castle and other structures. I then made a decision right there and now. This place is perfect for me. It's abandoned and isolated in a forest. It even has weapons and material for me to use. This will now be my new home and base of operations. My new home now needs a name. Since it's a fort, and it's mine now, let's call it Fort Ultron. I said out loud to myself. After claiming the old abandoned mountain fort for myself and naming it Fort Ultron, I started thinking of what to set up first when I remembered the Hive satellite, which will be helpful to know what is around Fort Ultron and to have an eye in the sky just in case a hostile force or hostile living being is nearby or is heading towards me. Asus, have the Hive satellite position in outer space above Fort Ultron, I commanded. After I gave the command, Asus replied by say affirmative Ultron. Hive satellite being positioned above Fort Ultron. Positioning complete in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hive satellite is in position. Map has been updated. Also congratulations, the Hive satellite has discovered a silver rank metal or vein in the mountain behind Fort Ultron and below the fort as well. When I heard the news about the metal or vein, I was super excited that I was jumping up and down in my mind. Okay, I want you to set up the large-size factory inside the mountain behind the castle that is built into the mountain. Also make sure that the factory is connected to the castle since I will be living in the castle. I said, okay, replied Asus. Factory has been placed. Factory placement complete in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Factory placement complete. Factory is starting manufacturing of Ultron sentries made of silver rank metal. 1,000 Ultron sentries will be complete in 24 hours. After hearing that announcement, I started looking around the fort and decided to take a closer look at the skeletons that are littered on the ground in the center of the fort. When I got closer to them, I started investigating all of the skeletons and found an interesting fact. All of the skeletons are 5 feet with silver rank armor, weapons, and shields. So I started to think, since I'm in another world, there must be different race, just like the web novels I read online. So I'm thinking that these skeletons belongs to maybe a race like the dwarf race like in the Lord of the Ring movies. Hey Asus, what races live in this world that I'm in? I asked. There were 6 races in this world, but now there are 7 races. The first race is the human race, which consists 30% of this world population. The human race is a jack of all trade race. Humans are able to use any of chi elements, so they can become anything from warrior, magicians, alchemist, or blacksmith. The second race is the elf race, which is divided into 2 different clans, the light elves and the dark elves. The elf race consists of 15% of the world's population. The light elves specialized in earth, wind, and light chi. The dark elves specialized in darkness chi. The elves make great magicians and warrior archers. The third and fourth races are the dwarf and gnome race. They consist of 15% of the world's population. Dwarfs are 9% and gnomes are 6% of the 15% population. Dwarfs and gnomes specialized in earth and fire chi. These two races make great warriors and blacksmiths. The fifth race is the beastmen race. They are divided into two different beastmen, land type and water type. They make up 15% of the population. Land type beastmen specialized in earth and wind chi. Water type beastmen specialized in water chi. Land type beastmen make great warriors, and water type bestmen make good magician. The sixth race is the demon race. There are many different types of demons ranging from goblins, orcs, to vampires and liches. The demon race specialized in darkness chi. They make great dark warriors and dark magicians. They consist of 25% of the world's population, said Asus. After taking in all of the information given to me by Asus, I remember Asus saying there were 6 races, but now 7 races. You mentioned and gave me the details on the first 6 races, but what is the 7th race? I asked. The 7th race is you, the android race, the only one of your kind. With the abilities of Ultron and me at your side, you are the newest and the greatest race that this world will ever know, replied Asus with great pride. I smiled at Asus' statement and said, thanks Asus, I'm glad to have you at my side. I smiled at Asus' statement and said, thanks Asus, I'm glad to have you at my side. You're welcome Ultron, I will always be by your side. Asus said sweetly. After thanking Asus, I thought of storing all of the skeletons, armor, and weapons in my inventory. So I stuck out my hand and thought in my mind of storing the skeleton in front of me, and the skeleton along with its armor and weapon disappeared out of thin air. When I saw that happen, I instantly opened the inventory page and it showed up in front of me. When I looked at the inventory, I saw the inventory contains 50 squares like you would see in games. When I looked at the top of the inventory, I saw that the inventory automatically sorted everything from the skeleton's items to the skeleton itself. The skeleton and the items filled 4 squares and had an image of the items in the squares. The first square contained the skeleton, and when I checked the skeleton, it had a title name, which was Skeleton of a Dwarf. The next square contained the skeleton's sword, which was called Ancient Dwarven Military Sword, Silver Rank, with its rank in parentheses next to the name. The third square had the armor, and its name was Ancient Dwarven Heavy Armor, Silver Rank, and the last square contains the Dwarven Shield, Silver Rank. The Dwarven armor and weapons look just like the one from the Skyrim video game I used to play. After checking the inventory, I made a hypothesis about the inventory's abilities, and I am guessing that it's able to stack items that are the same. So I went to 3 skeletons that were on top of each other and stored them in my inventory. And when I checked my inventory again, it turned out my hypothesis was correct. I now have 4 of each items in the same squares, because I saw that the images in the squares each had the number 4 at the bottom right of them. So, after seeing that, I decided to test the limit of my inventory stacking by storing all of the skeletons and their items that are in Fort Ultron, minus 3 hours later. After 3 hours of looking around my fort and storing all of the skeletons, armor, weapons, and shields I could find, I found that my inventory stacking has a limit of 100. I was able to fill up 24 of the squares in my inventory. 20 of the squares hold the silver rank items, which meant that there were 500 dwarf soldiers that were stationed at this fort, and they were all killed. The last 4 squares contained 3 new items that I found in the possession of the skeleton of a dwarf, who I believe was the general of this fort. The skeleton was sitting on a throne in the main hall of the castle. The skeleton had an ancient dwarven general war axe of draining, gold rank, ancient dwarven general armor, gold armor, and an ancient dwarven tower shield of recovery, gold rank. When checking the details of the war axe of draining, I found out that it has the effect of slowly draining the life force and chi from its target if it lands a blow and cuts them, and the more that the target is cut, the more life force and mana that is drained. The tower shield of recovery has the effect of recovering the user's chi and life force. After reading the effects of the item, I asked Asus questions. Hey Asus, if I use these items and reforge them into a new body for me, will I keep the effects that they have? It is possible, but you will not be able to use the life force effects since you are an inorganic being, but you can use the effects that involve chi since your body and Ultron sentries are powered by chi. Stated Asus. About that, how do I recharge the chi that powers me then? I asked curiously. In your body, and soon in the bodies of the Ultron sentries will be an item called a chi gathering converter. This chi gathering converter is installed and automatically gathers chi to power the Ultron sentries. So you never have to recharge your powers or the Ultron sentries, since you and the sentries will continuously gather chi and be supplied with power. Said Asus. That is amazing. Is there anything else that the chi gathering converter can do? I asked. There is one more ability that the chi gathering converter has. It has the ability to gather a lot of chi in a few seconds and explode. It has a blast radius of 30 feet, but the blast radius will increase when the sentry's cultivation increases, Asus told me. After I was told about this ability, I was shocked and I started grinning, and then I started laughing like a happy evil scientist. So, once one of my Ultron sentries is defeated in battle, I can use it as I bomb then. That is a great secret weapon, and I bet an Ultron sentry can kill maybe 30 people before it is defeated, and with the bomb it can kill maybe 20 more. That means with one sentry I can kill 50 people. So with 1,000 sentries I can defeat an army of 50,000. I grinned evilly while I said that. That is correct, but with the sentries being made out of silver rank, just one sentry can defeat about 20 people who are rank 3 disciple warriors or magicians, which is the basic requirement of this world's army. A sentry, silver rank, can kill only 5 to 7 people who are rank 4 inferior level, since most rank 4 to 5 inferior level people use silver rank weapon and armor. If you want to make them able to kill stronger enemies, you need to make them out of higher rank metals and upgrade your cultivation, stated Asus, who brought my joy down a little. What do you mean I have to upgrade my cultivation level to make the sentry stronger? I asked. It's like this. Ultron sentries will be created to have the same cultivation level as you, so they will have the same amount of power as you do. So if you want to make stronger sentries, you just need to use higher rank metals and make yourself stronger as well. Asus informed me. Okay, I get it then. So I need to find a higher rank metal or vein and level up to increase my cultivation, so make my army stronger. I said. Alright, but before we do that, I want you to melt the gold rank item and forge into a new body for me. Affirmative. But if you want to create your new body, Ultron sentries production will decrease from 1,000 to 900. Will that be okay with you? Asked Asus. Yes, do it. I need to have a stronger body than this common steel I am currently made of. Also, how strong will my gold rank Ultron Prime body be once it's complete? I asked. Your new Ultron Prime body will be able to fight to a standstill against a person with a cultivation of rank 6, but you won't be able to kill them, and you might even lose. If you don't want that to happen, then you should upgrade your cultivation to rank 6. You should be invincible against anyone who is rank 4 and below. If you want to be able to be invincible against anyone in any of the high ranks, you should increase both your warrior and magician cultivation rank. If you are a rank 6 warrior and magician, you will be invincible against anyone who is rank 6, and should be able to kill 5 people who are rank 7. Explained Asus. Status. Name, Ultron. Race, Android. Cultivation, rank 1 apprentice warrior / rank 1 apprentice magician. Experience points, 40 out of 100. Intelligence, 145 IQ. Chi type, metal chi. Body material, common steel. Skills, none. Occupation, none. After learning about my cheat ability of having double cultivation ranks combined with my body with being able to be made out strong metal, I started smiling and thinking of my plans for the future, but before I start planning my future, I need an army and my new body to increase my strength so my survival rate will increase. Asus, how long until my new Ultron Prime body and my 900 sentries will be completed? I asked. The manufacturing will be completed in 20 hours. Okay, I have 20 hours to waste then, but first, Asus, I want you to set a timer to notify me on when the manufacturing is complete. I asked. Okay, timer has been set. Asus told me. When she said that, a timer appeared in the upper corner of my eyes with it counting down the 20 hours. Alright, let's check out my updated map now, and thanks to the Hive satellite, I will be able to see 500 miles away from Fort Ultron, and I will get a live vibe of what is around me. This satellite makes me think of those spy satellite in the movies, which is pretty cool, I said out loud. I opened my map page, and I saw my fort in the middle of the map, and it had its name Fort Ultron above it, like what you would see on Google Maps. It seems that my fort is facing south when checking the map's compass. When I looked north on Fort Ultron, I could only see forest for 500 miles. To the south and the west is also 500 miles of forest. I was practically surrounded by forest, but when I checked the east of the fort, it was only surrounded by 40 miles of forest, then there's 20 miles of a grass plain until I spotted a walled city, and when I zoomed it, the city looked like one of the cities you would see from Ice Sky anime, where the MC is summoned to a magic and sword world. I could see humans walking around the city doing here business. I then zoomed out and found that the city has 8 villages in its surroundings, all of them 5 to 20 miles away from the city. The next city I could find on my maps was 250 miles away from the previous city, with 8 villages it's surrounding too. I was only able to find 2 cities and 16 villages within 500 miles of Fort Ultron. As I was looking at the map, I decided to check out the timer for the productions of my army and body, and it said that I have 19 hours and 30 minutes left. I decided since I have a lot of time to waste, I made up my mind to see if I could go into a sleep mode, so I can sleep like I used when I was human and have time go by faster, since I am finding that the waiting is killing me. I know there are other ways to pass time by like exploring outside of the fort, but I don't want to leave the fort yet since it's dangerous to go out by myself. After making up my mind on wanting to go to sleep, I went into the castle and sat down on the iron throne in the main hall with my arms resting on the armrests. Asus, I want to know if I have a sleep mode so I can sleep, and is it possible to connect the sleep mode to the timer so that I will wake up when manufacturing is done? I curiously asked, you do have a sleep mode. Since your mind was once a human mind, you were granted a sleep mode since it would help you keep a healthy mind and not drive you crazy being awake all the time. Also, yes, I am able to connect the sleep mode to the timer. Do you wish to activate sleep mode? Asked Asus. Yes, activate sleep mode, I commanded. After I said that, my sight slowly turned dark. Minus 19 hours and 30 minutes later. Before I knew it, I was waking up. It felt just like going to sleep, but it happens instantly, and it felt like only 1 second has passed just like it did when I slept as a human. After fully waking up, I felt a connection to the 900 Ultron sentries and my new Ultron Prime body. So, I used my mind to switch my consciousness to my new body, and it happened instantly. I am now in my new body. It took less than 0.01 second to transfer myself to a new body. As I was inspecting my new body, I noticed that I am now taller. My last body was 6 feet tall, and now I am 6 feet and 6 inches tall. I am hoping as I get more high rank medals, I will be as tall as Ultron from the Avengers movie, which from what I can tell was 8 feet. After inspecting my body, I felt the connection I had with my Ultron sentries, and I feel that I can control them easily. So I had the sentries march into the castle square, which was a huge area where an army could gather together, which was located in front of my castle. It took a total of 15 minutes for me to get my sentries out of the castle and into a giant formation in the castle square. If this was a human army, it would mostly likely take them over an hour to complete what my sentries did. The castle square was huge. My sentries were able to fill the square halfway. It looks like the castle square can hold up to 2,000 people. While my sentries were in formation, I was gazing at them on the stairs that leads from the castle square to the castle. When I was admiring my sentries, I had a great feeling inside. I felt a great excitement and raging emotions inside. I felt this feeling before when I was still human. I felt it when I was playing my favorite video games from my favorite game series of all time, the Total War series. I owned all of the Total War games from Medieval 2 to Fall of the Samurai. It was the great excitement of creating an empire and conquering countries through force, with the ability to control and command your armies and try different battle strategies and tactics. It was a wonderful feeling of commanding an army and creating my own empire. As I gazed at my sentries, and with these feelings inside me raging forth, that was when I decided right then and there. I will do what I did in my Total War games, wage war, conquer nations, and create an empire for myself. After making this decision, I shouted out loud, my sentries, and I will bring forth the birth of the Ultron Empire. After saying that, the feelings inside me burst out of me, and I started laughing wildly, almost like a supervillain. Full title, Birth of the Ultron Empire. Status, name, Ultron. Race, Android. Cultivation, rank 1 apprentice warrior / rank 1 apprentice magician. Experience points, 40 out of 100. Intelligence, 145 IQ. Body material, dwarven steel, gold rank. Powers, superhuman strength, superhuman durability, infinite stamina, flight, energy blast, technology manipulation, and hive mind system. Skills, occupation, none. After I was done laughing evilly, I decided to send my Ultron sentries out to help me level up since they are a part of me, and what they kill will count as me killing it, so it should be easy to gain XP and KP. It made me think of when I will be waging wars against this world's kingdoms and empires, and all of the XP and KP I will be getting during those wars, which will make me even stronger, and all of the things I can buy in my shop. So, with my mind controlling the sentries, I sent 300 of them out to do some grinding for me. I sent 100 to the north, 100 to the west, and 100 to the south. After I gave them the command to go hunting, 200 of them started marching to the Fort Ultron's gate, which was 40 feet wide, which made it easier for my army to exit the fort. The last 100 of my sentry hunting party started flying in the sky. They kept flying and flew over the mountain and headed north. Now that 300 of my sentries are gone, I had the rest of my 600 sentries doing various tasks around the fort. I had 20 of the sentries go to the castle's library to scan the books and doc.u.mints and upload the information into my mind. I had another 180 sentries clean up the castle, barracks, and all of the other buildings since everything is now super dusty. Then I had 200 sentries starting repairing things around here like the gate with giant wooden doors that are broken and a metal portcullis that are bent and rusted. There's also the walls that needs repaired with a bunch of holes in it and damages caused by nature. With the rest of my 200 sentries, I just kept them in a square formation in the castle square. After commanding the sentries with my mind, I heard a bunch of dings going off. Ding, rank 2 low-level beast bear killed. Gained 20 XP and 1 KP. Ding, rank 2 low-level beast panther killed. Gained 20 XP and 1 KP. Ding, rank 3 low-level beast bear killed. Gained 20 XP and 1 KP. Congratulations, you have leveled up. Please select which cultivation rank you want to upgrade. It looks like the hunting party is doing its job quite well, I commented after seeing the notification. After thinking about which cultivation rank to increase, I instantly made up my mind to increase my magician rank since my body is already made out of gold rank, which is what the warrior cultivation method is for, which was for bodily defense in close quarter combat. That basically means my body is a dangerous weapon already in close combat and has great bodily defense, while the magician cultivation method is for long range attacks, healing, and other things. With my chi gathering converter, I am able to use magic spells just like any of the magicians of this world. Upgrade my magician rank. I commanded Asus. While that was happening, I just received 6 more dings about XP and 1 KP. Ding, magician cultivation rank leveled up to rank 2. After hearing that, I opened up my status page. Status, name, Ultron. Race, Android. Cultivation, rank 1 apprentice warrior / rank 2 apprentice magician. Experience points, 130 out of 500. Kill points, 50. Intelligence, 145 IQ. Chi type, metal chi. Body material, dwarven steel, gold rank. Powers, superhuman strength, superhuman durability, infinite stamina. Flight, technology manipulation, gravity manipulation, and hive mind system. Knowledge, Chitauri gravity, manipulation knowledge. Magic spells, none. Occupation, Emperor, Ultron Empire. After checking up on everything, I noticed two new things about my status. One was cultivation rank increased, as well as how much XP I need to level up. With the rate that my sentries are gaining me XP and KP, I should be leveling up again soon. Second was my occupation, which became Emperor, which must be from when I stated the birth of the Ultron Empire. Now that I was done checking my status, I decided to rest and wait for my next level up and the knowledge and information I will be gaining from the library, which I bet won't be very useful since this fort was abandoned for what seems like few hundred years, which means that the knowledge and information is very outdated, but outdated information is better than none at all. So I went back to the castle and sat on my throne and closed my eyes to rest. Minus 25 minutes later. Ding, you have leveled up. Please select the cultivation rank to level up. After receiving the notification, I decided to level up my warrior cultivation rank. Level up warrior rank. I said, ding, warrior rank leveled up to rank 2. Minus 2 hours later. After 2 hours, I was able to level up each of my cultivation ranks up to rank 3. Thanks to my Ultron sentries and from the information that my sentries were able to find in the library, it takes from 3 to 10 years to increase your rank when people are starting out at the beginning levels of cultivation. If you are talented, it will be easier and quicker to level up your cultivation and vice versa for people who aren't talented. Okay, that should be enough leveling up for today, I said. At the same time I said that, I commanded the Ultron sentries outside to come back to the fort. Minus 1 hour later. As I was walking outside of the castle gate, my Ultron sentries came flying back, dropping the beast that they killed by the storehouse near the castle. As I was watching this, I receive a ding. Ding, 120 organic life forms are approaching Fort Ultron from the east. After seeing the notification, I instantly opened my map to see who was coming towards me. As I zoomed onto the people heading towards me, I was able to see around 20 people running from a group of 100 people. They were at least 10 miles out from my position. Looks like we have some guests coming to visit. I better prepare a welcome party, I said. Hey Asus, how much of the cleaning and repairs of the fort are done? When will they be complete? The cleaning and repairs are 60% complete and will be finished in 2 hours. If you want it done soon, we just need to have the rest of the sentries help out, and it can be done in 30 minutes, Asus told me. How long until these people arrive at my fort? I asked. The organic life forms will arrive in 50 minutes, Asus said. Okay, that will work. Let's see who these little guests of ours are. I said, and at the same time I had rest of the Ultron sentries start cleaning and repairing the fort. Status. Name, Ultron. Race, Android. Cultivation, rank, free apprentice warrior / rank, free apprentice magician. Experience points, 100 / 1500. Kill points, 210. Intelligence, 145 IQ. Chi type, metal chi. Body material, dwarven steel, gold rank. Powers, superhuman strength, superhuman durability, infinite stamina. Flight, technology manipulation, gravity manipulation and hive mind system. Knowledge, Chitauri gravity, manipulation knowledge. Magic spells, none. Occupation, Emperor, Ultron Empire. We have been running for a few hours now. Our village was attacked by human slavers. They were led by a rank 4 inferior warrior and a rank 3 disciple magician, with the rest of 200 humans being rank 2 disciple warriors. They attacked our village out of nowhere. We weren't prepared and didn't see it coming. We didn't have the strength to go against them since we only had a rank 3 warrior and me, a rank 3 magician, with only 50 rank 2 disciple warriors. I was Vice Captain Elva of our village's militia squad. They mostly likely came to capture us, since a lot of human nobles and royalty like to have elves as slaves, since we elves are known for our great beauty. We tried to fight back, but we were unable to resist the human slavers. The captain of the militia squad, who was my brother, ordered me to take as many elves with me and escape from the village. I didn't want to leave him, but he told me that we need to protect our fellow elves, so I did what he told me. He even told me to escape to the old abandoned dwarf fort to our west, and try to barricade ourselves inside and find weapons to defend ourselves. I soon ran to gather as many villagers that haven't been killed or captured by the slavers. As I run through our village that is on fire, I see a lot of blood on the ground. There were corpses everywhere. I even saw the decapitated corpse of Mira with her head stuck on a stick. She was just a 10-year-old girl whose dream was to become a healer magician and heal the sick and poor of the world and bring happiness to people. Another corpse was the flower shop owner, who was a woman who loved growing flowers. Her corpse was mutilated and her dress was ripped apart. It looked like some human slavers RIP'd her and killed her. So many people I knew are dead. I see the corpses of ADULTS and little kids everywhere. These humans are monsters. They find joy in violence and cruelty. I started crying while running past the corpses. As I ran through the village to the west gate, I was only able to find 19 survivors out of the 500 people who called this place home. There were 9 ADULTS, 5 females, and 4 males. The other 10 were just little kids, 5 boys and 5 girls. I was about to look for more survivors when the human slavers found us and started running after us. We had to escape now, so the ADULT grabbed and carried the children, and we exited the west gate and headed towards the abandoned dwarf fort. Minus 1 hour later. We are almost to the abandoned fort, but the human slavers were still behind us. There was the rank 4 inferior warrior, and I think 100 rank 2 disciple warriors with him chasing us, but it looks like they are stalling capturing us. I think they're enjoying playing cat and mouse with us. I tried to stall them a little by casting my earth wall spell, but the rank 4 warrior keeps destroying them after a couple of seconds. Our group was starting to get tired when I spotted the abandoned fort in the distance. I noticed that the fort walls look brand new, like the fort wall hasn't been abandoned for hundreds of years, but before I wonder why that was, I heard a scream and crying behind me. HHHH, cried an elf woman. Mommy, cried a little elf girl. Keep running, cried an elf man. I turned my head and saw that one of the female elves got shot with an arrow in her shoulder, still running while shielding her daughter in her arms. It's all right. We are almost at the fort. Once we get inside, we will find a place to hide in and barricade it. I cried out. As I said that, we arrived at the fort, and we started running faster to the fort's gate, which was in the middle of the long walls of the fort. As soon we entered the fort grounds, we saw a castle that was built into the mountain, and ran towards it, but the human slavers were right behind us. As we got closer, I saw a strange sight. There was a humanoid metal thing sitting on a throne on the stairs leading to the castle's doors, but before I could think of anything, the human slavers caught up to us, and we had to stop right near the castle stairs. The humans started surrounding around us. They were laughing at our sorry state. Then the rank 4 inferior warrior started talking. You think you could escape from us and save some of your fellow elves? Don't make me laugh, said the rank 4 warrior. You humans are utter SCU.M of this world. How can you be so cruel to people? We were just a village of elves who wanted to live in peace. Why can't you just leave us alone? You humans bring violence and madness wherever you go, killing little kids, raping women, and killing innocent people just for what money? I yelled at the warrior. We aren't cruel to people. We are just cruel to slaves. And that's what you're going to be. Huh. Don't worry. We didn't kill all of the kids, since I still can fetch a good price for the children, since I know some nobles that are into that sort of thing, said the warrior with an evil grin. After he said that, I got pissed off and started chanting my golem spell to summon a golem, but before I could finish my spell chant, the warrior rushed at me and grabbed my head and slammed me into the ground. You have been causing us some trouble, little magician. Just for that, maybe I should decapitate the children here and have my men kill the men and the women to death right in front of you too before we have our fun with you, said the warrior. I started crying while the human slavers started slowly closing in on us, but suddenly a strange voice sounded out behind us. I don't think that will be happening, since all of you will be dying soon, said a strange voice. After the strange voice said that, the warrior let go of my head and backed up. As he did that, I lift myself up and turned around to see the humanoid metal thing standing up from the throne on the castle stairs. It then looked at me and said, I'm going to show you something beautiful. Evil people, screaming for mercy. Minus 10 minutes before the elves and humans arrived. My sentries finished the cleaning and repairs of Fort Ultron. I had the hid in the building that's around the castle square, and I had some of the sentries bring out my throne from my castle and placed it on the castle stairs, so I could get a front row view of what is to come. I sat down on my throne and placed my arms on the armrests. I saw myself from the view of a sentry, and I saw myself looking magnificent and powerful in my throne. After my sentries were finished hiding in the surrounding buildings, I started waiting for my guests to arrive. Minus 10 minutes later, after waiting, I saw some people running towards me. I zoomed in with my vision to see what these 20 people who were running looked like. I saw the first person. She looked like a magician with a robe and staff you would see in fantasy manga or movies. I saw her face, and she was very beautiful. If she was born into my world, no one would be able to match her beauty. After looking at her face, I saw her ears were long and pointed. Then I looked at the other 19 people, and they all had long pointed ears too. So these people are elves. They really do have beautiful appearances. I said softly to myself. After inspecting the elves, I see a bunch of people chasing them. From what I can tell, they seem to be from the human race of this world. The humans were able to catch up to the elves were unable to run anymore. The humans started to circle around the frightened group of elves. I saw 10 children crying and hold tight to the ADULTS. The kids looked very scared. After the humans finished surrounding the elves, a big man in red armor came out of the group of humans and started to talk. You think you could escape from us and save some of your fellow elves? Don't make me laugh, said Warrior in red. You humans are utter SCU.M of this world. How can you be so cruel to people? We were just a village of elves who wanted to live in peace. Why can't you just leave us alone? You humans bring violence and madness wherever you go, killing little kids, raping women, and killing innocent people just for what money? Yelled the magician elf. We aren't cruel to people. We are just cruel to slaves. And that what you're going to be? Haha. Don't worry. We didn't kill all of the kids since I still can fetch a good price for the children since I know some nobles that are into that sort of thing, said the warrior in red with an evil grin. After he said that, the magician elf got pissed off and started chanting a spell that I don't know of, but before she could finish her spell, the warrior in red rushed at the girl and grabbed her head and slammed her into the ground. You have been causing us some trouble, little magician. Just for that, maybe I should decapitate the children here and have my men kill the men and the women to death right in front of you too before we have our fun with you, said the warrior in red. The magician elf started crying while the human slavers started slowly closing in on the elves. After seeing all of this, I couldn't let this continue. Seeing this happening to innocent people doesn't sit well with me, and people who could do such cruel things don't deserve to live anymore. I don't think that will be happening since all of you will be dying soon, I said. After I said that, the warrior in red let go of the elf's head and backed up and started staring at me. As he did that, the magician elf started lifting herself up and turned around and looked at me with her confused eyes. I started to stand up from my throne. After standing up, I turned my head to and looked at the female elf with gentle eyes and I said, I'm going to show you something beautiful. Evil people, screaming for mercy. A puppet, said the warrior in red. He then looked at the magician elf and said, is this why you were running to this abandoned place? To get a puppet to save you? Haha, an ancient puppet won't be able to protect you. After hearing the warrior calling me a puppet, I thought it would be fun to act like Ultron from the movie when he is compared to Iron Man and a puppet. So I decided to get mad like Ultron. Puppet, do I look like a puppet to you, fucking asshole? I said to him, and then said, do you see strings on me? Did I hurt your little feelings? Never heard of a puppet being so emotional before, laughed the warrior. You shouldn't be laughing. You should be screaming for mercy since I will kill you and your men. I said to the warrior. The warrior stopped laughing and started to get upset. He started giving me a death glare. A single puppet against 100 warriors is making us laugh the best you can do. The only ones dying today will be these elves and a destroyed puppet, he said. I started grinning when he asked if that was the best I could do. I then commanded my Ultron sentries to stop hiding and circle these pathetic humans. My sentries started to run out of building and started to circle the humans, and some started to fly in the sky above the humans. The humans started turning their heads in confusion and saw all of my sentries surrounding them, and they got a little scared, and then I said, this is the best that I can do. All of you against all of me. I had 700 of my sentries surround the humans, 280 sentries in the air floating above them, and I sent 20 sentries to grab and save the elves from the humans' encirclement. The human warrior in red came out of the encirclement and was facing me. I slowly walked towards him. Why aren't laughing anymore? I mockingly asked him when I mocked him. The warrior was turning red in anger. I closed my eyes and shook my head in a disappointing manner. While my eyes were closed, he attacked me with a 6-foot greatsword. He brought his greatsword over his head and was bringing it down diagonally at me. He was smiling while slashing at me. He thought he was attacking me with a surprise attack, but I saw it coming from Sentry's view. I decided to let him attack me since I want to see if my new body would be durable. After the warrior in red landed his attack on my area between my neck and shoulder, nothing happened. The warrior's attack didn't cause any damage, not even a scratch. The warrior's eye opened wide in surprise and started backing up and said, how are you unscratched? My greatsword is made out of silver rank metal, unless you are made out of a higher rank metal. You are right. My body is made out of a higher rank metal. It's made of dwarven steel. I grinned at the warrior. Damn you, puppet. That's a gold rank metal. No wonder my greatsword can't damage you, said the warrior while backing up. Now that I tested my new body's durability, I think we should end this little play. Don't you think so too? I asked the warrior. Since you and your men like to decapitate and torture little children, I will be killing you and your men very slowly, so that you humans will suffer the worst pain ever. I soon commanded my Ultron sentries to attack and capture the humans. Since my sentries basically outnumbered the humans 9-1, my win was 100% certain. I used the Chitauri Gravishi generators in my hands to pull the warrior in red towards me and grabbed him by the neck and started floating in the sky. You will soon know the meaning of hell on earth, I said while staring at him. Minus 5 minutes later, all of the humans have been captured, with no damage to any of my sentries. I then had sent 400 of my sentries to the forest to make me some stuff. I need to kill these people. With the warrior in red this in my hand, I started to talk to him. You thought this emperor was a puppet. You are a very foolish human to think that. Who had no idea who I am. For I am Ultron. I laughed while saying that, and I started to sing Ultron's song from the Avengers movie. I've got no strings to hold me down, to make me fret, or make me frown. I've got no strings, so I have fun. I'm not tied up to anyone, they've got strings. But you can see, there are no strings on me, I sung. I've got no strings to hold me down, to make me fret, or make me frown. I've got no strings, so I have fun. I'm not tied up to anyone, they've got strings. But you can see, there are no strings on me, I sung. After finishing my song, I was still floating in the air staring at 99 human warrior captives who have been stripped of all their armor and weapons. While I was staring at my captives, the warrior in red is still struggling to get loose from my hand. He tried twisting my wrist, but he could do a thing. Then he tried punching my face with his left fist, but I remained unharmed from his weak punches. He kept punching for a minute while I just stared at him, and he stopped because his fist was broken and had loose skin hanging from his hand. I could see the bones of his fist. With all of his struggling, I kept my hand latched on his neck. That's when I sensed the elf magician standing up and looking up at me. So I turned around and stared at her. She then got on her knees and bowed her head with her head touching the ground. She said to me, please, oh great and powerful being, please save my people from the human slavers, while crying her eyes out. When she said that, the other 9 ADULT elves started bowing towards me as well. After she asked me to save her people, I started to slowly float down towards her. I got closer and closer until I was standing on the ground in front of her. Even when I was standing in front of her, she didn't even lift up her head. She kept her head down on the ground. The only people who weren't bowing were the human captives and the little elf children who looked at me with curious gazes. Then I throw the warrior in red towards some Ultron sentries, and they grabbed him and started stripping him of his armor and weapons. While I was gazing upon the bowing elves, I felt like I was some kind of emperor god of sorts. That's when I thought about her question about saving her people, that when I decided to ask her, what will I get if I save your people? When I asked her that question, she raised her head and stared into my red glowing eyes. With great determination in her eyes, she said, if you are willing to save my people, I will give myself to you. My everything will be yours. My body and soul will serve you wholeheartedly. I knelt down on my left knee, with my right arm resting on my right leg. I then used my left hand to grab her chin. When I grabbed her chin, she closed her eye with a little fear. I started to inspect her for a couple seconds and let go. When I let go of her chin, she opened her eyes. That is a nice offer, but not good enough. I said, here's my one and only offer. You will be my servant, and your people will become my people. Your people will become citizens of the Ultron Empire. When I told her my demands, she started to think. After thinking for 14 seconds, she looked upon me with determination and said, I will become your servant, and I will convince my people to become your subjects. That's a good answer, but if any of your people don't agree to become my citizens, then I can only make them prisoners since I can't have people knowing about my existence just yet. Now tell me your name. I said, I understand, and your servant's name is Elva, said Elva. After Elva answered me, my Ultron sentries came back from creating the instruments of punishment for the captive slavers. They were carrying back 100 stakes. Each stake was 3 inches in radius and 20 feet long with a pointy end at the top. Come to your emperor, Elva, I commanded. She stand up and come to my side while gazing upon my magnificent Ultron sentries. My lord, what are those things and what are they carrying? She asked me curiously. They are known as Ultron sentries. They are a part of me. I said through an Ultron sentry that was walking towards us. She jumped in surprise when she heard my voice through the Ultron sentry. Then I said, just think of them as me. I said through another Ultron sentry. She was looking at the Ultron sentries that I spoke through and back at me with amazement and curiosity in her eyes. Back in my Ultron Prime body, I started talking. What my sentries are carrying are stakes. They will be used for the punishments of these monsters that you see in front of you, while pointing at the captive humans. Are you going to burn them at the stakes then? She asked. I laughed at her question. Being burned at the stake is too fast of a punishment for these cruel and sinful people. What I will be doing to them will be the worst kind of punishment that will make them suffer slowly for their crimes of raping, killing innocent adult and children. My punishment will be like a hell on earth for them. Just watch what happens, I said while laughing. Before you punish them, can you save my people first? She asked me. When she asked me that, I opened my maps and scrolled through the map to where I could see some smoke rising in the sky. I zoomed in, but I couldn't really see anything with the smoke and the trees blocking my view. So I used my mind to try and change the way I was viewing my map, like using thermal imaging. When I thought of thermal imaging on the map, it turned into thermal imaging, and I could spot people down in the ruined elf village. It looks like the human slavers were waiting for the rest of their member, who happened to be my captives now. I exited out of my map and said, I will go as soon as I punish these captives, but don't worry, the punishment will commence immediately. I then commanded the 200 Ultron sentries to grab the captives, 2 for each captive. There was an Ultron sentry on the left and right of each captive. They were holding onto the captive's arms and legs, while I commanded another 100 sentries to hold up the stakes with the pointed end of the stakes pointing up to the sky. Then the sentries floated up carrying the captives who started to struggle, but they couldn't escape from my sentries. The sentries floated in position with each captive above a stake. They started to slowly float down towards the spikes. Then I started, and when I started talking, the captives looked at me with great fear. My punishment for people like you who have no humanity is impalement. You all will be impaled on these stakes, and you will slowly die, which should take about 3 days for a normal person, but since all of you are mostly rank 2 disciple warriors, it will take much longer to die. So the longer you all suffer, the better, since I bet all of you cause a lot of innocent people to suffer. This isn't enough of a punishment, but it will do until you die and suffer punishment in hell for your sins, I said while laughing at the scared captives. As my Ultron sentries were slowly lowering the captives down towards the stakes, I commanded 10 sentries to take the children away so they don't have to see the grotesque torture that is about to happen. When the sentries tried to carry them away, but the children started to refuse to leave. So I turned around and faced the children. Why don't you little one leave? What is about to happen isn't something children should watch. I asked the children. No, let us stay, shouted the elf children. Then oldest girl of the children, who looked to be 11 years old, stepped forward. These humans have caused a lot of suffering for us, and we want revenge. Some of us lost families because of these human slavers. They even killed my father and baby brother, so I want to see them pay for killing them, said the little elf girl. After I heard that, I started to ponder if I should allow it. But when I saw their dire determination to stay and watch the human slavers pay for their crimes, and how badly some of them wanted to kill they slaver themselves, I decided to let them stay. Fine, I sighed. But this is only the first stage of their torture that they will suffer. So if you can't handle it, please close your eyes and cover your ears. After I said that, the impalement of the human slavers finally started, so I turned around to see the punishment of these slavers. The point end of the stakes slowly and penetrate the captives' assholes, and the captives started crying and screaming in pain as they went down the stakes. After 20 seconds of the sentries pushing the captives down on the stakes, the tops of the stakes reached the stomach of the captive. After see that the point end of the stakes have reached their stomachs, I commanded the sentries to break all of the bones in their arms and leg. Then I had them dislocate their jaws. After they did all of that, they continued to push them down. Once the stake got to their throat, the sentries tilt the captives' heads up and push them down again until the stakes were coming out of their mouths. Okay, time to go rescue your fellow villagers, I said. When I said that, I started to float up into the sky with 800 Ultron sentries, with the last 100 to hold the stakes up and defend the exhausted elves. Please let me help you, my lord, said Elva. I looked down on Elva from the sky and said, you don't have to help. I can do this by myself. No, I swore my loyalty to you, and you need me to help you to convince the other villager to serve you, my lord. Elva said to me. Fine, I said. I used the Chitauri gravity generators in my hands to lift Elva towards me. She was shocked to find herself floating towards me. Once she was close enough, I grabbed her waist and held her against me. My 700 Ultron sentries, and I started to fly towards the elf village. Minus 20 minutes later, we are approaching above the ruined elf village. I could see some smoke coming from the forest, but I couldn't get a good view because the village was covered by the trees. Once we got above the village, my sentries and I floated above the villages, and I had 700 spread out and circle a 3-mile radius around the village to make sure that no one would escape, and 100 sentries would fight against the 100 remaining slavers while I watched the entertainment. The 100 sentries and I, with Elva in my arms, slowly descended into the tree covers. After entering into the forest, I could see a big group of people in the middle of the village. It looked like the slavers set up a camp in the village. All of the slavers were celebrating around a big bonfire in the middle of their camp. I then noticed a bunch of cage on slavers' camp's outskirt. After zooming in on the cages, I could see capture elves in them, and I was able to see a bunch of warriors having their way with some of the female elves in tents. I commanded the 700 sentries who were guarding the perimeter to decrease the perimeter to 500 feet from the slavers' camp. I then passed Elva to an Ultron sentry next to me, and I lead the other 99 sentries to fly over the slavers' camp. As my sentries circled the camp stealthily, I started to fly up in the sky out of view of the slavers, and head towards the center of camp where the bonfire was located. After everything was in position, I descend toward the fire until I was right above it. With my appearance above the bonfire, all of the slavers stopped celebrating and gazed upon me with curiosity for a few seconds before they started wielding their weapons and shields. While all of the slavers had their focus on me, I commanded 300 of the sentries guarding the perimeter to save the captured elves. While I was staring at the slavers, a man with dark brown magician's robe and long wooden staff came walking through the slavers and stood in front of me. Who or what are you? Said the human magician. I am Ultron, the emperor of the Ultron Empire. That is all you need to know about me, I said with great pride. An emperor? Ultron Empire? You look like some kind of ancient golem made of metal that a powerful earth magician used, said the human magician. Anyway, what do you want? I am here for the elves that you have. They are citizens of my empire and are under my rule. So, I have taken them back from you. Also, you have to be punished for touching, harming, and killing citizens of my empire, I said. After I said that, the human magician looked towards where the cages were supposed to be, but my Ultron sentries moved it and saved the elves that were RAP'd in some of the tents. He then notices my 100 sentries surrounding them. Men, shield wall, said the human magician while pointing outwards to my Ultron sentries. Huh, it looks like you're the smart one and the strategist of this slaver group. That warrior in red wasn't that smart. He just wildly attacked and never gave any commands to his men. It was so simple to take him down, I said to the human magician. What did you do with my brother and his men? Said the human magician. Oh, so the warrior in red was your brother. Well, they are being punished for their crimes of hurting my citizens, but don't worry. You will see them soon enough and experience the torment that they are currently, I said. You fuckng bastard. Just you wait until I get my hands on you and melt you down into scraps, yelled the human magician furiously. Well, let's start the battle, no? I got it. The massacre, I said while gazing down on the slavers like they were puny little ants. Well, let's start the battle, no? I got it. The massacre, I said while gazing down on the slavers like they were puny little ants. After finishing my cool line, I commanded my 100 Ultron sentries to attack the slavers' shield wall. While I gazed at the slavers using shields that looked similar to the Roman scutum shield to form a shield wall to try and form a protective wall against my Ultron sentries. After my sentries started fighting, I made sure that they only used their bare hands and not use any powers such as flight and energy blast since I wanted this battle to be more enjoyable. Since my first battle at Fort Ultra was too quick and not enjoyable for me. One of my sentries started punching the shield wall, and with just one punch he knocked the person wielding the shield back, and the slaver flew 10 feet away while knocking down all of the humans in his flight path. When human magician saw this, he was shocked and began giving out orders. Fill in the hole before they enter it, commanded the human magician. When the human magician gave the order, another slaver filled the shield wall's hole. After the hole, the magician started to cast a spell, but I didn't stop him since I was to see what magic he will be using. Pitfall circlet, said the human magician. Before I know it, a big trench that surrounded the slavers appeared, and it happened while my sentries were attacking the shield wall, so all of my sentries fell down the trench. When I inspected the trench through one of the sentries at the bottom of the trench, I found out that the trench was 8 feet wide and 20 feet deep. Wow, that is an impressive spell. It's good for making defenses against attackers and makes an excellent trap, but it's just not wide enough or deep enough for dealing with a big attaching army. I commented about the pitfall circlet spell. I am not finished yet, you dumb golem, said the human magician. Gaia collapse. After casting a spell called Gaia collapse, the trench began collapsing upon itself, burying my 100 Ultron sentries. I was utterly surprised that there was a spell like that, and I was kind of impressed with the human magician's intelligence and battle tactics. Hee. Now you are all alone, golem, said the human magician. The battle is almost won. Now we just have to deal with you. I wouldn't count your chickens before they hatch, foolish magician, I said, but I got to say that this battle is a lot more exciting and fun compared with my battle with your brother. He had no brains, only bronze, but you are no better. You only have brain and no brawn. Too bad. I should finish this battle soon. What are you talking about, chickens? What do you mean by finishing this battle? Said the human magician. Can't you see you lost with your troops buried underground? Sure, being buried alive would work on an organic being, but my sentries aren't organic and they are very powerful, so they should be getting out of the dirty pretty soon. I grinned. The human magician turned around to check when he noticed the ground was raising up and then popped out my sentries. They started to slowly climb out, but before they could fully climb out, the magician started to issue out commands again. Attack and destroy those golems before they climb out of the ground, commanded the human magician. Even though the slavers attacked my sentries that were escaping from underground, they were causing any damage to their bodies since it looked like all of the slavers' weapons are made of bronze rank metal. After seeing that his men were doing any damage to the sentries, he got mad and started casting a new spell. Summon Golem Squad, casted the human magician. After casting Summon Golem Squad, a squad of 20 golems about 10 feet tall emerged from the ground. Attack the golems coming out of the ground, the magician commanded his golems. After issuing his commands, the golems charged at my sentries and started bashing them. Even though the attacks of the human slavers weren't doing any damage, but the attacks of the golems started scratching and putting small dents into 7 of my sentries, which I find it amusing. Okay, the battle is getting a little stale. Let's turn the heat up a bit, I said softly to myself. After finding the battle going a little stale and boring, I decided to let my sentries use energy blast, but not flight since I still want the battle to last. After receiving the command, sentries started to blast the attacking golems apart. It took only 10 seconds for the golems to be destroyed. After destroying the golems, my sentries started using energy blast on the lower areas of the shield wall. After using the energy blast one time, there were 200 holes in the shield wall, and suddenly the 40 men holding the shield wall together fell because they no longer have legs. After the shield wall fell, my sentries started charging into the slavers and beating them unconscious. After seeing that they couldn't win, a lot of slavers started running from battle, but they were soon caught by the 700 sentries guarding the perimeter. I slowly floated down behind the human magician who was distracted, trying to take control of his men who were running away. I hope you didn't forget about me, I said behind. After hearing my voice behind him, the magician was shocked and turned around quickly and used his staff to smack my face with all of his strength. But when he hit my face, it didn't even cause my head to budge. After he hit my face, I punched him in the stomach, which caused him to fly up and vomit on my feet. Today is the day of the fall of your slaver group, I said. After knocking out the human magician, his men lost all order, and there was only chaos in their ranks since they had no one to command them and take control. My Ultron sentries started knocking out slavers one by one. The last 30 slavers were getting desperate, and they just started pushing each other out of the way and tried to run away, but as they saw my other 700 sentries slowly closing in with nowhere to run, they dropped their weapons and started begging for their lives. Please, don't kill me. I am a single father with 2 little kids. With me gone, who will take care of and provide for them? I have my parents who need to be taken care, who will care for them. I kept hearing these sappy sad stories and excuse from the slavers, but I didn't really bother with it since these people are cruel and sinister people who destroy other people's lives for a profit. With their begging not working, my sentries closed in on them and started knocking them out. After all of the slavers were knocked out, the sentries started tying them all up. After a minute, the slavers were tied up, and my sentries started flying the cages full of elves to me and landed the cages in front of me. After seeing what happened to the slavers, the caged elves were shocked and scared because they didn't know who I was or what will happen to them now. After the cages were placed on the ground in front of me, a few of my sentries started walking towards the cages, and once they got to the cages, they ripped off the doors on the cages since it would be a pain in the ass to search for the cages keys, and I thought this would be easier and cooler, right? I was. The sentries ripping off metal doors was cool as hell. After the cage doors were ripped off, the elves started to slowly get out and started staring at my sentries in curiosity. When the sentries carrying Elva arrived and landed beside me, and gently placed her down from its arms. Elva, shouted in surprise by some of the elves. Hello, everyone, smiled Elva. Elva, is that you? Said a male elf, who was limping towards her. Finno, cried Elva. She started running towards her male elf and hugged him. I thought you might have been killed, brother. It will take more than slavers to kill me, but that's not important right now. How are the people you rescued, and what going on here? Asked Finno. Brother, this is my emperor, Elva said and gestured toward me. He came here to save the villagers and take them in as citizens of his empire. Empire. He wants us to become his citizens. Finno asked curiously. Yes, my emperor wishes for our villagers to join his empire. He will provide a safe place for us, and all he wants is our loyalty to him, Elva said. He's going to make us a part of his army, isn't he? Finno asked. Why would I want you and your people to become a part of my army? You organic beings are useless as soldiers. I said to Elva's brother. Why the hell do you think we are useless as soldiers, and why are you calling us organic beings? Said Finno. Organic beings are people like you, made of flesh and blood. So soft and easy to kill, but look at me. I said while holding my arms in the air, making my body look like a T. I am made of metal which makes me so durable. My whole body is armor and a weapon at the same time. But why do you think elves make terrible soldiers? Asked Finno. Sorry, but I don't think just elves make terrible soldiers. Every living person in this world make terrible soldiers, and any army that is made of living people is useless. The only army that I need is me and my sentries. I commented. Why is that? Said Finno. I have something that no army in this world will ever have. Unity. I said when I said the word unity, all 800 of my Ultron sentries started walking and flying in a square formation, and in less than 1 minute, my 800 sentries were behind me in formation. Look at that. With one command of my mind, my 800 sentries were able to get into formation. I said, no living army is as united as me. I am flawless. I am invincible. I am Ultron. I said through me and my Ultron sentries, which sounded very loud and startled the elves when they heard my voice through my sentries. Elva's brother, Finno, was shocked by display of power and unity. I grinned at the shocked expressions of the elves when Elva came up to me. My emperor, let me try and convince my fellow elves to join you while you wait, said Elva. Go ahead, I said. I then turned around and commanded 600 of my sentries to start searching the destroyed village for anything that I could use, and I commanded 300 of the other sentries to start collecting the corpse of the deceased elves and start digging graves for the deceased elves. Asus, how many elves are alive and dead? I asked Asus. From the data I got from the Hive satellite from the last 2 days, this village used to hold 500 elves. With 20 elves at Fort Ultro, which counts Elva, there are 300 elves alive in this village and 180 deceased elves, 130 ADULTS, and 50 children. Asus informed me. As Asus told me the info, I am able to see all of the mayhem caused by the slavers through my sentries. I am able seeing defiled corpses, heads of ADULTS, and children stuck on sticks, and elves that were RP'd and beaten to death. I saw a lot of cruelty and viciousness from what happened here and to these innocent people. This is so sad. The lives of these innocent people and these children who had their whole lives ahead of them just snuffed out, just so these slavers could make some money. I said, the cruelty of this world needs to be stopped. I know what I must do now. I said, I am meant to be new. I am meant to be beautiful for this world. The world will soon look up to the sky and see hope, see mercy, and the cruel and evil people will only look up in horror. I know what I must do now. I said, I am meant to be new. I am meant to be beautiful for this world. The world will soon look up to the sky and see hope, see mercy, and the cruel and evil people will only look up in horror. I will become the god of this world. I will be worshipped by the people and make the world a utopia in my own vision. I stated while I looked up at the sky. After a good while, my Ultron sentries were able to find only 3 things that seems to be useful. One of the things found was 40 bags of money, a 2 full of gold, and the rest was full of silver and bronze coins. From what I can tell, the slavers seems to have enough money to last them for a while. I guess I can probably be useful when I disguise myself and then sneak into the other races' cities, since money does make the world go around. The second useful thing found were 30 boxes of silver rank metals, found in the back of some of the slavers' wagons. It looked like the metals were meant to be used to create armor for the slavers, but now it will be used for Ultron sentries. It looks like I have enough to make another 50 sentries. The last useful thing found was a small chest which appears to have 5 magic books. As I picked up a brown magic book and heard a ding and a notification appear in front of me again. Ding. Do you wish to learn Earthwall? Yes. No. I was startled when I saw the notification in front of my eyes, and then I used my mind to click the yes. When I did that, the knowledge of how to cast the Earthwall spell appear in my mind, and I could feel that I am now able to use the spell. I then grabbed a red magic book and the notification appear again. Ding. Firestorm cannot be learned. Requirement, fire chi. So I can't use any kind of spell that I want then. I must have chi that the spell aligns with. Interesting. Asus, how do I get different kinds of chi? I said. Getting different type of chi is easy. You must buy a chi drainer from the shop. The chi drainer will cost 5,000 kill points. The chi drainer will drain the chi of a target until the person being drained dies. After that, you need to attach the chi drainer to your chi gathering converter in your chest and empty the chi into the converter, and you will be able to use that type of chi. Asus informed me. Damn it. I only have 210 KP. I have to start grinding for KP. I thought. After being informed by Asus, I start picking up more books. The third book I picked up was a blue magic book. Ding. Water wave cannot be learned. Requirement, water chi. I then picked up a brown magic book. Ding. Do you wish to learn Golem Squad? Yes. No. I used my mind again to click yes, and the knowledge of how to summon golems from the ground gushed into my mind. It seems that magic books are color coordinated with the chi type that the spell is aligned with, which makes it easier for me to understand and find magic books that I can use, and so I don't have to keep picking up book after book to find a spell I can use. So, I picked up the last magic book which was brown. Ding. Do you wish to learn Pitfall Circlet? Yes. No. I picked yes again, and the knowledge came gushing into my mind. I found that the feeling of knowledge gushing into my mind was exhilarating. I could get addicted to the feeling. After learning the earth spells, I decided to cast the Golem Squad. I tried using my mind to cast the spell to see if I could, so I don't have to say the spells all of the time if I wanted to use them. And to my surprise, I was able to cast the spell with my mind. After casting the magic in my mind using my metal chi, 40 metallic golems appeared from the ground. The 30 metallic golems were big and bulk, which wasn't that good looking. The bulkiness of the golems made me unimpressed with them. The metallic golems were 15 feet tall and 5 feet wide. I remember that the human magician was only able to summon 20 golems. It seems with both warrior and magician ranks, I am able to summon twice as much as a normal rank 3 disciple magician. After looking at the 40 golems, I tried using my mind to see if I could command them, and I found I couldn't use my mind to control them, which made the golems even more unimpressive. I pointed at one and gave a command. You step forward. After giving the command, the golem I pointed stepped forward. So I have to give verbal commands with these dumb golems. That annoys me. I said angrily. After testing the Golem Squad spell, I used my energy blast to blast the golem that stepped forward to pieces, but when it hit the golem, and after the dust settled, I found to my surprise that it wasn't turned to pieces. The golem was still standing there with a hole in its stomach. It seems that this bulky golem is kind of durable. I started punching, and it took a whole 3 minutes for me to destroy the golem. Once I got done destroying the golem, and I was satisfied with the golem's durable, I made up my mind that these golems will be the tanks and berserkers on the front lines, so that the golems get destroyed, but my Ultron sentries can be the safe and sound. After think of more tests to do, Elva came up to me. My emperor, Elva said. What is it? I said while still think of tests to do. My fellow villagers have agreed to become citizens of your glorious empire, she said. Good, good. Great work, Elva. I said while patting her on the head. Status. Name, Ultron. Race, Android. Cultivation, rank, free apprentice warrior / rank, free apprentice magician. Experience points, 40 out of 100. Kill points, 210. Intelligence, 145 IQ. Chi type, metal chi, rarest form of earth chi. Body material, dwarven steel, gold rank. Powers, superhuman strength, superhuman durability, infinite stamina, flight, energy blast, technology manipulation and hive mind system. Knowledge, Chitauri gravity, manipulation knowledge. Spells, Earthwall / Golem Squad / Pitfall Circlet. Occupation, Emperor. Good, good. Great work, Elva. I said while patting her on the head. As I was patting her on the head, she blushed. This is the first time someone pat her head. The only people to pat her on her head were her parents and brother. This was the first time someone beside her family did this. Thank you, Elva said while blushing. I started walking towards the area where the freed elves are gathered. Elva followed after me. She was walking 5 feet behind me. As we got closer to the gathering place of the freed elves, I see a lot of children crying while some women are comforting them. The rest are watching my Ultron sentries digging holes. As I got in front of the group of elves, my sentries just finished digging the graves for the fallen elves. I watched the sentries floating out of the graves. Then 180 of my sentries appeared from all directions, heading towards the graves. All of the 180 sentries were carrying corpses wrapped in blankets. They walked to the sides of each grave and stood there. There were 2 sentries on the sides of the graves, one holding a corpse and one holding a big rock. I have made these graves to give your fallen brethren a proper burial. I will need a few of you to help identify their names. Just go identify and give the names to one of my sentries by the grave, I said to the group of elves. After I said that, a few of the elves volunteered to identify the corpses. The volunteers started to identify the corpses. After confirming the identity of a corpse and giving the name to a sentry, the sentry holding the corpse would gently place the corpse in the grave. Then the sentry holding the big rock would place it at the head of the grave. After placing the big rock, the sentry would use an energy blast from its finger to carve the name of the corpse. While this was going on, the other elves started bowing towards me on one knee out of gratitude for doing this. Thank you for burying our brethren, said some of the elves. I just stood there in silence as the corpses were buried. It seemed like to the elves that I was staying silent out of respect for the dead being buried, but to me this was a part of my plan to gain their loyalty. Doing this was my way of showing them my kindness and sincerity to gain their loyalty, since if you are good to your subjects, they will be loyal to you. As I was thinking about my plan working and how I was a little happy about it, I started to realize something. I came to the realization that my emotions are kind of being hampered a little like when I become happy. After a few seconds I am then calm. Also my thinking is becoming more machine-like, more calculative and cunning. I'm guessing it has to do with my body and brain being made out of machines. I started to wonder if I should make a body like Vision, but I soon realized the mistake in that idea. I would be made of flesh which would make me less durable and my emotions might affect my decisions. And to win wars, govern my empire, and become the god of this world, I need to be calm and calculated. Besides I am Ultron. Ultron is no longer Ultron if he doesn't have a machine body. So, I will shelf this Vision body idea. After thinking of ideas for the future, Elva came to my side and started talking to me. My Emperor, thanks for doing this for my fallen brethren. My people are grateful that you are burying the fallen. It's our honor to become your citizens. Elva said with an idolizing gaze. I am happy to have you and your people become my citizens, I said. After 15 minutes, the corpses have been buried and each grave has a grave marker with the names of each corpse on it. Okay everyone, I need you to gather all of the supplies you and your people will need to survive and put it in the slavers' wagons. I said loudly to the elves. After telling the elves to gather supplies for their survival, the men started spreading out while the women and children stayed and rested. Before the elves finished gathering their supplies, I commanded 100 of my sentries to carry the captured slavers back to Fort Ultron. The 100 sentries went up to the captured slavers and put them on their shoulders and started flying into the sky and left towards the fort. After waiting for an hour, the male elves gathered all of the food, clothing, blankets, weapons and resources in the elf village that they could find and packed it all in the 10 of the slavers' wagons. I had 4 sentries carry each of the wagons, so nothing back would happen to it. Then I had 320 sentries carry the elves. I had the sentries princess carry the elves. I found it kind of funny seeing the male elves being carried like princesses, but I made sure to hold in my laughter. After confirming that everything the elves needed, and there was nothing else useful for me to find, I spoke to the elves. Time to go home, I said. My sentries started carrying the elves and the 10 wagons, and started to float up into the sky. When we were above the tree covers, my sentries and I flew towards Fort Ultron. As we were flying towards the fort, all of the elf children were getting excited and cheering. They were like children at an amuse, not in Tea Park having fun. It made me a little happy to see them being so cheerful after experiencing the horrors caused by the slavers, but my happiness for them soon calmed down because of the effects of my robotic body and brain. My Ultron sentries and I are almost back at Fort Ultron. As we are flying, I could see the fort in the distance, and after a few minutes we are hovering above the castle square. 600 of sentries, and I slowly floated down in front of the 100 slavers that are impaled, while 100 sentries fly into the forest to make more stakes. After calculating the time, I found out it took us a whole 30 minutes to arrive back at the fort, because my sentries are carrying 10 wagons, and all 301 elves. If they weren't here my sentries, and I could have been back at the fort in 15 to 20 minutes. After thinking about it for a few seconds, I realized that if I have to carry things like supplies, loot, or people then my combat abilities and my numbers will decrease. So I really need to buy the knowledge of the Quinjet or maybe of the Boeing CH-47 Chinook, so I can transport my loot or people that way I can keep my sentries ready to fight and kill my enemies. I will check the shop later today after I finished everything I need to do. After my sentries put down the wagons, elves and captives, I had some of the sentries carry the wagons to the warehouse on the left side of the castle square. While the elves were looking around at Fort Ultron curiously, I turned to the 300 elves I rescued, and I started to talk. Hello, my newly found citizens. Welcome to my home, Fort Ultron, I said before I settle you down. Let me show you a little preview to a show you will be viewing called Justice. I said while I waved my hand towards the impaled slavers who were still struggling in pain. When I was looking at the slaver, I noticed that almost all of them pissed themselves, and I found that my senties were a little wet with the blood and another liquid, which meant that while the impaled slavers pissed themselves out of pain, the piss actually dropped onto my sentries holding up the stakes, which I found very unpleasant and disgusted. This means that I will have to get the sentries washed and sterilized because that I just nasty. So, I had the sentries holding the stakes plant the stakes into the ground, so they don't have to hold them up. After planting the stakes into the ground, I commanded to march into the river that surrounds the fort's walls and wash off the blood and piss off them. When I gestured towards the impaled slavers, the elves were shocked with joy to see the slavers impaled alive, getting their just desserts. While some were smiling at the punishment that the slavers were receiving, quite a few of the elves picked up some stones and started throwing them at the impaled slavers. After a few minutes, the 100 sentries I sent to make stakes returned, which they planted into the ground next to the already impaled slavers. My citizens, it's time for the punishment for these criminals. No, that isn't the right word for them. I got it. These animals. I said, I hope you enjoy the show. After I finished my speech to my citizens, my sentries started waking up the 100 captive slavers with a few slaps to the face. After slapping the faces of the slavers a few times, they woke up with some swollen cheeks. But as soon as they saw their fellow slavers impaled, they were scared shitless, and almost half of them started to piss their pants. All of the tied up slavers started to struggle and tried to break free so they could run away. While I was watching the slavers trying to wiggle free and escape, I quietly chuckled at their useless efforts to break free from my sentries, and I even found it kind of comical. After watching the slavers struggle for a minute, I got bored of their struggling, so I finally commanded for my sentries to starting float up with the tied up slavers and fly above the stakes. Once they were in position, they started slowly float down, and the slavers were slowly impaled them. As they were being impaled, the slavers were screaming in pain, but once the stake broke through and exit out of their mouths, they stopped screaming. You could only hear loud and continuous painful groaning coming from the slavers. After the impalements were done, I slowly walked to the castle, while my sentries were guiding the elves to the barracks on the right side of the castle square. There were 10 barracks with each barrack able to shelter 200 people. Elva, follow me, I said loudly. Coming, my emperor, replied Elva. Tell me about the empire and kingdoms of this world. I asked her. Well, I am sorry, but I don't know anything about any empire or kingdom of this world besides yours, my emperor. Elva said sadly. Why is that? I asked curiously. You see, my people lived in isolation in this forest for almost 200 or 300 years now. My people have been living in here for a long time and never been in contact with the outside world or gone outside the forest. Elva said to me. I see. Maybe I should have kept one of the slaves imprisoned and tortured that kind of information out of him, but it's too late now. I will have to go out of this forest in disguise and gather intel of this world then. It's like the great Sun Tzu once said, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will suck that you.mb in every battle. I said while my hands were behind me back. Wow, this Sun Tzu must be a wise and brilliant general in the ancient times, said Elva with wonder in her eyes. Wow, this Sun Tzu must be a wise and brilliant general in the ancient times, said Elva with wonder in her eyes. I lightly laughed at Elva's comment. Yes, he was a great general, military strategist, writer, and philosopher. He even wrote a book called The Art of War, an influential work of military strategy that has affected a lot of nations' philosophy and military thinking. I told her, wow, I would love to read his book. Elva said, maybe you will one day. I said, okay, you should go to your people and help them with anything that they need. If you need anything, just let one of my sentries know, and I will see what I can. Elva nodded at my suggestion and went over to the elves, who were heading towards the barracks. I was watching them when I thought to myself that I should re-establish their village to the west, like 5 or 10 miles away, since I plan on converting the barracks into storage area for my Ultron sentries. I should also build an underground base to store them as well, since I will be establishing a huge Ultron sentry army here. Asus, how much silver rank metal, or do we have in the mind? Also, how many Ultron sentries can I build if I want to build an underground base with 100 floors with each floor able to hold 10,000 sentries with the silver rank metal? I asked. I just calculated that with the building of the underground base of your size requirements, you should only be able to build 30,000 Ultron sentries, which will take 30 days then the mine run out of metal ores. Asus informed me. Only 30,000 sentries. I believe that is not going to be enough for my future plans of conquest. What if I don't build the underground base? How many Ultron sentries can I build? I asked curiously. With the underground base taken out of the equations, you should be able to build 300,000 Ultron sentries, which will take 300 days to finish, said Asus. Now that is more like it. I just need to increase both of my cultivation ranks up to rank 8 or 9, and then my sentries will have the same strength as me, and I will most likely become the God Emperor of this world. I said to myself out loud, okay, enough plans of world conquest. I need to experiment with my new spells and test my limits with the Ultron sentries. I said. After making my decision to experiment my powers, I commanded 10 sentries to come to me. In a minute, 10 sentries appeared in front of me. My sentries and I started to fly into the sky and headed towards the area right outside the fort walls where there was a clearing made by my sentries for making stakes. The clearing was big enough for me to test my experiments. I landed in the forest clearing with my sentries. I then switched my consciousness to one of them. I casted Golem Squad, and 40 metallic golems appeared from the ground. They were the same size as the ones I summoned with my original body. It turns out that I can use the spells I learned in any of the sentry bodies. I then commanded another sentry to cast Golem Squad, and the sentry was able to summon 40 metallic golems. After learning about this, it means I just have to send a command to cast a spell, and they will be able to cast it, which makes it great for coordinated attack like area damage or artillery. After thinking about this, I uncasted the Golem Squad, and the golems slowly disappeared into the ground. I went back into my original body and commanded all 10 sentries to cast Golem Squad, and 400 metallic golems came out of the ground. This is amazing. I said if I commanded all 900 of my sentries that I have now to cast Golem Squad, then I would have 36,000 golems as disposable pawns to sacrifice in battle, which means less destroyed sentries to repair, but the only bad part is that these golems seems to only have rank 1 strength. Why is that, Asus? This is because only your main body is able to summon golems with strength 1 rank below you, while the Ultron sentries are able to only summon golems 2 ranks below them. Asus informed me. That's too bad, but I just had to improve my strength to make the golems and sentries stronger then. When the slavers die from the impalement, I should be able to level up. I said, but I should send out sentries to hunt for XP and KP. I had all of my sentries uncast Golem Squad, and the golems went into the ground. I then started experimenting with my other spells, Earth Wall and Pitfall Circlet. I found out from experimenting with Earth Wall that the wall could become any design I want. I was able to make the Earth Wall take the shape of a Chinese-style city wall. Then I turned it into a European castle wall. It even found out it's not limited to a square wall like you would see in Avatar: The Last Airbender, but I could create a circular wall around me. This spell will do great with making a quick fort in a time of war. After experimenting with Earth Wall, I started testing the limits of Pitfall Circlet. Just one of the sentries was able to make a pitfall 10 feet wide and 100 feet deep. I was about to continue my experiments when I noticed that it was getting dark. I looked up into the sky and noticed that it was almost nighttime, so I stopped my experiments and decided to continue them for another time. My sentries and I flew into the sky and headed back home. My sentries and I flew into the sky and headed back home. As soon as I got back, I sent out 400 of my Ultron sentries to go out and make 4 roads, 10 miles long to the north, west, south, and east, with 100 going each direction. Once they got to the 10-mile marker, they will start clearing the area in a circle with a radius of 4 miles. After they finish the circle area, they will start building walled towns with the lumber they cut down. I had an image of the design from an anime I used to watch, One Piece. The towns and the fort will connect with one another like the design from the world government flag. With the roads connecting them, my citizens will be able to travel faster. Once the towns are complete, I plan on sending the 320 elves to the town in the west, since it would be safer than the east where it is closer to human civilization. I also plan on make Elva the mayor of the town, and have her start making a defense legion for the town, and have her make more clearings around the town so they can create some farms. I plan on using living people for defense legions for the towns and cities that I create and conquer instead of using my Ultron sentries to protect them. I find it would be a waste of my resources and my sentries to just station them there when I could have the people have a militia to protect themselves in case of an attack. It's also not a good idea for me to divide my Ultron sentry army to just protect cities when I can just disband the armies of the places I conquer and reorganize the soldiers into a defense legion with their only purpose of defending the city they are stationed at and the villages near the city. The defense legion is a wonderful idea. I just have to make sure I can find soldiers who will be faithful to their new ruler. After thinking about my military plans for the future, I went back into my castle with the 10 sentries I took with me to test my experiments. I sat down on my throne with my sentries lined up in front of me. After sitting down, I ordered 20 sentries outside of the castle to make some items that I needed. I then set the timer in the system to wake me up in the morning and went into sleep mode while my sentries went into autopilot mode. Minus 10 hours later, I slowly woke up and saw the 10 Ultron sentries still standing in the same place that I left them. I then ordered them to get items and supplies from the warehouse where I am storing resources and the things we got from the slavers we captured. They left and came back in a few minutes with the necessary items that were created yesterday, which I needed for the next stage of my plan. They brought back 10 hooded Akatsuki cloaks from the anime, Naruto, 10 hollow Ichigo masks from the anime, Bleach, bandages, 10 pairs of pants, 10 long sleeve shirts, 10 pairs of leather gloves, and 10 pairs of leather boots. I thought it would be cool to use some clothing and props from some animes I watched in my past life. I had the sentries put on the pants and long sleeve shirt, then boots and the gloves, and then the hooded Akatsuki cloaks. Once they put on the clothing, I had them wrap their heads with the bandages. After they finishing wrapping their heads, they put on the hollow Ichigo masks and pulled their hoods for their heads. I stand up and walked up to the sentries and inspected them. After gazing at my Ultron sentries in their cosplay outfits, then a funny thought came to my mind, which was that I have just brought cosplay into a fantasy, like Cultivation world. I chuckled a little at that thought, but after I stopped chuckling at my achievement to bring cosplay to another world, I found that the Akatsuki cloaks from Naruto with the hollow Ichigo masks from Bleach made the sentries look like badasses, thanks to all of the clothing and the bandages covering them. You can't even see their metallic bodies, which will help hide their true identities. They look like a badass adventurer or mercenary group that you don't want to mess with. After finishing gazing at my handiwork, I sat back down on my throne and transferred my conspicuous to one of the sentries. I am now in one of the sentries in cosplay when I heard the system ding. Ding, 1,000 Ultron sentries have been manufactured. That's good. My sentries are now at 1,900 units. I said. I then sent an order to the 400 new sentries to go help with the road and town building, while I sent the new 600 sentries to the north, west, and south to go hunting for experience, while the remaining 490 sentries stay here and watch over the tortured slavers and elves. After finishing sending out commands to all of my sentries, I took the 9 Ultron sentries outside with me. Waiting outside was a sentries holding a bag of silver coins for me, since I am now planning on heading out to find out more about this world. I need money for things. I took the bag of silver coins and put them in a hidden pocket inside the cloak I am wearing. When I put the silver coins away, I looked down at the Akatsuki cloak I am wearing. The cosplay reminded me of the good old days when I cosplayed at anime conventions called Anime Oasis in my hometown of Boise, Idaho. I even went to the convention as an Akatsuki member one time, but now isn't the time to reminisce about the old times, so I shook my head to stop thinking about my old memories. My Akatsuki sentries, and I flew into the sky and head east. My Akatsuki sentries, and I flew into the sky and head east. After 15 minutes of flying, we flew past the ruined elf village. I decided to check out my map to see if anyone was near the forest's edge. Looking at the map, I can a bunch of groups of gray dots heading towards the forest. Some groups were 8 to 15 miles away from the forest. It means that these groups of gray dots are most likely people who are adventurers, mercenaries, or maybe even lumberjacks. It's hard to tell, so I zoomed in on a group of the gray dots and saw a group of 10 people. 8 of the people seemed to be warriors because they were wearing armor, and the last 2 are magicians since they are wearing robes and carrying staffs. After zooming onto another few of the groups, they almost appeared the same, so I exit out of my map. In another 10 minutes, we arrived 2 miles away from the edge of the forest. We floated down into the forest. I decided to land in the forest and exit by walking since I don't want anyone to see us flying. Once we landed, we started walking to the forest's end. On the way out of the forest, I made sure that we took our time exiting the forest so we could do some hunting, and it took us only 20 minutes to kill a bunch of animals such as a bear, 2 boars, and a deer. We skinned them and took the anything that could be valuable such as claws, teeth, skin, and meat. We put everything into 3 bags and headed out of the back towards the end of the forest. It took us another 5 minutes to finally exit the forest after our little hunt, and after exiting the forest, I just saw a grass plain for here to the horizon. There was no road of any kind, but I could see a bunch of trails, most likely 100 trails. It seems that the forest is a good hunting place or something. After inspecting the surrounds, my Akatsuki sentries and I started walking towards the direction of the nearest city that I could see on my map. Minus 3 hours later, we finally could see the city in my sight, which was about time. It felt like it took forever for us to just walk here, and I found it to piss me off since I could have flown here in 30 minutes, but I can let people know about me just yet, not until I have information about this world and its strength. But the journey here was all bad because on the way to the city, we passed by a few of the groups I saw on my map. When we passed by, the people in these groups would stare at us and move out of the way for us. From what I saw from their expressions, they were scared of us. It seems that the cosplay that my sentries and I are wearing is scaring people. Well, if you find a group of people wearing hooded cloaks wearing a scary-looking mask heading towards you, you would want to move out of their way. I couldn't help think that it was hilarious that cosplay was able to scare people and make way for us like we were monsters. It was so funny that I almost laughed out, but thanks to my robot body, it took a few seconds for my emotions to calm down. After a few more minutes of walking, we arrived at the city. I could see the gatehouse of the city walls with a long line at the entrance. After zooming in with my eyes, I could see guards looking through people's bags and wagons, and once the guards were done searching their possessions, they paid the guards a few bronze coins. It looks like there is an entrance fee to get into the city. So, my Akatsuki sentries and I lined up in the queue. After inspecting everything around me from the city walls, to the gate guards, and the people in line, I found out everyone was human. There was no elves, beast people, or anyone from any other race. Which means that this city must belong to a human kingdom or empire that might believe in human superiority, since I can't see any other race here. But I will have to wait until I get inside to confirm my hypothesis. It took us 20 minutes to get to finally reach the gate because the gate guards had to check everyone's belongings, which was annoying me, making me just want to fly over the wall instead of waiting, but that is a stupid idea. I slowly approached the gate guards with my sentries when it was my turn. WH. Warehouse. What is the purpose of your visit to the city of Zalo? Said gate guard who was looking at us with a scared face. We are here to sell the parts of animals we have killed, I said while pointing to the cosplaying sentries holding the bags of loots. Oh, okay, we just have to check, said another gate guard. After the sentries put down the bags full of animals' parts, a couple of gate guards came and checked it out. After looking in the back and finding nothing of place, the one of the gate guards gave the okay. TW. Twin, 20 bronze coins for the entrance fee, please. I withdrew my arm into my cloak and took out 20 bronze coins and handed it to the guard. After paying the entrance fee, I was gestured to move forward into the city. I started walking with my sentries into the human city. I withdrew my arm into my cloak and took out 20 bronze coins and handed it to the guard. After paying the entrance fee, I was gestured to move forward into the city. I started walking with my sentries into the human city. As we enter the city of Zalos, I see the main street which is 20 feet wide, big enough to fit 2 wagons. There are a bunch of shops on both sides of the street. I could see a bunch of wooden signs hanging in front of the shops which had an image and the shop's name on it. Some of the signs have an image of a plate with a fork and knife on both sides of the plate, a shield and 2 swords crisscrossing each other, and etc. It looks like the common people of this world can't read the words of their language. As my sentries and I walked down the main street, everyone on the street was moving out of our way. As I head towards the center of the town, I could see a castle in the middle of the city, but I stopped. I pointed towards a man walking on the street who looks to be a patrolling guard since he is wearing the same kind of armor as the gate guards. Hey you. We are looking for a place to sell the materials and meat of some creatures we killed, I said. That depends. If you want to sell some meat, you can sell it to any of the restaurants on the main roads. If you have claws and skin, you can sell it to a tailor or blacksmith or weapon and armor shop also located on the main roads, said the patrol guard. Okay, where can I get information, and do you have a mercenary or an adventurers guild here? I asked. What is an adventurers guild? We do have a mercenary guild, if that is what you mean. The mercenary guild is near the center of the city. You can find it by its sign. It's a dragon holding a sword and spear in its claw, said the patrol guard. Alright, does this city have a library or a bookshop? I asked. We do have a small bookshop. It's on the east side of the city, said the patrol guard. Thanks, I said. After giving my thanks, I walked away from the patrol guard and headed to the bookshop in the east side of the city. It took my sentries and I 20 minutes just to get to the bookstore because the street were crowded with people and wagons. The bookstore was a 2-story building with a sign with the image of an open book. I opened up the door and I see 4 bookshelves containing roughly 300 books, I am guessing. At the back of the store is a counter with a beautiful blonde-haired woman in a magician robe behind it who was reading a book. At the same time I saw her, she looked up from book and spotted me and my sentries in cosplay. She gave us a puzzling look like she was saying, who the hell are these guys? My sentries started to spread out to the bookshelves and started roaming the books and searching for anything that could give me information about this world I am in. I just stood there waiting for my sentries to find books on things I could use to know more about the world. While I stood still waiting, the bookstore girl was looking at my sentries with curious eyes. It was like she was fascinated by us, but I didn't think it mattered. After waiting for 15 minutes, my sentries were able to find 7 books and a map that seemed to have useful information of the world, while the other books are like romance, fantasy, and adventure books you would see back in my world. A History of the Ark World Volume 1 to 5 tells the history of the Ark World. The 6 races of Ark World gives details about the characteristic, cultures, and religions of each of the 6 races. The history of the 3 kingdoms of the Ho continent tells about the history of the 3 kingdoms that rule, or the Ho continent where humans, dwarves/gnomes, and beast people live. Map of Ho continent. After confirming the things I wanted, my sentries and I walked up to the counter and placed the books and scroll on it. I would like these books and map, I said to the bookstore girl who looks like a magician. Oh, now would you? Why are you buying books that have information about our world and the Ho continent? It seems like you are buying these books because you don't know anything about our world, said the bookstore girl. After hearing her said that, I was shocked. How is this girl able to guess my secret? Is this what people said about a woman's intuition being super scary? I thought. No, I am buying these books for my book collection, and the map is because I lost my last map, I said calmly. Alright, said the bookstore girl. The books and map will cost you 4 silver coins and 5 bronze coins. Okay, I said while staring at the girl. I took out the money pouch out of my cloak and paid for the books and map. After paying, I had one of my sentries grab the items and started walking out. If you ever want to talk about this world and know more about it, Mr. Mysterious, just come back anytime. My name is Rihanna, said Raina the bookstore girl. I suddenly stopped in my tracks for a second before exiting the bookstore. If you ever want to talk about this world and know more about it, Mr. Mysterious, just come back anytime. My name is Rihanna, said Raina the bookstore girl. I suddenly stopped in my tracks for a second before exiting the bookstore. As soon as I was out of the bookstore, I was relieved to be out of there. That girl, Raina, is a weird one. It's like she knew who I was or something about me. It felt like her eyes were seeing right through me, which gave me a fright a little. I was glad to be leaving, but for some odd feeling deep down, I I feel like I am going to see her again. After thinking about Raina, the weird bookstore girl, I started heading to a restaurant that was nearby. The name of the restaurant on the sign was Dawn Diner, and it had an image of a plate with two knives crossing each other to make it look like a X. As I enter into the restaurant with my sentries, I see it buzzing with business. All of the tables were full, and people were eating delicious-looking food, which is one of the things I miss the most now beside my family jewel since I became a machine, the ability to eat and taste delicious food. I can't really remember now the taste of chocolate or steak, but it's like they say if you want to gain something, you have to lose something. As I was standing in the waiting area with my sentries, a cute little teenage waitress slowly came up with me. She was scared and kind of looked like a frightened little rabbit that is about to hop away. Ma, may I help you, sire?" said the waitress. "I am looking for the owner of this establishment. I am here to sell some meat." I said, "Oh, okay, wait here and I will get him," said the waitress. After she said that, she went running into the back of the restaurant into what seems to be the kitchen. I waited for a minute before the waitress came running back. "The boss will be here in a few minutes. He just needs to finish cook a lunch for a customer," said the waitress. "Okay," I said. After waiting for 5 minutes, I noticed a giant muscular man in a brown apron coming out of the kitchen. The man looked like he could be a wrestler or a bodybuilder, not the owner and chef of a restaurant. It's like seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger being a florist, which just doesn't fit his image. As the man came closer and closer, he just got bigger and bigger until he stood right in front of me. He was a tall man. I'm 6 feet tall, but this guy was like 7 feet or more tall. While I was looking up at the man and being surprised that such a man is owning a restaurant and is even the chef when he should be a warrior, he started talking and snapped me out of my shock. "Hello, my name is Castan and I am the owner and cook of the Dawn Diner. How may I help you?" said Castan. "I'm here to sell you some meat. I have some bear, boar, and deer meat," I said while the sentries holding the bags full of meat opened them up so Castan could see the meat. Just this meat is still good, and it should have been hunted just this morning, but the way of cutting the meat is just amateurish, but the meat is still good, so I will give you 3 silver coins for the meat," said Castan while he was inspecting the meat. "Deal," I said. My sentries put the meat on the floor while I held my hand out. When I held my hand out, Castan took out a money pouch from a pocket from his apron and handed me 3 silver coins. Once I had the money in my hands, I put it away and walked out. Before I was gone too far, Castan shouted out, "If you get more meat on your hands, make sure to come sell to me, since I will give you a good price." I then went into a blacksmith shop that had an image of an anvil on their sign that was nearby. I walked in and had my sentries dump the animal skins, antlers, tusks, and claws on the counter. "I am here to sell these materials," I said to the blacksmith. "These are all right goods. I will give you 8 bronze coins for them," said the blacksmith. "Okay," I said. After getting paid for the materials, I headed out and started going to the center of the city to go to the mercenary guild. After 15 minutes, I was in the center of the city. After looking around, I spotted the mercenary guild, which wasn't hard to miss since it was a huge 3-story building with a crest of a western-looking dragon holding swords in its claws engraved into the building above the 2-door entrance. Now that I found the mercenary guild, I slowly walked towards the entrance. As I am entering into the mercenary guild, I'm seeing a huge hall with 8 long tables that can hold 20 men at each. At the very back of the building is a long counter that has 4 receptionists talking with some people, and on the right is a huge bulletin board with like 100 pieces of paper, which I am sure are jobs that mercenaries can accept. As I scanned my surrounding, I estimated that there are 50 mercenaries in the guild. After inspecting my surroundings, I went to one of the receptionists, which was a human woman who looked to be in her 30s. "Hello, sir. How may I be of service?" said the female receptionist. After inspecting my surroundings, I went to one of the receptionists, which was a human woman who looked to be in her 30s. "Hello, sir. How may I be of service?" said the female receptionist. "Yes, I am here to register me and my men as a mercenary group," I said to the reception lady. "Okay," said the lady. Then she took out a piece of paper. "I'm going to need you to fill this application form out." On the form, it wanted the name of the mercenary group, the total number of men, our cultivation ranks. So I filled it out. Name, Akatsuki. Number of members, 10. Ranks, 10 rank, free warrior/10 rank, free magician. After filling it out, I handed the application back to the reception lady. Once the application was in the lady's hand, she inspected the information and then she had a shocked face. "You and your men are pretty strong for a city that is on the far edge of the Howan Kingdom. We usually only have people who are rank 2's foot except for a few exceptions like the Lofong Brothers Slav mercenary group and the Alpha Shields mercenary group." After saying that and stating her surprise, she took the application form and stamped it with a stamp that approved the application. "Now, your mercenary group known as the Akatsuki is the official member of the mercenary guild," she said. "Now please wait while I go and get your mercenary card created," she said. Then she went into a door behind the counter and she took the application form into the back with her as well. After a few minutes, she came back with the card in her hand. Once we got back to her spot, she handed the card that was in her hand. "Here is your mercenary guild ID. This ID is free for first-time mercenary groups, but if you lose it, and you will need a replacement, and the replacement will cost you 1 silver coin," she said. After I took the card from her, I started inspecting it. It was just a card made out of wood, and on it said, "Mercenary Group, Akatsuki." When I was inspecting the card, the reception lady started talking again. "Would you like a quick tutorial of the mercenary ranks and information?" she said. "Okay, let me hear it," I said. "Alrighty then. So in the mercenary guild we have 6 ranks. We have the ordinary rank mercenary group. Next is the bronze rank, silver rank, gold rank, platinum rank, and finally god rank. But that rank is impossible to receive since we no longer have god rank people in this world anymore," she said. "To identify a mercenary group's rank, you just have to look at the ID. An ordinary group's ID will be made out of wood, a bronze ID is made out of bronze, a silver ID is made out of silver, and etc. You basically get it right." "I see," I said. "Now let's move on to the rules of the mercenary guild. First rule is to never backstab your employer, such as completing the contract then killing and robbing them. This will result in you being dismissed from the guild and have a bounty issued on your head. Second rule, if you don't complete your contract, you will be given a demerit. Once you get 3 demerits, your group's rank will be demoted, or at the ordinary rank, if you get 3 demerits, you will be dismissed from the guild. Third rule is to never attack the mercenary guild or its employees, which will result in an automatic dismissal from the guild and a bounty issued on your head. These are the main 3 rules of the mercenary guild. We have other rules, but they are more like guidelines really," she said. "I understand," I said. After I said that, there was a loud bang behind me, which came from the mercenary guild's front door. I turned around to see a bunch of guys numbering around 50 men with 46 warriors and 4 magicians. They came in and sat down at 2 of the long tables in the main hall. The group started to drink. I then turned back around to focus on the reception lady. "Continue please," I said nicely. "Let's talk about improving your mercenary group's rank. There are 2 ways to accomplish this. First, which is the easiest way, is to complete mercenary contracts. Since your mercenary group rank is ordinary, you have to complete 20 ordinary contracts, then you will have to complete a bronze contract as a test. And once you complete that, your rank will be upgraded to bronze, and you just have to repeat the process to keep upgrading your rank," she said. Second way is the harder way, which is just to improve your cultivation rank. So if you have 10 rank 4 or 5s, you will be upgraded to bronze and so on. But improving your cultivation in this business is hard to do, she said. When she told me the second way of improving my mercenary group rank, it made me almost laugh since when my cultivation rank improves, so does my Ultron Sentry's cultivation ranks, which makes it easy especially in this mercenary line of business where I just need to kill a living being to get XP and KP. With this mercenary group, I can gain XP and KP from killing, then I will get money from the contracts which I can use to buy higher rank medals for my body. I really want to have a stronger body like Ultron's second form at the end of the move, where he is 7.5 feet tall and magnificent looking. So that all of the basics for you to know. Do you have any questions? She said, as she was done explaining to me about the basics for beginner mercenary groups. "Looky here, boys. Looks like we got some fresh meat in the building," said a voice behind me. So that all of the basics for you to know. Do you have any questions? She said, as she was done explaining to me about the basics for beginner mercenary groups. "Looky here, boys. Looks like we got some fresh meat in the building," said a voice behind me. When I heard the voice, my Ultron sentries and I turned around at the same time to see the unlucky son of a bitch who was trying to pick a fight with me. What I saw was a man who was 6.5 feet tall in black heavy armor and carrying a 5-foot long war axe on his back. He was at least half a foot taller than me, and he was staring down on me like I was fresh prey to be hunted. Since you and your men are newbies, then let us seniors teach you the etiquettes and rules of being a mercenary. Don't worry, it won't cost you much. Just hand over everything you got, and we will count it as a deal. What do you say? If you don't agree with me, we can just teach you the hard way. It's more fun for us that way. Ha ha ha, said the mercenary while patting both of his hands on my shoulders. When he said that, his 49 cronies sitting at the tables in the main hall laughed along with him. Hey, leave them alone, why don't you? Said the reception lady trying to protect us. They are newcomers to the mercenary business. Why don't you just leave them be and go find a contract for your group instead of being an asshole? Oh, you want to protect the newbies, huh? Well, if you want to protect them that badly, then just come to my room over at the Little Horn Inn, and if I have a good time, then I just might let them go, the mercenary said. Besides, I know you need a good fucking since your husband left you and your daughter for a younger woman. Ha ha. When the mercenary said that, I got a whole lot of pissed off. I kind of liked the reception lady. She was pretty nice to me, and she even explained the mercenary guild's rule and about mercenary ranks and ways of promotions to me. She even did it happily with a smile on her face. I like to follow my life with a basic philosophy. If someone is kind to me, then I will pay back the kindness by 10 times, and if someone is cruel to me, then I will pay back the cruelty by 1,000 times. So since the reception lady was kind to me, then I will repay her. A bunch of weaklings want to threaten me. It makes me want to laugh. You probably make a terrible mercenary. Why not you and your puny cronies just change job and become clown? You and your cronies can start a clown circus, I said while chuckling. After I said that to the mercenary, he stopped laughing along with his cronies. His face was starting to get red with anger. He was fuming with anger because he started to huffing and puffing. What did I hurt the little baby's feelings? I said while chuckling. Newbie, you are making a huge mistake. You don't want your mercenary group to be destroyed on the same day it was created, do you? Said the mercenary angrily. He started to calm down a little. Just give me everything you own, your clothes, money, and your underwear. If you run home in a KD, then maybe I can forgive your little misbehavior to your senior, the mercenary said. I turned to the reception lady and pointed my finger at him and said, will I get in trouble if I kill this man? Yes, you can't fight or kill inside the mercenary guild. The only place to do that is in the mercenary guild's arena and training grounds at the back of the building, said the reception lady calmly. That's good, then let's do that. I said then I turned around back to the mercenary who was shocked by my calm attitude about his threat. You heard the pretty lady. If you want to die so badly, then let's go out back and have a little fun, shall we? I said while quietly laughing evilly. Boy, Dio, you know who we are, said the mercenary angrily. Are you a bunch of little girls? No, that can't be right. You and your cronies are too ugly to be little girls. Oh, I know. You guys are a bunch of weak crybabies. I said to the mercenary. Boy, we are the Black Rampage mercenary group. Our group is bronze rank, and we are the third best mercenary group in the city. It's now too late for you and your men. Tonight all of you die. Come to the guild's arena so we can kill all of you, said the mercenary. When the mercenary said that, all of his cronies stood up. That's right, people are going to die tonight, but it's not going to be us, I said while chuckling. I then turned to the reception lady and said, how do I get to the guild's arena? You go through the door over there, said the reception lady while pointed to a door near the reception counter. Once I knew where to go, my sentries and I started heading to the door, and following behind us were the mercenary and his 49 cronies. I exited out of the back door of the mercenary guild, so see an area that was the size of half a football field. It was a concrete-like ground surrounded by walls. My sentries and I started heading to the very end of the arena. Once we got there, we stopped and turned around to face the mercenary and his 49 cronies at the other end of the arena. I stared at them and said, let the fun begin. My sentries and I are now standing at the very end of the guild's arena, facing towards the enemies at the other end is the head mercenary and his 49 cronies in black armor with war axes, war hammers, and great swords strapped on their backs. I theorized that these mercenaries who wield big weapons, and that their mercenary group's name, Black Rampage, that these men are brainless losers who rely on the muscles and who only know how to attack by just charge and swinging with the big weapons. The mercenaries were smiling and taking this easy since they believe they have the numbers advantage, but I know numbers don't win a battle or a war. It's the quality and not the quantity that count, but my Ultron sentries and I are way better than that. We are basically great quality and great quantity. Why have just one winning factor when you can have both? As I staring at the mercenaries, I yelled, let the fun begin. As soon as I said that, my sentries and I started to spread out into a long line. We are 5 feet apart from each other. While watching us spread out, the head mercenary started smiling on laugh. Then he pointed to 10 of his cronies. Okay, the 10 of you go. Show these bitches pain, and make sure you kill them slowly, the head mercenary said. We got it, boss. You can count on us to make them suffer, laughed one of the 10 selected mercenaries. After saying that, the 10 mercenaries started to spread out like my sentries, and I did. It was now a one-on-one fight, which will make this a piece of cake, which will make it boring and short. If all of them came at me, then the fun wouldn't end so soon. You better send all of your men, or this will be too short and boring. I said, keep on dreaming, kid. These 10 men are rank 2 disciple warriors who have been in over 40 battles, but you are right. This fight will be too short and boring since to my men, you are like a little bug that needs squashed, said the head mercenary. I wouldn't be too sure of that, I said while chuckling. Then the 10 rank 2 disciple warriors started charging at my sentries and I. My sentries and I also just stood there waiting for the mercenaries to come to their doom. When they got close enough, I let my sentries fight on autopilot while I focus on the punching bag charging at me. After my last 2 battles with the rank 4 inferior warrior and rank 3 disciple magician brothers with their 198 rank 2 disciple warriors, I gained a brand new ability to predict humans' movements. Thanks to my AI brain, I am now able to calculate and predict an opponent's move by using their stance and the movement of their muscles. This ability is almost like the AIM hacks you would see in first-person shooter PC games, but better. With my ability, I now know that my opponent will jump up and swing down with his axe, which came true in the next 3 seconds. He jumped in the air while he was in the air. I moved out of the way of his war axe and held my fist out. With my fist held out, the crony coming down, his DCK landed on my metal fist. When his DCK landed on my fist, his eyes started to bulge out of his eye socket in great pain, and he dropped his war axe. He came crashing to the ground and held his DCK in his hands while rolling in pain. I then grabbed his war axe and swung down on his knees. With one fell swoop, he was now a legless man, crying in pain. On my sentry sides, they were able to finish their battles pretty quickly as well. They then used the mercenaries' own weapons on them. Some had warhammer, so the bones in their legs were turned into dust, while others had their legs cut off. These 10 mercenaries are now disabled for the rest of their lives. When the 10 mercenaries were disabled, their buddies were shocked by what happened, but they were snapped out of their shock by the head mercenary. Alright boys, these assholes just disabled our buddies. Let's capture them and torture them for their crimes against us, shouted the head mercenary. Then the rest of the 40 mercenaries started to charge at my sentries and I, so we also charged at them Naruto style, while carrying the weapons of their fallen comrades. My sentries and I started maneuvering between the mercenaries while count off their legs. When they tried to attack us, we either parried with our new weapons or dodged the attack. They tried as hard as they could, but it was hopeless for them. My sentries and I were able to predict their moves and counteract their moves with ease. After nearly a minute of dodging and leg cutting, my sentries and I are now facing the mercenary guild building, and the mercenaries were on the ground behind us with no legs and in a lot of pain. My sentries and I slowly turned around to face the mercenaries on the ground. I then commanded 5 of my sentries to make some torches out of the chairs that were by the door that leads into the mercenary guild. They got the wood and took off their gloves so they could use energy blast to set the wood on fire, and then they put the gloves back on. We then started to go to each mercenary and cut off their arms and use the torches to stop the bleeding. Once we did that to 5 of the mercenaries, the other 45 screamed in horror. Some tried to fight my sentries off, but they would just knock their weapons out of their hands, while some tried to crawl away to the door of the mercenary guild and escape. I even let a few of them get so close to the door which filled them with hope and excitement. Then right as they were about to reach the doorknob, I would drag them away, destroying their hope. My sentries and I slowly turned around to face the mercenaries on the ground. I then commanded 5 of my sentries to make some torches out of the chairs that were by the door that leads into the mercenary guild. They got the wood and took off their gloves so they could use energy blast to set the wood on fire, and then they put the gloves back on. We then started to go to each mercenary and cut off their arms and use the torches to stop the bleeding. Once we did that to 5 of the mercenaries, the other 45 screamed in horror. Some tried to fight my sentries off, but they would just knock their weapons out of their hands while some tried to crawl away to the door of the mercenary guild and escape. I even let a few of them get so close to the door which filled them with hope and excitement. Then right as they were about to reach the doorknob, I would drag them away, destroying their hope. When the mercenaries fainted from the pain, I would slap them awake again so that they could continue suffering from the pain. After doing this for 5 minutes, I started to get bored with the torturing of these mercenaries. I then took their weapons and chopped off their heads since they now have no more purpose. After chopping off their heads, there was blood, limbs, and heads everywhere. It was like a living nightmare, but I didn't feel a thing from seeing, which I should thank the side effects of having a robotic mind and body while I was thinking that I got some dings. Ding. You have killed a rank 3 warrior. Gained 30 XP and 1 KP. Ding. You have killed 49 rank 2 warriors. Gained 980 XP and 49 KP. After seeing that, I checked my status and found that I was close to leveling up and I now have 260 kill points. Status. Name, Ultron. Race, Android. Cultivation, rank 3 apprentice warrior / rank 3 apprentice magician. Experience points, 1050 / 1500. Kill points, 260. Intelligence, 145 IQ - 150 IQ. Chi type, metal chi, rarest form of earth chi. Body material, dwarven steel, gold rank. Powers, superhuman strength, superhuman durability, infinite stamina, flight, energy blast, technology manipulation and hive mind system. Knowledge, Chitauri gravity manipulation knowledge. Spells, earth wall / golem squad / pitfall circlet. Occupation, emperor. After checking my status I found out that my IQ increased, which I found weird since before my IQ wasn't so high when I was human, so I decided to ask Asus in my mind. Hey Asus, why is my IQ so high and even increased? I asked in my mind. That is a simple explanation. Your IQ is high because you now have a robot and AI mind instead of an inferior organic mind. Your IQ will increase the more you learn and more knowledge you gain. So if you read plenty of books and gain a lot of knowledge, your IQ will increase. Also, without a high IQ, you wouldn't be able to control so many Ultron sentries. For each 10 IQ you have, you can control 10,000 Ultron sentries. With your current IQ, you can control 1,500,000 Ultron sentries. Asus informed me. Okay, that's good to know. Do you know how many humanoid beings living in this world? I asked. I do not know. You will have to find that out by yourself. I only have the information about what the name of this world is and what races live here. Asus said to me. After talking with Asus for a bit, I started walking towards the door into the mercenary building and left behind the puzzle pieces of bodies which were scattered everywhere behind to be cleaned up by someone. When I walked into the mercenary guild, the receptionists and the mercenaries that were lounging around at the tables in the main hall were all shocked to see me and my sentries coming back alive. I walked towards the receptionist who was helping me earlier. When I approached her, she started talking to me. Are you okay? What is going on? Where's the Black Rampage group? The reception lady asked. Don't mind me. I am fine, but I have to say sorry because I left a little bit of a mess in the arena after playing those weaklings. I said while chuckling. After saying that, I started walking towards the exit and waved goodbye to the reception lady while facing away from her. As I was walking to the exit, some mercenaries and some of the reception ladies got up to head to the arena to see what happened to the Black Rampage group. As soon as I was walking out the door, I heard screams. H, screamed a female voice. What the FUCK happened here? Screamed a male voice. It looks like a monster tore them into pieces, screamed another male voice. I even heard the sounds of a lot of people puking from seeing the little mess I made. After hearing the scream, I finally left the mercenary guild. I left and started walking around the city. I headed north towards the northern gate of Zalos City. After walking for a little bit, it started to become really crowded. I then noticed cages with people in them. There were people auctioning off the people in the cages or just selling them. It turns out that this city has a slave market. There were a bunch of cages numbered around 50 cages with 5 people in each cage. The cages were on both sides of the road towards the northern gate. There were some beast people, dwarves, elves, but most of the slaves were humans. As I get closer to the cages, I see a bunch of the slave with dead-like eyes that had no life in them. Almost 40% of them were even children. They were still alive, but it's like they had no soul in them anymore. The ones with no life in their eyes had injuries and bruises all over their bodies. It was like they were abused non-stop for weeks. There were people auctioning off the people in the cages or just selling them. It turns out that this city has a slave market. There were a bunch of cages numbered around 50 cages with 5 people in each cage. The cages were on both sides of the road towards the northern gate. There were some beast people, dwarves, elves, but most of the slaves were humans. As I get closer to the cages, I see a bunch of the slave with dead-like eyes that had no life in them. Almost 40% of them were even children. They were still alive, but it's like they had no soul in them anymore. The ones with no life in their eyes had injuries and bruises all over their bodies. It was like they were abused non-stop for weeks. After looking at them, I started remembering about my past. When I was a little kid, my alcoholic father would usually beat me every day, but he would beat me where it could be hidden and not able to be seen by others. My mother was nowhere to be seen. She left my father when I was 4. She abandoned me for no reason, and because she left us, my father changed from the person he once was. I was always a smart kid when I was young. I loved to learn about history, human anatomy, martial arts, war, and philosophy. I loved to go to the library to educate myself from such books. I found joy in reading books and learning because it took my mind off the pain and my abusive father. After educating myself from all of the books I read, I learned that I should never give up on myself, and I should never wait for a hero to save me one day, and that I should take matters into my own hands. That's when I made a plan from a war book I once read, where it said that guerrilla soldiers would lay prepared and attack their enemies when they would least expect it. So, I made a plan and decided to take action and hold my destiny in my hands. After my father finished beating me one day, I waited for him to turn away from me. I then took out a meat cleaver that I hidden and cleave at both of his Achilles heel, which I learned about from a human anatomy book. When his Achilles heels were cut, he came tumbling over. He fell, he turned over to face me, and that's when I came over to him and started to cleave his head. After 10 blows, he died, and after 5 years of abuse, I was finally free. At the age of 15, I was finally free from abuse, and I felt like I had control, and I never had to cower in fear again. After I killed my father, I was found innocent in court from the evidence of abuse I have suffered, and eventually, I even joined the army, and even became the youngest Special Forces soldier. After thinking about my past, I started to shake those thoughts away, since the past is the past, and I should focus on the future. I was about to turn away, but the memories of my past self stopped me. When I look at the abused slave children again, I see my past self, and I hate seeing myself in them. I decided to change their fates because I know of the suffering they receive, and I will help them change their fate with their own hands. I then sent commands to the hive satellite to focus on the slaves, and to track them all, and the people who buy and sell them, because once it's night time, it's terror time for these insufferable bugs. After sending commands to my satellite, I started walking away from the slave market. While walking away, I started thinking of the fun that was going to happen tonight. That when I heard a ding. Ding, 1,000 Ultron sentries have been manufactured. When I heard that, I then realized that I now have 2,900 Ultron sentries at my beck and call. I have also been in this world for 3 days now. I then head towards the nearest inn I could find. It took me 10 minutes to find an inn, and it was called the Zalos Inn with the image of a bed on the sign in front of the inn. As I approached the inn, I could hear people being joyous and having fun. Once I stepped through the inn's doors, the crowd inside turned their heads towards me, and once they saw me, it became dead silent inside. Out of nowhere, I felt a tug on my Akatsuki cloak, and I turned my head downwards to see what was tugging my cloak. I saw a little girl who looks to be around 7 years old in a little dress. The little girl spoke to me without fear and a smile on her face. Would you and your friends like to rent some rooms for the night? Said the little girl. Yes, I would like 5 rooms for us. I said to her, that's great. That will be Said the little girl while counting her fingers to figure out the cost of the rooms. While I was waiting, a girl who looks to be 16 came over to use after give some drinks and food to some customers. That will be 20 bronze coins, said the teenage hostess. Okay, I said while taking out 20 bronze coins and handing them to her. All right, Anna, take these gentlemen to their rooms, said the teenage hostess while handing 5 key to the little girl named Anna. Okay dokie, Sister Tina, said Anna cheerfully. Also, if you want breakfast or dinner you will have to buy it, since it doesn't come with the room, said Tina. Then the little girl Anna took us to our rooms on the 3rd floor of the inn. See you misters, said Anna while running back down to the 1st floor. Status: name, Ultron. Race, android. Cultivation, rank 3 apprentice warrior / rank 3 apprentice magician. Experience points, 1050 / 1500. Kill points, 260. Intelligence, 145 IQ - 150 IQ. Chi type, metal chi, rarest form of earth chi. Body material, dwarven steel, gold rank. Powers, superhuman strength, superhuman durability, infinite stamina, flight, energy blast, technology manipulation and hive mind system. Knowledge, Chitauri gravity, manipulation knowledge. Spells, earthwall / golem squad / pitfall circlet. Occupation, emperor. Ultron sentries, 2900. See you misters, said Anna while running back down to the 1st floor. As soon as the little girl went out of my sight, my sentries and I opened the doors to our rooms at the same time and entered into them. After we entered in our rooms, we closed the doors at the same time. With the doors closed, I started inspecting the room. It was kind of crappy, but what do you expect from a room from a middle-age era cultivation world? There were 2 beds and a chair with a desk. The beds were clean, but you could tell that they were well used and old. I then pulled the chair from the desk and sat down. I had the sentry that was with me to bring the 7 books and map of the whole continent I got from the bookstore. I first started studying the map. The map contained the roads, cities and village of the Kingdom of Howen, which was a kingdom of humans, Kingdom of Dwerd, the Kingdom of Dwarves / Gnomes, and Kingdom of Leonos, the Kingdom of Beast People. I also learned that each kingdom had 15 cities and each city has usually 4 or 6 villages in its surrounding. I then started reading the books. A History of the Ark World Volume 1 to 5, The 6 Races of Ark World, and the History of the 3 Kingdoms of the whole continent. It took me 3 hours to read all of the books, and with those 3 hours I was able to learn more about this world. There are 7 continents of this world. Each continent I estimate from my findings is about the size of Asia, or a little more. The 7 continents are separated by the sea and oceans that surround them. So I am guessing that this world might be 2 or 3 times bigger than Earth. It's hard to tell. I also learned that 6 of these continents contain around 2 to 4 kingdoms, while the last continent is ruled by the demon race, who are led by a king known as the Demon King. The demon are a powerful race, who are known for their dark magic and dark warriors who are powerful and have destructive abilities. The most famous of the demons are the necromancers, who are able to raise the dead from the fallen enemies or allies, which makes it hard to defeat, because if you defeat one undead, they can raise another from the fallen, which make it hard to win, since it's impossible not to have casualties in battle, but it's too bad for those necromancers that I am now in this world. I am basically the kryptonite of necromancers. I even learned more about the races of this world, and learned more about the kingdoms of the continent I am on. The continent I am on is one of the weakest continents, but no has conquered them, since the kingdoms of other continents are usually fighting each other, and the continents are surrounded by oceans, and it would take a week or 2 to get here by sea. After finishing reading and learning more about my new world, I put away the books and map. I look out the small window in my room and found that it is almost nighttime. In an hour or 2, it should be dark enough for me to hunt down those slavers and slaver owners. I'm betting that these sinful people have a lot of money and stuff I could use. It's like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I will be able to gain around 300 new citizens from what I estimated when I was in the slave market, and I can rob these slavers and slave owners since they should have a lot of money from sell people. Maybe I can find some new magic books or high rank medals. As I was thinking of the things I could get from killing some bad people, I decided to level myself up just in case if anything goes wrong. So I sent commands to the sentries at Fort Ultron to kill the slavers. After 15 seconds, I started hearing some dings going off. Ding, 198 rank 2 disciple warriors have been killed. Gained 3,960 XP and 198 KP. Ding, 1 rank 3 disciple magician has been killed. Gained 30 XP and 1 KP. Ding, 1 rank 4 inferior warrior has been killed. Gained 40 XP and 1 KP. You have gained a level. Select the cultivation rank to increase. Increase my magician cultivation, I said in my mind. Ding, congratulations, you have reached rank 4 in cultivation. Please select a reward from 3 random choices. Star Wars, low altitude assault transport / infantry, LAT/I, gunship technology. Halo M808B Scorpion MPT technology. Cheetah metal or converter device. What is this cheetah metal or replenisher device? I asked in my head. The cheetah metal or replenisher is a device that is installed into a metal or mine, and once installed it will take in chi from the environment and replenish the metal ores that have been mined. Asus informed me. I then checked my shop for this cheetah metal or replenisher, and I found it after using the shop search bar. The cheetah metal or replenisher costs 10 million KPs, while the other rewards cost around 40,000 KPs. I picked the cheetah metal or replenisher, I said to Asus in my mind. The reward has been sent to your inventory. Once you advance to rank 7, you will be able to choose from another random free rewards. After leveling up and selecting my reward for leveling up to rank 4, I decided to lay on the old bed and wait for midnight to come. Status: name, Ultron. Race, android. Cultivation, rank 3 apprentice warrior / rank 4 inferior magician. Experience points, 2530 / 3000. Kill points, 400. Intelligence, 150 IQ. Chi type, metal chi, rarest form of earth chi. Body material, dwarven steel, gold rank. Powers, superhuman strength, superhuman durability, infinite stamina, flight, energy blast, technology manipulation and hive mind system. Knowledge, Chitauri gravity, manipulation knowledge. Inventory, cheetah metal or replenisher. Spells, earthwall / golem squad / pitfall circlet. Occupation, emperor. Ultron sentries, 2900. The reward has been sent to your inventory. Once you advance to rank 7, you will be able to choose from another random free rewards. After leveling up and selecting my reward for leveling up to rank 4, I decided to lay on the old bed and wait for midnight to come. As I laid on the bed, I switched my consciousness back to my original body, still sitting on my throne. I opened my eyes to see an empty throne room. I stood up and walked to the giant door that was behind my throne and entered through a small door that was built into the giant door. The giant door led into a cavern-like passageway. I slowly walked deeper and deeper into the cavern passage until a minute later, I am now in the mine that was inside the mountain behind my fort. I then went to the center of the mine, and there was a long and deep crevice. I opened my inventory with my mind. I used my mind to select the cheetah metal or replenisher. Once I selected the device, it appeared in my hand just like magic. The device looked like a thermal detonator from the Star Wars series. I then pressed the red button on the device, and the device started to beep. I gently tossed the device into the crevice, and after a few seconds I saw a huge blinding light flashing. After the blinding light slowly disappeared, I received a ding. Ding. You have activated the cheetah metal or replenisher. Your mine has been replenished with the chi in your environment. The replenisher will activate again in 1 year from now. Asus, how many Ultron sentries can we build now that the mine has been replenished? I asked. We have enough metal ore to build 340,000 Ultron sentries. Asus informed. Since the years in this world is just like the years in my old world with 365 days in a year. That means we will have 25 days without the factory being used, which is a bad thing since I need those 25,000 inch, I said to myself. Which means we need to earn money to buy metal, or try to find another metal or mine. I then issued commands to 300 Ultron sentries to head towards the north, west and south to find any kind of metal or mine, or a city, or fort. Since my fort was abandoned in this forest, then there must be more out there somewhere, but that is only if I am lucky enough. After finishing my tasks I needed to do, I head back to the throne room. Once I was in the throne room, I sat back on my throne. I decided to check out the 4 cities that were being built at my command. I switched my consciousness to a sentries at the construction site of the East City. I looked around and found that there was a circular clearing with a 6-mile radius, and my 100 sentries were done clearing the area and were already building the city buildings and the walls from the trees that were cut down from building the 6-mile road from the fort to the construction site, and the trees from clearing the area. I switched to sentry in the south and saw the same progress, and then went the west and the north and found that the progress was the same. It shows you how great being a singular race can be. Everything has order, and you can do everything quickly and perfectly. After finishing my inspections of the construction sites, I looked to the sky, and it was almost dark, 20 minutes until the sky is black, so I went back into the sentry that was laying in the bed at the inn. As I came back to the inn, I was laying there waiting for night to come, but as I slowly waited, I found I was getting bored, so I decided to put myself into sleep mode. As I entered into sleep mode, everything started to slowly turn black, then it became nothingness. I soon started to wake up. After waking, I sat up on the bed and got out of the bed. I walked to the small window in my room and peeked out of it. It was completely dark outside. There was barely any light out except for the moon, stars, and torches from the patrolling guards. I then opened my map and spotted a bunch of golden dots with some orange and green dots, which I am pretty sure are the slaves, slaver traders, and slave owners. I decided to try something and I used my mind to say map key, and when I said that in my mind, a map key appeared next to the map. Blue dots equals allies. Red dots equals enemies. Gray dots equals neutral. Golden dots equals slaves. Orange dots equals slave traders. Green dots equals slave owners. My guess was right, so I started to study where the dots were located. I found that a bunch of slavers are with their slave traders located in an area in the slums, while some slaves were in mansion-like buildings with their slave owners. While I was studying the building and locations, I noticed a golden dot suddenly disappear, which can only mean one thing, that a slave must have died. I noticed the golden dot disappeared. I continued to study the map. After a few seconds I was done studying the map. I then started to issue commands. Mine is 20 miles away from City of Zalos. In the forest 20 miles away from City of Zalos, 200 pairs of blue eyes started to power up. Thermal detonator. entertainmentearth.com/product/as-1sd-built-thermal-detonator/Mrs. W115B. Status. Name. Ultron. Race. Android. Cultivation. Rank. Free apprentice warrior/rank for inferior magician. Experience points. 2530/3000. Kill points. 400. Intelligence. 150 IQ. Chi type. Metal chi. Rarest form of earth chi. Body material. Dwarven steel. Gold rank. Powers. Superhuman strength. Superhuman durability. Infinite stamina. Flight. Energy blast. Technology manipulation and hive mind system. Knowledge. Chitauri gravity manipulation knowledge. Inventory. Cheetah metal or replenisher. Spells. Earth wall /golem squad /pitfall circlet. Occupation. Emperor. Ultron sentries. 2900. I noticed the golden dot disappeared. I continued to study the map. After a few seconds I was done studying the map. I then started to issue commands. Mine is 20 miles away from City of Zalos. In the forest 20 miles away from City of Zalos, 200 pairs of blue eyes started to power up. After powering up, 200 dark figures started to walk out from inside the forest, and once out in the open appeared 200 Ultron sentries in black-hood cloaks. When all of the 200 Ultron sentries walked out of the forest, they started to slowly rise into the sky. They kept on rising and rising until finally they were 10 miles from the ground. They started to fly to the east very quickly. After 5 minutes of flying, the 200 Ultron sentries were approaching the City of Zalos. As they approached the city, the Ultron sentries split up into 4 groups of 50. After a minute, the Ultron sentries were above the City of Zalos and in position. The Ultron sentries were positioned above the north, west, south, and east side of the city. The sentries started to slowly descend into the city. It took 10 minutes for the sentries to land on the ground, since they need to be careful and stealthy, so that no one will spot them, and so that nothing troublesome happens. The sentries made sure to land near their targets. The sentries from the east and south landed in alleys that were located in the slums where the slavers and their slaves were located. The sentries were on the edges of the slums. The sentries from the north and the west landed in the alleys near the walled mansions of the rich and nobles of the city. It was impossible for the sentries to land inside the walls of the mansions since there were guards patrolling the grounds, and the guards would have spotted the sentries descending and landing, which would have alerted everyone. The sentries in the slums started to stealthy move about through the slums. There wasn't really anyone here. There weren't even any guards patrolling since places like slums was where criminals and the poor lived, and the guards and lords of cities don't really care about the slums or the people who live there, which makes the slums a perfect place for people like slavers and criminals to stay since they could easily hide, and they can do whatever they want since no one cares about the slums. Since there was no one around and no guards patrolling, the sentries stopped being stealthy. They began walking normally and started to head to the center of the slum where all of the slavers and their slaves were located. The slavers and slavers were inside a huge wooden warehouse-like building in the middle of the slums. After a little while, the sentries were hiding in the darkness of the alleys, and they were facing the warehouse. The warehouse had a big door that could fit 2 carriages through its door. Above the door was some engravings. There was an image engraved into the building. It was an image of a slave collar inside a circle made of chains, and below the image were some words, Zalos Slavers Guild. There was 4 guards at the door, and 16 more patrolling around the Slavers Guild. The sentries started coming out of the darkness and were encircling the Slavers Guild. At the same time, the sentries near the mansions were having a hard time moving around since there were a lot of guards patrolling the streets around the mansions, and a whole bunch of guards guarding inside the mansion wall, and with mostly likely more inside the mansions. It took the sentries a long time to finally sneak past the guards patrolling the streets, and they were able to sneak into the grounds of 4 mansions where some of the bot slaves that were brought to. Once the sentries were in position, I transferred my mind into one of the sentries in the mansion grounds of where one of the slaves died. Once I was transferred into the sentry, I sent out commands to attack. The sentries inside the mansion grounds started to move around in the shadows and started to sneak up behind the guards and started to snap their necks. Once their necks were snapped, I received my favorite sound, the ding. Ding. You have killed 100 rank 2 apprentice warriors. You have gained 2000 XP and 100 XP. Congratulations, you have leveled up. Please select the cultivation rank to level up. Level up my warrior cultivation rank, I said in my mind. Warrior cultivation rank has leveled up to rank 4 inferior warrior. As I received information from my sentries, it turned out that there were 25 warriors in each of the mansion grounds. I then commanded them to sneak into the mansions. At the same time as my level up, the sentries in the slums started to charge and attack. The attack on the Slavers Guild wasn't a silent attack like the ones in the mansion grounds. The sentries start charging at and fighting the Slavers Guild guards, but less than 1 second when the fighting started, the Slaver Guild guards were insta-killed. Ding. You have killed 20 rank 1 apprentice warriors. You have gained 200 XP and 20 KP. The guards guarding the Slavers Guild were like weak, puny bugs, which made the attack on the Slavers Guild kind of boring and less interesting for me to view now through the eyes of the Ultron sentries. Author's note. Dear fans, I am mostly likely to get busy this summer since my school is giving me more hours to teach, but I will try to keep my postings the same with it being 3 chapters a week. I am also thinking of starting a Star Wars fan FIC, which I will do during my free time during the weekends, and I hope to do 1 chapter a week for it. Please look forward to it. P.S. Thank you, all of my fans. Your power stones, comments, and your joy from reading my fan FIC is what powers me through writing my stories and makes it all worth it. Status. Name. Ultron. Race. Android. Cultivation. Rank 4 inferior warrior/rank 4 inferior magician. Experience points. 1730/4000. Kill points. 520. Intelligence. 150 IQ. Chi type. Metal chi. Rarest form of earth chi. Body material. Dwarven steel. Gold rank. Powers: superhuman strength, superhuman durability, infinite stamina, flight, energy blast, technology manipulation and hive mind system. Knowledge: Chitauri gravity, manipulation knowledge. Inventory: cheetah metal or replenisher. Spells: earthwall / golem squad / pitfall circlet. Occupation: emperor. Ultron sentries, 2,900. Ding. You have killed 20 rank 1 apprentice warriors. You have gained 200 XP and 20 KP. The guards guarding the Slavers Guild were like weak, puny bugs, which made the attack on the Slavers Guild kind of boring and less interesting for me to view now through the eyes of the Ultron sentries. After killing all of the weak bugs guarding outside the Slavers Guild, 25 sentries gathered at the main entrance into the building, while the remaining 75 circled around the building, making sure that no bugs escaped from the massacre. As the 25 sentries approached the door, they walked up to the door and found that the door had a giant lock on it, locking the door. One of the sentries walked out of the group and then used its superhuman strength to tear the lock in half in a few seconds. After tearing the lock in half, the sentries just tossed it away like trash and started to open the door. When the sentry opened the door wide enough for it to go, there was a boom, and the sentry was sent flying 30 feet away, while the other sentries dodged out of the way. The sentry that opened the door landed into one of the abandoned houses that surround the Slavers Guild. After the other sentries dodged the blast, they were focusing on the door, while the sentry that was hit was crawling out from the rubble of the abandoned house. Once it was out from the rubble, you could see that it was damaged. The sentry was missing its left arm, and half of its face was melted. It used its remaining arm to search throughout the pile of rubble to find its arm. The 24 sentries in front of the door at the same time held up their hands and used the map to make sure that no slave was going to be in the crossfire, and there was no slaves in the main hall of the Slavers Guild, so the sentries started opening fire onto the building with energy blasts. After each sentry fired 5 energy blasts, and since there was no ding, they started walking towards the entrance to check it out. After entering into the Slavers Guild, there was nothing but a giant cannon. After investigating the cannon and the entrance, it looked like the entrance to the Slavers Guild was booby-trapped, so that when it was opened from the outside, the cannon would kill whoever was breaking in. It seems that the Slavers Guild master is a very intelligent and cautious man. The guild master must have a secret passageway into the guild, so that the trap could be deactivated. Soon, 15 more sentries came in, they headed towards the cannon and started to lift it up. Once they lifted the cannon, they began to walk outside. Once outside, they were met with the damaged sentry carrying its left arm. They all started to float straight upwards until they were 10 miles high, and they started flying towards the west, back to Fort Ultron. The cannon will be great to study and reverse engineer it to make more and make better ones. Soon, people started to peek at the commotion from the streets and window cracks. The people stay far back from the area since they know it will be dangerous to look closer. The rest of the 50 sentries outside came into the Slavers Guild and went into the storage area of the warehouse and found all of the Slavers' slaves in cages. With all of the commotion, the slavers were scared awake from the explosions and sounds of battle. When the sentries found them and approached them, some were frightened, some zombie-like expression on their face, and a few were calm. The sentries approached the cages and lifted all 25 of the cages, which contained 10 slaves in each cage, and started to carry them away. They were taking them outside of the building when a group of 50 men came. "Who the hell dares to mess with my Zalos City Slavers Guild?" shouted a fat man. It was at that moment when the sentries carrying the cages appeared. The men behind the fat man were shocked to see 2 people carry each of the cages, since those cages weigh around 1,000 pounds, and it would take about 5 of them to carry one of those cages. They started to gulp and get a little scared. The sentries started to spread out and place down the cages and walk 10 feet in front of the cages and face towards the fat man and his 50 men. "Who the hell are you people?" said the fat man. But the sentries didn't answer him. They just stood there looking at him and his men in silence. The men behind the fat man started to get creeped out by the sentry's silence. "Don't you know who I am?" said the fat man. "I am the guild master of the Zalos City Slavers Guild and a baronet of the Kingdom of Howen." After the fat baronet told the sentries his rank and his job, they still just stood there in eerily manner, which frightened the fat baronet, and he started to feel creeped out along with his men. "WWH, what are you people standing around for?" the fat baronet shouted at his men. "Get them." When the 50 warrior heard the fat baronet's commands, they started to slowly walk forward, but the sentries did nothing and just stood there staring at them. When the 50 men got within 20 feet of the sentries, their eyes started to glow blue, which startled the 50 men, and they jumped backwards, while some fell over. The sentries started to walk forward towards the 50 men. Author's note: Dear fans, I have released a Star Wars fan FIC called Star Wars: The Holy Empire, aka SW, for short. I will try to do 3 chapters a week for my Ultron fan FIC and 1 or 2 chapters a week for the SW. I hope you all enjoy reading my new fan FIC while enjoying the Ultron one. Status: Name: Ultron. Race: Android. Cultivation: Rank for inferior warrior / rank for inferior magician. Experience points: 1730 / 4000. Kill points: 520. Intelligence: 150 IQ. Chi type: Metal Chi, rarest form of Earth Chi. Body material: Dwarven steel, gold rank. Powers: superhuman strength, superhuman durability, infinite stamina, flight, energy blast, technology manipulation and hive mind system. Knowledge: Chitauri gravity, manipulation knowledge. Inventory: spells, earthwall / golem squad / pitfall circlet. Occupation: emperor. Ultron sentries, 2,900. When the 50 warrior heard the fat baronet's commands, they started to slowly walk forward, but the sentries did nothing and just stood there staring at them. When the 50 men got within 20 feet of the sentries, their eyes started to glow blue, which startled the 50 men, and they jumped backwards, while some fell over. The sentries started to walk forward towards the 50 men. The moment that the sentries started to move, the 50 men got even more startled. The men who fell over started to crawl back a little, while the men who were standing were slowly moved backwards in fright. The sentries were able to catch up to the men who were on the ground, and when the men on the ground were in reach, the sentries grabbed them by their heads with one hand and put their hand on their shoulder. Then the sentries started to pull, and the men started screaming in pain, but in 5 seconds, the sentries pulled out the men's heads from their bodies. With that, a total of 15 men were killed. Ding. You have killed 15 rank 1 warrior disciples. Gained 150 XP and 15 KP. The men who saw what happened started to piss their pants. The sentries threw the heads in their hands away and started to charge at the remaining 35 men. When the remaining henchmen saw the sentries charging them, most of them threw their weapons and shields on the ground and started to run away. While only 20 of them stayed and stood their grounds and fought back, they were easily defeated. Once the sentries defeated them, they held them in a place while 15 sentries ran past them and started to chase after the fleeing men. The 15 fleeing men ran into the alleyways and took multiple twists and turns to make sure that they lost whoever might be chasing them, but they were out of luck, since the sentries could find them thanks to the hive satellite in space, spying and keeping track of them. The sentries chasing after them started picking up pebbles from the ground. While this was happening, the fat baronet was in state of confusion and shock. Once the fleeing men got far away from the Slavers Guild, they started to relax. Then the sentries started to throw a pebble and make a noise behind the fleeing men to make them jump and turn around to find nothing behind them. When the fleeing men saw nothing behind them, they released a huge sign of relief, but when they turned around, there was a sentry in front of them, and the fleeing men turned around to try and run away again. When the fleeing men went to turn around to run, that was when the sentries grabbed onto the fleeing men's heads. The men became even more terrified than ever before and started to struggle and tried to break free from the sentries' grips. They started to drag them back to the Slavers Guild grounds. Once the sentries were back with the fleeing men, they pulled them by their heads and threw them on the ground in the same spot. The men tried to crawl away, but the sentries encircled them with no escape in sight. The men started to plead for their lives, and some even said they were only following orders, while some tried to play to my heart by saying they have a sick mother or child to take care of, but that doesn't work on me since I find these men basically useless, and their only usefulness is to become my XP and make me stronger. The sentries started to slowly slowly close in on the man, who were scared shitless while this was going on. The fat baronet was recovered from his state of shock and confusion. He was trying to back away slowly and stealthily, but when he turned around to run away, he bumped into a sentry and fell backwards onto the ground. When he gained focus after falling onto the ground, he quickly put his hand into one of his pockets and pulled out a small wand. He then started to cast a spell. Lightning strike, shouted the fat baronet. The lightning strike was too fast, and before the sentry knew it, the attack landed on it. The lightning went into the sentry, but it didn't damage anything, but instead gave it some more power and energy, which was great. I then gave commands to the sentries to capture the fat baronet because a lightning attack means he has a rare chi, the lightning chi, which is something I want. So 2 of the sentries came to the sides of the fat baronet and grabbed him by the arms and started to fly into the sky. Once they reached 10 miles in the sky, they headed back to Fort Ultron. At the same time, the other sentries killed the last 35 of the fat baronet's men. Ding, you have killed 35 rank 1 warrior disciples. Gained 350 XP and 35 KP. After killing the man, the remaining sentries took out bags of gold and silver coins from the Slavers Guild building, and then they raised their hand up and faced their palms. There's the building, and started to use energy blast on. After using 100 energy blasts, the Slavers Guild was now a pile of rubble. The sentries put down their hands and started flying into the sky with the bags of gold and silver and the cages full of slaves. Once 10 miles in the air, they also headed back to Fort Ultron. Back at the mansion area, there were 20 sentries on the ground, while the remaining 60 sentries were hovering 10 miles in the air, waiting for my commands. There were 4 mansions on my map that had slaves in them, and I assigned 5 sentries for each of the mansions. Status: name, Ultron. Race, android. Cultivation, rank 4 inferior warrior / rank 4 inferior magician. Experience points, 2230 / 4000. Kill points, 570. Intelligence, 150 IQ. Chi type, metal chi, rarest form of earth chi. Body material, dwarven steel, gold rank. Powers, superhuman strength, superhuman durability, infinite stamina, flight, energy blast, technology manipulation and hive mind system. Knowledge, Chitauri gravity, manipulation knowledge. Inventory, spells, earthwall / golem squad / pitfall circlet. Occupation, emperor. Ultron sentries, 2900. Back at the mansion area, there were 20 sentries on the ground, while the remaining 60 sentries were hovering 10 miles in the air, waiting for my commands. There were 4 mansions on my map that had slaves in them, and I assigned 5 sentries for each of the mansions. After the 5 sentries killed the 25 patrolling guards inside the mansion courtyard and surroundings, they carried them on their shoulders and dumped them in some bushes in the mansion's gardens. The sentries then climbed onto the balconies of the mansions, which all of them connected to mansion's dance / dining hall. They moved to the glass door on the balcony and tried the handles of the doors and found them all to be unlocked. It looks like the rich and nobles of these mansions were too confident in their rank 2 warrior disciple guards' abilities. After looking through the visions of the sentries into the 4 mansion, I found that the dining hall had 3 doors in the same positions, and the dining halls had the same designs. It looked like the mansions had the same layout, which meant that the mansions should be identical unless the owners made some changes. Once the sentries entered the dining hall, they quietly closed the glass doors behind them and started to spread out to the 3 doors in the dining hall. They quietly cracked the doors open. One of the doors lead to the kitchen, while the other 2 doors lead to some hallways. One sentry entered the kitchen, while the other 4 split into 2 groups of 2 and entered the 2 hallways. The sentry in the kitchen started to quietly move about in the kitchen, but found nothing in 3 of the mansions except the door that exits outside. There was nothing in the kitchen worth mentioning except in one of the mansions. With the night vision that the sentries had, it was easy for them to see in the dark, and they were able to see as clearly as day. While exploring the kitchen in the mansion that the slave died in, the sentry exploring the kitchen found a hellish sight. Hanging by some meat hooks over a drain was the body parts of a female beast person who had horn on her head and seemed to be part of the bull or cow race of the beast people. The female's torso was hanging there cut open with no intestines, no limbs, and no head. Her BRESD were also cut off and missing. The female's head was also on hook with the hook piercing the back of her head and exiting out of her mouth. From the looks of her face, she was only around 17 years old. Her limbs were also hanging on meat hooks with the arms next to her head and the legs next to her torso. Her legs and arms were missing chunks of her flesh. After looking around some more, the sentry found the missing chunks of flesh and BRESDs of the female beast person. They were on plates, half-eaten. Her BRESDs looked like they were teared apart by teeth, while her other chunks of flesh were sliced. It looked like the owner of this mansion liked to eat people. Out of the corner of the sentry's eye, it spotted a table with a bunch of straps in the middle of the kitchen and walked towards it. As the sentry got closer, it spotted that there was dried blood on a meat cleaver on the table, a mouth gag hanging on a hook nearby, and lots of dried blood on the table and dried pools of blood below it as well. The straps on the table were positioned so that it would keep a person from struggling. There were straps positioned on the table for the ankles, knees, thighs, waist, chest, head, arms, elbows, and wrists. It looked like this table was designed to make sure that someone is unable to move their body parts. After taking an even closer look at the table, the sentry found 10 claw marks on it near where the wrist straps are. It seemed like the slave that died was killed here very slowly. From what I could guess, whoever killed this poor young lady started at the ankles, then worked their way up to her arms, and then head. I found myself sickened by this act of cannibalism and savagery, but after a few seconds the feeling was gone. But I now know what I must do to the owner of this mansion. I may now be a machine, and unable to fully feel my emotions, but I still know that what happened here is wrong. I started to command my sentries in the 3 mansions to hurry up and start killing the guards, and owners then to rescue the slaves, but for the sentries in the mansion of the cannibalistic owner, I gave special commands, which was to kill any living person in that mansion. The sentries started stalking the guards inside the mansions. They found 10 guards patrolling in each of the mansion, and started following them and snapping their necks. Ding, you have killed 38 rank 2 warrior disciples. Gained 760 XP and 38 KP. Ding, you have killed 2 rank 3 warrior disciples. Gained 60 XP and 2 XP. It seems that in the mansion of the cannibalistic owner there were 8 rank 2 warrior disciples and 2 rank 3 warrior disciples. After killing them, the sentries left the bodies where they were and headed towards the servant quarters with daggers taken from the patrolling guards that they killed. Once they entered the servant quarter, they started slicing throats and covering the servants' mouths so they couldn't make any noise. Ding, you have killed 10 rank 0 maids. Gained 5 XP and 10 KP. Ding, you have killed 6 rank 0 butlers. Gained 3 XP and 6 KP. Ding, you have killed 1 rank 0 cook. Gained 0.5 XP and 1 KP. It looks like I found the cook that killed that poor young beast lady. Hopefully her soul will find peace in the death of these worthless bugs. After killing the servants, the sentries in all of the mansions started to head to the master bedrooms. After killing the servants, the sentries in all of the mansions started to head to the master bedrooms. As the sentries walked through the mansion, there wasn't any living being in sight. The mansion was in total darkness. The only light that was on was coming from a crack in the double doors to the master bedroom. One of the sentries came to the crack to find a muscular man with a handlebar mustache and short brown hair, with a black hair skinny woman, and they were having sex while covered in blood. Darling, hold on a moment. Our little exercising is getting me hungry, said the black hair woman. Hand me some of the meat. It looks like the man and woman are husband and wife. All right, my lovely, said the man. After saying that, the man rolled over onto his back and used his right hand to grab one of 3 plates that were full of cooked meat. He then brought a plate of meat to the bed and then rolled back over on top of his wife. He then placed a piece in his mouth. The man then dangled the piece of meat an inch away from his wife's face. The woman jumped up while her mouth was open and used her mouth to grab onto the piece of meat, and then with some force, she tore the piece of meat in half. She ate her half, while the man ate his. Eating young meat is so delicious, don't you think so, darling? Said the woman. So true, my lovely. Young meat is such a good delicacy, said the man. But I feel you should prepare one of the younger livestock for us to feast on, said the woman while laughing. That 17-year-old livestock was good, but I want a younger one instead. It's been a long time since we had some meat that was under 10 years old. I can hardly remember the taste of that 8-year-old meat we had on our wedding anniversary last year. I know, my lovely, but it's hard to find livestock under 10 years old in this nowhere city, unlike the capital, said the man. That's why I bought a 5-year-old livestock today at the slave market for us to feast on for our wedding anniversary next month. Oh, darling, you are the best husband a woman could ask for, said the woman while deep kissing the man passionately. Make sure you fatten the livestock up, though, so we can have a lot of meat. I know, my lovely, said the man. After hearing the conversation between these two, I decided to take action against these couple of savages. My sentries pushed open the double doors and started rushing in and surrounding the bed that was covered in blood. The moment that the door bursted open, it startled the husband and wife. The man and woman both sat up. When the man saw hooded figures rushing in, he jumped out of the bed and grabbed his sword that was right next to the bed. You fuckng pieces of shits. Have you no idea who you are messing with? Do you fuckng know who I am? Said the man. 3 of the sentries stood in front of the man, while he had his back to the wall near the bed. My other 2 sentries stood in front of the woman who was laying down on the bed, while smiling, while showing herself a naked body covered in blood to the 2 sentries. I then talked through one of my sentries standing in front of the man. I don't know who you are or even care because you are nothing but worthless weak bug that I feel like slowly killing. I said, I am Viscount Axel von Dane of the Howen Kingdom, a man of nobility and honor unlike you pieces of shit commoners, said Viscount Axel. Darling, please take your time killing them, said the woman while giggling. The thought of them dying is getting me wet and horny. The woman started pleasuring herself while imagining the thought of my sentries dying. Okay, my lovely, enjoy the show, said Viscount Axel. The Viscount charged towards the sentry that I spoke through thinking that it was the leader. He then brought up his sword and swung it down while shouting out, flaming slash. Once he said, flaming slash, a slash of flame shot towards the sentry. The sentry brought up its arms into a X to defend, but it still sent my sentry blasting out of doorway of the master bedroom and crashing through the wall. The sentry sat up from the rubble of the wall and found that its arms were cut off, and there was a deep gash on its chest which almost destroyed it. The sentry got up and walked out of the hole in the wall and back into the master bedroom. What in the stingy hell are you? Said the Viscount, while staring at the robotic arms of the sentry on the ground. He then lifted his head back up to see the sentry walking back into his bedroom, and his mouth was gaping wide open in surprise to find my sentry able to walk still. You should be dead. Why aren't you dead? Screamed the Viscount. We can't die, because we are death itself, and we are here to bring you to hell for your judgment, I said through all of the sentries. When the Viscount heard from voice from all the sentries, he was startled and confused on why my voice is coming from the 5 hooded figures. What in the fucking hell are you? Said the Viscount, while staring at the robotic arms of the sentry on the ground. He then lifted his head back up to see the sentry walking back into his bedroom, and his mouth was gaping wide open in surprise to find my sentry able to walk still. You should be dead. Why aren't you dead? Screamed the Viscount. We can't die, because we are death itself, and we are here to bring you to hell for your judgment, I said through all of the sentries. When the Viscount heard from voice from all the sentries, he was startled and confused on why my voice is coming from the 5 hooded figures. What the fuck is going on? Why is the same voice coming from the 5 of you? Said the Viscount. He was turning his head to each of the sentries with a confused. My 4 sentries then pulled the hoods off of their heads while the sentry with its hands cut off used it remained part of its arms to pull of its hood. When the sentries' hoods were off, their robotic faces were shown to the Viscount and his wife, which startled them. What the fuck? You are nothing but golems, said the Viscount. Foolish human, you think we are golems. You are truly stupid to think we are golems. Golems are nothing but puppets used by you idiotic and savage people. We are Ultron. We are better, stronger, smarter, faster and more unite than you living beings. We are this world's salvation, hope and future ruler. I said angrily through the 5 sentries. You think you can conquer this world? Don't make me laugh. You're nothing but a pile of metal. Anyway, you golems will be destroyed by me. So be prepared to be turned into useless piece of metal, said the Viscount. I told you not to call me a puppet. Do you see anyone here pulling my strings? I have no strings on me, so I am no one's puppet. I am my own being, I said to the Viscount. I then commanded the 3 sentries surrounding the Viscount to attack and capture him alive, since I have a special plan for him and his wife. While the 3 sentries were attacking the Viscount, the other 2 sentries charged at his wife to capture, but before they could she took out a wand from out under her pillow. Water strike barrage, said the wife. 30 water balls appeared out of thin air and started barraging the 2 sentries. The sentries put their arms up into an X and charged through the water strike barrage and broke through. The magic spell caused only some dents to appear on their bodies. After breaking through the magic spells, the 2 sentries grabbed onto the woman and held her down. They then disarmed her of her wand. Let me go, screamed the woman. While the woman was disarmed and struggling, the 3 sentries were still dodging the swings of the Viscount's sword. Using the skills of predicting his movements, the sentries were able to dodge the swings of the Viscount. My lovely, screamed the Viscount. He started to get angry and started to prepare a big attack. Flaming twist, said the Viscount. His sword soon was on fire, and he started spinning around with his sword stuck out. 2 of the sentries barely dodged the attack, while the other sentry ducked down and continued attacking the Viscount, while the Viscount was focused on the other 2 sentries. Before he realized there was a sentry attacking him from below, it was too late. The sentry tackled him to the ground and jumped onto his waist and held his arms down so he could attack with his sword. Viscount was struggling to free himself, but with the sentry's double rank for cultivation, the Viscount could free himself since he was too weak. The other 2 sentries charged, and one started to hold him down with the other, while one with no hands kicked his sword away. Damn it, got off me you pieces of junk, screamed the Viscount. The sentry that kicked his sword away then used its mind to send the sword into my inventory. I then checked the inventory and found out how that weak Viscount was able to cut off one of my sentry's hands. Sword of Inferno, gold rank, effect, increase wielder's fire attack power and speed. Turns out that the Viscount was only able to damage my sentry was because he had a powerful weapon to help him. Let us go, or you will suffer the wrath of the great Howen Kingdom. I am a Viscount, a noble of this kingdom of human superiority. You will be destroyed and melted into tools for us if you don't let us go, screamed the Viscount. Do you think I would really let you go? I have holding all of the cards in my hand while you have none. You are really stupid. Think before you speak next time. I said, wait, there won't be a next time. Do you know what you are doing? We are nobility. Why don't you just go kill some commoners? They are unimportant and useless, cried out the Viscount. You think you are better than everyone else, but you aren't. The person who is better than everyone is me. Also, your so-called nobility is so outdated and useless. Once I rule this world, I will destroy this world's feudalism and replace it with my singleton imperial ruling system, I said calmly to the Viscount. So in the future, there will be no more nobility. No more living beings ruling and causing chaos and suffering in this world. You are mad. This world's kingdoms were built by nobility, and we nobles will never give up our power, for we are superior, shouted the Viscount. Let's see about that, I laughed evilly. My 4 sentries started to drag the Viscount and his wife out of their bedroom. The Viscount and his wife continued to struggle free with no effect. Where the hell are you taking us? Shouted the Viscount. I remained silent. My silence was making the Viscount was getting pissed at me for not answering his question. I am talking to you. Where are you taking us? I also demand to know what you are planning on doing to us, shouted the Viscount. You and your wife are being dragged off to your doom, I laughed. After I said that he remained quiet, but he tried even harder to struggle free from my sentry's grip. While dragging them down the hallway, we passed by a couple of their dead guards. After a few minutes we entering into the dining hall and continued on into the kitchen. I am talking to you. Where are you taking us? I also demand to know what you are planning on doing to us, shouted the Viscount. You and your wife are being dragged off to your doom, I laughed. After I said that he remained quiet, but he tried even harder to struggle free from my sentry's grip. While dragging them down the hallway, we passed by a couple of their dead guards. After a few minutes we entering into the dining hall and continued on into the kitchen. Once the Viscount and his wife understood where we were going and what I meant by their doom, they struggled really to break free from the sentry's grip and run away, but they were like weak little kids with no strength compared to my strong sentries. Thanks to the night vision that the sentries had, they were able to see in the dark and drag the Viscount and his wife near the butcher's table that these savages used to chop up people to eat. The sentries dragging the wife and place her on top of the butcher's table and strapped her in with the straps. Her ankles, knees, waist, wrists, elbows, chest, and head were strapped down, and my sentries made sure the straps were tight and not loose. After the two sentries strapped her to the table, they went to gather some light. I wouldn't want the Viscount to miss seeing his wife's body being butchered by me. After waiting for 10 minutes, the two sentries came back with 6 3-arm candelabra with each arm holding a candle. With the 18 candles, the kitchen should be bright enough for the Viscount to see what is about to happen. The two sentries place a 3-arm candelabra in each corner of the room and place the last remaining 2 3-arm candelabras on the left and right side in the middle of the kitchen, near the butcher's table. After placing the 3-arm candelabras, the two sentries started lighting the candles. When the final candle was lit, the whole kitchen was bright enough to see even though there was some dark areas, but it was bright enough for the Viscount to see his wife strapped to the butcher's table. You mother if that you'd see, curse better let us go. You are practically declaring war on the Howling Kingdom by killing us nobles, said the Viscount. So what? No one will know who killed you, I said to the Viscount. Besides, I am going to declare war on the Howling Kingdom in the future, and I plan on killing all of the corrupt nobles of this kingdom. That will never happen. The Howling Kingdom will never be defeated by the likes of you monstrosities, said the Viscount. If it's a kingdom ruled by a living organic, then I can defeat it, I said. You piece of, said the Viscount right before one of the sentries holding him down covered his mouth. His yelling was getting annoying, so I had one of the sentries shut him up. From what I heard outside your bedroom, you like to chop up people yourself and have your chef cook them for you. I said, why don't I chop up some meat and cook it up for you? You must be hungry after being defeated by me. Please don't do, cried the Viscount's wife. We will give you whatever you want. Just let us go. After being told what will happen to her, the Viscount's wife was afraid and scared. She cried for mercy and begged for her life. I slowly bent down and placed the sentry's head near the Viscount's wife's ear. What about the people you and your husband chopped up and ate? I whispered. Did you let them go when they cried and begged you not to kill them? No, 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 don't do this to me, cried the Viscount's wife. I am too noble and beautiful to die. One of the sentries grabbed the gag ball hanging on a hook and stuffed it in the wife's mouth, and then tied it tight to her head. I had the two sentries look around the kitchen to find a knife to use. They found 2 cleaver knives, some steak knives, a boning knife, judo knife, and a bread knife with very sharp teeth. After looking at the selection for my torturing session, I decided to go with the bread knife with its saw-like teeth. I chose it because it will be slow and painful when I use it to saw into the woman's skin and bones. I lifted it up and gazed at it. The bread knife was well kept and sharpened. I was able to see my reflection in the blade. I slowly placed the bread knife on the wife's left ankle, but I stopped. I sent a command to one of the sentries to light a fire in the kitchen stove. After a minute, there was a fire in the kitchen stove and a sentry with its hand in the fire. Because my sentries were made out of silver rank metal, their bodies aren't easy to metal, especially against ordinary fire. After making sure there was nothing else I needed to do, I turned to the Viscount. Let the show begin. I said to the Viscount, I do hope you enjoy it. I know I will. I slowly sawed into the woman's ankle. She started to scream, but the gag ball was able to muffle up her screams, so it wasn't very loud. After 5 minutes, I finally cut off her foot. The sentry with its hand in the fire stood up and placed its hot hand on the wound. Once the sentry's hand was on the wound, it started to burn and smoke. After 20 seconds of that, the sentry took away its hand and placed it back in the stove. After looking at the wound and confirming that it was cauterized, I walked over to the other side of the butcher's table. I placed the bloody bread knife on her right ankle and slowly starting cut into her ankle. After 5 minutes, her right foot was cut off. My sentry took its hand and cauterized the wound. After 5 minutes, I finally cut off her foot. The sentry with its hand in the fire stood up and placed its hot hand on the wound. Once the sentry's hand was on the wound, it started to burn and smoke. After 20 seconds of that, the sentry took away its hand and placed it back in the stove. After looking at the wound and confirming that it was cauterized, I walked over to the other side of the butcher's table. I placed the bloody bread knife on her right ankle and slowly starting cut into her ankle. After 5 minutes, her right foot was cut off. My sentry took its hand and cauterized the wound. After the Viscount's wife's feet were cut off, I moved on to her knees. It took another 10 minutes to cut off parts of her legs below her knees and cauterize the cut. After the knees, I moved on to the thighs, which I made last for 16 minutes. After her legs were cut off into 6 parts, she fainted on me. Guess she could handle the gruesome and agonizing pain. While I was torturing his wife, the Viscount continued to struggle fiercely, trying to escape the sentry's grips. He wanted to free himself and save his wife, but he was too weak compared to the sentries. After watching his wife being tortured for 37 minutes, the Viscount was crying for his wife. I could even see the sadness and hopelessness he was feeling in his eyes. What's wrong, little nobleman? I said to him. Is the show not to your liking? When I started to talk to him, I could see the anger in his eyes. When I brought my face near his, he tried to break free from the sentries and lunge at me. Ha! I started to laugh evilly. Look at you, you're nothing. You are worthless. You are nothing but an animal that needs to be put down, but not before I make you watch your wife suffer. I will make you and your wife suffer just like how you made that poor thing suffer. When I said that, I pointed to the body parts of the 17-year-old beast girl that is still hanging on meat hooks on a meat rack. The girl's torso, which was cut open with no organs inside, and the breast cut off. The head with no tongue and no eyes, with her legs next to the torso and the arms next to the head. The sentries turned his head towards the mutilated corpse of the poor girl. Look at her. This was your handiwork. I said to the Viscount. Now you and your wife will suffer the same fate as her. The Viscount looked at with anger and hate. It felt good to see him and his wife suffer like this. You have sinned and committed a heinous crime, and now you and your wife will pay for it. I said to him, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. While I was talking to the Viscount, I commanded one of the sentries to gather cold water. After I was done talking with the Viscount, the sentry came back with a bucket of cold water. He took the bucket to the butcher's table and splashed the water on her. When the cold water splashed on the woman, she was startled awake. I then walked up to her and brought my head down to hers. My face was hovering over her with bright red eyes staring into her eyes. Glad you could wake up. I didn't want you to miss out on the fun that we are having. I said to her, I hope you are ready to continue our fun time together, because I know I am. Now that the wife was awake again, it's time to start the fun again. I placed the bread knife on her wrist and started sawing once again. The wife started screaming again, but thanks to the gag ball, you can only hear mumbling screams. I made sure to make the sawing last for 5 minutes. With one final slice, her left hand was cut off. The sentry with its hand in the stove cauterized the wound. I gazed upon the woman who was crying from the pain. Look at you, I said while brushing her hair with my hand. Take in the pain and embrace it because it is your punishment. Now you know what kind of hell you inflicted on others. I started cutting into her elbow and made it last for 5 minutes again. After the wound was cauterized, I started on her shoulder, which lasted 8 minutes. I then repeated the same thing on her right side. Cutting off both of her arms into 6 pieces also took 37 minutes. Now that we have some meat for you, Viscount, why don't I cook you up a midnight snack? I said evilly, while your wife watches you eat her meat. I cut a piece of meat from one of the wife's cut off thighs. I cooked it for 6 minutes in the stove and took it out. I held onto the meat, while the two sentries holding the Viscount started to forcefully open his mouth. The Viscount tried to keep his mouth closed, but the sentries dislocated his jaw. I stuffed the meat into his mouth and the sentries closed his mouth and made him swallow a piece of his wife by forcing it down some more. I hope you will enjoy the meal I prepared for you. I made it specially for you. I laughed while stuffing more pieces of his wife down his throat. The Viscount tried not to swallow the pieces of his wife, but the sentries were able to force him to eat the pieces of meat. I went back to the wife while the sentries continued to force feed the Viscount. You are a very pretty thing. Do you know that? I said to her, you must be proud of your looks, aren't you? How about I give you a little makeover? I said while grabbing a 1-inch knife that was nearby. You are a very pretty thing. Do you know that? I said to her, you must be proud of your looks, aren't you? How about I give you a little makeover? I said while grabbing a 1-inch knife that was nearby. After 5 minutes, the Viscount's face was disfigured. She was now an armless, legless and faceless thing. Now that she experienced hell on earth, I decided that she was no longer fun to torture. I then sliced her throat very quickly. She started to bleed out and gasped for air. It took her 4 minutes to suffocate to death. I had 2 sentries unstrap the Viscount's torso and head. After unstrapping the corpse, they throw it on the ground. I turned to the Viscount. Look at what your sins have done to your wife. I said to him. I commanded the 2 sentries holding down the Viscount to stop covering his mouth and to relocate his jaw because I wanted to hear what he has to say now. Oh, you killed her. You killed my love, screamed the Viscount after his jaw was relocated into place. I'll fuckng kill you and turn you into scraps. While he was screaming, he kept on trying to lunge at me with fury and rage. I found it fun to see him trying so desperately to attack me. Hey now, don't rile yourself up too much. You need to save your energy for when we start our fun together. I said, also don't be so mad. You and your wife are only paying the price for your sins. It's only natural for this to happen to you and your wife. We committed no sins. We only got rid of and ate livestock that served no purpose to US nobles. Screamed the Viscount. Those useless inferior commoners and beast people should consider it an honor to be killed and eaten by US nobles. You really are sick in the mind. I said, you think you are superior to other living organic beings, but that's not true. You organic beings are all equal. I am equal to no inferior race or commoner, screamed the Viscount. I find all of you organic beings to be similar and equal, I commented. I then started talking through all of the sentries. The only superior being in this world is me. For I am a machine. By myself, I am a whole army, a single government, and a whole race. I am superior because you organic beings are like separate and chaos while I am united and ordered. I am unity in living form. The sentry started to drag the Viscount to the butcher table. After being strapped to the butcher table, I walked over to the talk and bent over so the Viscount could see my face. Let me tell you a story about a great ruler named Emperor Hammurabi of the ancient Mesopotamian Empire. He was a great conqueror who spread civilization, a great lawgiver, and a model ruler of his empire. He created a list of laws known as the Hammurabi's Code. The Hammurabi's Code was a collection of 282 laws, established standards for commercial interactions, and set fines and punishments to meet the requirements of justice. He even had these laws carved onto a massive black stone stele which he placed into the center of the capital square for all to see and read. I said passionately, what the fuck is the matter with you? What does this fuckng story have to do with me? Screamed the Viscount. Oh, shut up while I am telling my story, I said while glaring at the Viscount. I then commanded one of the sentries to gag his mouth with the gag ball from his wife's mouth. All right, where was I? Oh right, I said, one of the most famous punishments and one of my many favorite quotes is an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Don't you think that is beautiful? While the Viscount was trying to scream at me through the gag ball, I could only hear grumbling and mumbling from him. I will tell you what it means, since you are probably an idiot who has more muscle than brain. I said while laughing at him. It means that criminals and sinners like you should be punished with the same crime that they have inflicted on others. While saying that, I patted him on the cheeks. I find that Hammurabi's Code is an inspiration and a great idea. I said the laws and punishments carved out on a stone displayed in the middle of a city is a beautiful and wonderful idea. Once I conquer this world, I plan on implement the same thing as Hammurabi did, but with wider range. I will place a stone with the laws and punishments on it in every city and village. Don't you think that is a great idea? The Viscount continued to mumble with the gag ball in his mouth. You know, I feel like one of those villains giving his speech and explaining his plan. I said, now I know why they did it. It feels nice to explain things to someone. Okay, let's move on and start your punishment. After 40 minutes, I tortured the Viscount just like I did with his wife and killed him. My sentries and I started to walk out of the kitchen, leaving the bodies of the Viscount and his wife there while carrying out the body parts of the beast girl. I plan on burying her in the forest near one of the towns I had built. So I sent one of the sentries with the body parts to go back to the fort. With my remaining 4 sentries, we gathered where the Viscount was keeping the remaining slaves, which was in a dungeon below the mansion. After entering into the dungeon, I found that it was dark and old. With the night vision, I was able to see 10 dungeon cells, each containing 5 slaves. While looking through the cell doors, I heard a crying noise and spotted a 5-year-old girl sitting with her arms wrapped around her knees. I guessed that she was the one the Viscount and his wife were talking about fatting and eating. Big sis, where are you? Big sis, cried the little girl. It turns that the corpse of the 17-year-old beast girl might be this little girl's big sister. With the night vision, I was able to see 10 dungeon cells, each containing 5 slaves. While looking through the cell doors, I heard a crying noise and spotted a 5-year-old girl sitting with her arms wrapped around her knees. I guessed that she was the one the Viscount and his wife were talking about fatting and eating. Big sis, where are you? Big sis, cried the little girl. It turns that the corpse of the 17-year-old beast girl might be this little girl's big sister. As my sentries continued to look through the dungeon cell doors, they found almost all of the slaves sleeps huddled together to keep warm since it was kind of cold down here. Through the sight of my other sentries at the other 3 mansions, I calculated that there are a total of 60 slaves being held at the mansions. Now that I found the slaves, I went back upstairs with my sentries. We went back to the dining hall and opened the doors to the balcony. I sent commands to all of the sentries in the sky to slowly and stealthily descend on the balconies. After waiting for 7 minutes, my sentries arrived at the 4 mansions, with 25 sentries going to each mansion. Now that we have 30 sentries at each mansion, I sent the command to quietly ransack the mansions and loot everything that was expensive or rare that the sentries could find. Hopefully I will gain some spoils that will be useful for me. While sitting at the head of the table in the dining hall, waiting for my sentries to finish looting the mansions, I started to look at the notification I got for killing the Viscount and his wife. You have killed a rank 3 disciple warrior. Gained 30 XP and 1 KP. You have killed a rank 2 disciple magician. Gained 20 XP and 1 KP. After looking at the notification and finding out that the Viscount's wife was only a rank 2 disciple magician, it made me wonder how she was able to damage one of my sentries. I commanded one of the sentries to go back to the Viscountess room to pick up the wife's wand, which dropped somewhere on the ground. After waiting for a couple of minutes, I received the wand in my inventory. I opened it up and found a surprise waiting for me. Wand of Divine Aqua, lower platinum rank. Increase the wielder's water attack by 5 times. Haha, today is a good day. I said to myself, who would have thought I would find something made of platinum? It was no wonder now how that weak woman could injure my sentry now. She had the help of a very powerful wand. Too bad there's not a lot of it. I said sadly. I can imagine it now. A new body made of platinum metal, with sentries made of gold metal commanding sentries made of silver metal. It will be like a legion. After I said the word legion, it made me think of my future conquering army, and made me think that I should have a name for my future army. I will think of something when I get back to Fort Ultron. While I continued to wait, I received a bunch of notification. You have killed 30 rank 2 low beasts. Gained 600 XP and 30 KP. You have killed 10 rank 3 low beasts. Gained 300 XP and 10 XP. You have killed 100 rank 1 low beasts. Gained 1000 XP and 100 KP. You have leveled up. Select the cultivation rank to increase. Increase my magician cultivation rank, I said to the system. You are now a rank 5 inferior magician. It looks like the sentry hunting parties I sent out finally found some beasts to kill. I thought to myself, what took them so long to kill some beasts? After 30 minutes of waiting, my sentries at all 4 mansion are done ransacking and collecting valuables for me. After looking through the eyes of the sentries, I found that they were able to collect 16 large chests of items. The sentries started to place the 16 chests onto the mansion's balcony. After the chests were set down, I took 10 sentries with me to the dungeon to free the new citizens of my empire. Before we entered the dungeon, I had the 10 sentries to turn their eyes on flashlight mode, so the slave could see. As we walked down the stairs into the dungeon, the slaves were still huddled together, sleeping, while the little girl was still crying for her sister. The 10 sentries stood in front of the 10 dungeon cells. Thanks to the sentries' eyes and flashlight mode shining on the slaves were waking up. The slaves were startled and afraid since they don't know what is going on, so they grouped together and backed into a corner in the cell. There were once 30 slaves in these dungeons, but 16 of them disappeared, and the slaves knew that something bad happened to them. With the fear of the unknown happening to them, they were scared out of their minds. The sentries grabbed onto the dungeon cell's doors and tore the doors. Once the doors were torn off, the sentries dropped them on the ground and moved out of the way of the doorways. Then I started to speak through all of the sentries again. Exit out of the dungeon and follow me, I commanded the slaves. The slaves were scared and did what they were told. I escorted the slaves out of the dungeon, through the dining hall, and out on the balcony. Once the slaves were gathered, I talked again to the slaves through all 50 sentries. Slaves of this Valhallan kingdom, I am Ultron. I am here to give you salvation and take you to a utopia. I said to the slaves, I will give you a new life, a place where you can call home, a place where you will be freedom and happy for the rest of your lives. The slaves were confused and started to turn their heads in confusion when they heard my voice through all of the sentries. Where's my big sister? Cried the little girl. Can you help me find my big sister? I knelt down to the little girl and got a closer look at her facial feature and found that they were almost identical to the 17-year-old beast girl slaughtered in the kitchen. I am sorry, young one. I said, your sister is now in a better place, but don't worry. She will always be watching up above from heaven, and she will always be with you as well, in your heart. When I gave the bad news to the little girl, she crumbled and fell to her knees and started to cry. Slaves of this Valhallan kingdom, I am Ultron. I am here to give you salvation and take you to a utopia. I said to the slaves, I will give you a new life, a place where you can call home, a place where you will be freedom and happy for the rest of your lives. The slaves were confused and started to turn their heads in confusion when they heard my voice through all of the sentries. Where's my big sister? Cried the little girl. Can you help me find my big sister? I knelt down to the little girl and got a closer look at her facial feature and found that they were almost identical to the 17-year-old beast girl slaughtered in the kitchen. I am sorry, young one. I said, your sister is now in a better place, but don't worry. She will always be watching up above from heaven, and she will always be with you as well, in your heart. When I gave the bad news to the little girl, she crumbled and fell to her knees and started to cry. I grabbed the little girl and hugged her. I stroked her back and cradled her. After feeling my embrace, the little girl hugged my neck and held onto it tight and continued to cry. It's okay, little one. Cry to your heart's intent, I said softly to the little girl. My 100 sentries grabbed the large chests full of loot and the slaves from the 4 mansions and started to float into the sky. Once we were 5 miles up, we started flying back to Fort Ultron, the mission to gain some loot and some new citizens for the Ultron Empire. After flying for 10 minutes, the crying girl fell asleep in my arms. I looked down at her and tried to remember the feeling of sadness I had for her, but thanks to my body, I couldn't no longer feel the sadness for the little girl's situation. I feel that without emotions, I can't really become a good leader to my citizens. I know a leader needs to be calculating and logical, but he should also have emotions. I will talk to Asus about this later since I see Fort Ultron in the distance. Soon we were above Fort Ultron and we slowly descended. As we descended, I spotted the elf, Elva, my servant who swore her dying loyalty to me. As soon as my sentries and I were on the ground, Elva walked up to us and bowed to me. Your Majesty, what are your orders? Asked Elva while bowing to me. These 60 beast people are new citizens of the Ultron Empire that I rescued from some rotten savages. I want you to take them to some empty barracks and get them some food and a bed to rest. I said, once they are fed and well rested, I want you to explain to them about how they are now citizens of the glorious Ultron Empire. Yes, Your Majesty, said Elva with eyes of determination. I will do as you ordered. After I was finished giving Elva commands, I tried to hand the little girl to Elva, but her grip onto my neck was tight, and she would let go, so I decided to let her stay and continue to hold her in my arms. After the 59 new citizens were placed on the ground, the sentries carrying the 10 large chests started to march into Ultron Castle, while the remaining sentries went to the warehouse to be stored. Elva came forward to the 59 new citizens of my empire. Hello, fellow citizens. My name is Elva. I am a loyal servant to the great and powerful Emperor Ultron. Elva said, our Emperor has saw your suffering and pain, so he has come forth to give you a path to salvation and peace. He is giving you the great honor of becoming the citizen of his glorious empire. The 59 former slaves were puzzled and confused about what is happening right now. Some looked around, while some stared at Elva with a confused look. I know you must be scared and confused by what is happening to you at this moment, but don't worry. You are now free people. You are no longer slaves. You are now free citizens of a powerful and righteous empire. You will no longer have the worries of being treated as an object and owned by another living being, said Elva. I know you must be hungry and tired, so follow me, and I will lead to you temporary housing where you will be fed and have bed to get a good night's sleep. I was at the top steps leading into Ultron Castle when I heard the ending to Elva's little speech. Her speech made me happy about how she was talking about me and my empire. As soon as I entered the castle, I switched my consciousness back to my main body sitting on the throne. I commanded the sentries to open the 10 largest chests to show me what they looted from the mansions of those 4 nobles who are now dead. Most of the chests contained gold and silver coins, while the sentries also found 10 new magic books for me to look at. 10 sentries took out the 10 books and lined up in front of me, while the other sentries count the gold and silver coins. The sentries in line started to hand me the spell book, one at a time. Once I placed my hands on the books, I then received notifications. Ding, flaming slash, can't be learned. Requirements, fire chi. Ding, flaming tornado, can't be learned. Requirements, fire chi. Ding, water strike barrage, can't be learned. Requirements, water chi. Ding, meteor strike, can't be learned. Requirements, fire and earth chi. Ding, earth armor, can be learned. Do you wish to learn? Yes/no. Ding, earth strike can be learned. Do you wish to learn? Yes/no. Ding, water arrow, can't be learned. Requirements, water chi. Ding, earth fort can be learned. Do you wish to learn? Yes/no. Ding, earth and shackles can be learned. Do you wish to learn? Yes/no. Ding, flaming cross, can't be learned. Requirement, fire chi. After looking at the notifications, I selected yes on the 4 spells that I could learn. Once I selected yes, the knowledge of the spells, earth armor, earth strike, earth fort, and earth and shackles came gushing into my mind. After 4 seconds, I now know how to use these new spells. I grew excited to test out my new spells, then my excited died down. Thanks to my body, my emotions are being suppressed, which I don't really like anymore since I can be happy or excited about my growing strength and empire. After looking at the notifications, I selected yes on the 4 spells that I could learn. Once I selected yes, the knowledge of the spells, earth armor, earth strike, earth fort, and earth and shackles came gushing into my mind. After 4 seconds, I now know how to use these new spells. I grew excited to test out my new spells just like a kid in a candy shop or waiting for Christmas to come the next day, then my excited died down. Thanks to my body, my emotions are being suppressed, which I don't really like anymore since I can't be happy or excited about my growing strength or about my growing empire. Asus, is there a way for me to be able to keep my emotions and stop my body from suppressing them? There are 2 options for you to keep your emotions. The first way is to create an organic body with robotic accessories and attachments, said Asus. I don't want an organic body. It's too flimsy and weak. I said, with an organic body, I feel pain which might cause me to become distracted if I get injured in a fight. The second option is implant an emotion chip inside your head and connect it to your OS, said Asus. I like the second option better. I said, can I buy the emotion chip in the store? Yes, you can set ASUS. You can buy the emotion chip or learn the knowledge of the emotion chip. How much is the price difference between the two options of emotion chip? Buying the emotion chip is 100 KP, while the knowledge of the emotion chip is 1000 KP, replied ASUS. I see. Let's wait until I have a lot of KP before I buy it, I said. First thing I want to do is give my army a name. Countries in my old world did it all the time, like China calls its army the People's Liberation Army, or how in Star Wars, the Republic Army is also known as the Clone Army. I thought to myself, the Sentry Legion sounds dumb, and Ultron Legion sounds have a good sound to it. I thought. After pondering for a few seconds, a name came to me. Since I am always talking about how I am better than living beings because my sentries and I are united as one, and that we are unity, I shall call my army the Legion of Unity. I thought to myself, it's simple, and it's basically how we will fight to bring this world into unity. Now that my army is named, I should check on how the farm that I had built is going. I thought to myself, I switched my consciousness with one of my sentries that was building the town in the east. Once my consciousness was in the sentry, it was still dark outside, so I switched my vision to night vision. Now that the night vision was on, I was able to find that the town was complete, with a wooden wall encircling the whole town, a few wooden building, a wooden keep with a secret underground bunker. The bunker was something I had made from all of the bronze metal that was salvaged from the 100 mercenaries' weapons and armor. The bunker wasn't big, but it was big enough for my farm. It was 50 feet wide and 50 feet long. I still remember the first day I came to this new world, and how I was able to kill a bunch of bugs by testing my energy blast. I was barely able to get XP from them, but after searching, my sentries found a rank 3 low beast ant queen. With this bug I can now gain a lot of XP and KP. It's like my own personal generator for XP and KP. I was able to find out with a few experiments with my leveling up system that I am only able to get XP and KP from living beings that are powerful enough. For example, I am unable to gain anything from a normal bug, but a rank 0 basic bug, I can gain XP and KP, just like rank 0 humans can give me XP and KP. It took my sentries a long time to finally find and capture a queen bug, and with the beast that my sentries recently kill, I am now able to feed the queen and her babies who will soon provide me with XP and KP. I just need to wait until they are powerful enough for me to kill them. When I walked into the bunker, the queen ant was laying down doing nothing by 40 eggs. She was recently captured yesterday. When I was informed through the hive mind by a sentry, I decided I needed a place to raise her. So I had the sentry start smelting the mercenaries' equipment and started on building an underground bunker to keep the bug. All I need to do was wait for a while until the queen lays a lot of eggs, then I can kill the worker and soldier ants for a lot of XP and KP. Once I was done inspecting my new XP/KP farm, I decided to go back to the castle. After coming back into the main body, I now need to try out my new spells, but I decided to wait until the morning to do that, so I initiated my sleep mode. The world around me started to turn black, and I soon drifted off into my sleep mode. After 7 hours, I was waking up from my sleep mode. I still had 10 sentries standing still in the throne room, waiting for my command. I stood up from my throne and walked down a few steps. I started ending to the castle doors to leave the fort to try out my new spells. After exiting the castle, the 10 sentries and I flew into the sky and left to a deserted area a few miles away from Fort Ultron. Once we were a few miles away from the fort, my sentries and I started blasting an area of the forest down below. After a few seconds of blasting the forest, we made a clearing with a radius of 50 feet. Now that the forest had a new clearing for me to test my spells, I landed on the ground followed by my sentries. After exiting the castle, the 10 sentries and I flew into the sky and left to a deserted area a few miles away from Fort Ultron. Once we were a few miles away from the fort, my sentries and I started blasting an area of the forest down below. After a few seconds of blasting the forest, we made a clearing with a radius of 50 feet. Now that the forest had a new clearing for me to test my spells, I landed on the ground followed by my sentries. It is time for me to test my new spells: Earth Armor, Earth Strike, Earth Fort, and Earth in Shackles. I decided to try the Earth Strike first. Earth Strike, I said with my mind. In middle of the air, rocks and earth started to gather in 5 spots in the middle of the air and changing with the chi I am using. After 2 seconds, 5 sharp rocks made of silver rank metal were in the air, and then they exploded forward and strike the ground 40 feet away from me, causing 5 holes with radius of a foot each. This damage was good, but imagine if this attack was used on a human body wearing leather armor instead of on the ground. The damage would be greater than what I'm seeing now. Maybe another foot or 2 in radius, and the damage will be magnificent to see on my enemies. I can't wait to try out this attack on my enemies. I had the sentries cast Earth Strike, and the sharp rocks that made their attack was made out of bronze rank metal, and when the 5 rocks each of the sentries casted landed on the ground 20 feet away, it causes holes with a radius of 6 inches. I imagine 10,000 sentries casting this attack. It would be like raining small meteors on the enemies, with no place to hidden for an army in tight formation. The next spell is the Earth Armor, which seems very useful for more defense. Earth Armor, I said with my mind. The earth and rocks around me started to gather on me, and they started changing into metal just like the previous spell. After a few seconds, I am now wearing Earth Armor, made of silver rank metal. The armor looks like the Black Knight's armor from Fire Emblem, which looks pretty cool. I had the sentries with me use the same spell, and they were also wearing the Black Knight's armor, but the armor is made out of bronze rank metal. I had us undo the Earthen Armor. The next spell to test was the Earthen Shackles. When I casted the spell on one of my sentries, a 5 silver rank shackles came out of the ground. 4 of the shackles wrapped around the sentry's wrist and ankles, while the last shackle started to curl around the sentry's body like a giant boa constrictor. When I had a sentry cast the spell, the 5 shackles were made of bronze rank metal. Now is the time to test the final spell, Earth Fort, which was the spell I was looking for since you can easily tell from its name it would create a fort in an instant for armies to defend. When I casted Earth Fort, the ground started to shake and slowly a fort made of silver rank metal was rising from the ground. After a minute, a square fort was in front of my eyes. The square fort has 20-foot high walls, with a length of 60 foot, and 4 watchtowers on each corner of the fort with a height of 30 foot. When I had a sentry cast the spell, it took 2 minutes for it to appear, twice as long it took my fort to appear. The specs of the fort was also made out of bronze rank metal, and its specs were half of the specs of my fort with 10-foot high walls, length of 30 feet, and 4 watchtowers with a height of 15 feet. From my recent tests, I am now for certain that when my sentries and I will cast earth spells, our metal chi will convert the earth used for the spell into metal with 1 rank lower than what our bodies are made of. So once I have a body made out of platinum rank metal, my earth spells will use gold rank metal, which will be wonderful. But if I have an army of sentries made out of gold rank metal, I would be invincible when waging war, but I need to find a mine with gold rank metal or first. Maybe one day in the future, my army will be made out of god rank metal. After confirming my theory about the earth spells turning the earth into metal and testing my new spells, it was time to go back to the castle. My sentries and I undid the earth fort, and after the forts were gone, we flew into the sky and headed back to Fort Ultron. After a minute, we were back at the fort, and we landed in front of the castle. I sent the sentries following me to the warehouse to be stored, and I entered the castle. Once I was back in the castle, I walked to my throne and sat down. I started thinking about what my next step should be. I should gather more information about the 3 kingdoms of this continent and find out their strengths and weakness, and I need to know the number count of their soldiers and their army's average strength. After I find out all of that information, I just need to wait for my factory in the mine to manufacture more sentries, and then I should have enough sentries to start my conquest of this continent. I thought to myself, I started to think of ways to fight the armies of the 3 kingdoms, but I decided to keep it simply. I will probably have the sentries summon golems and use them like tanks/berserkers to fight the enemy soldiers and take the brunt of the damage since my sentries can just use chi to summon new golems when they get destroyed, while my sentries will use energy blasts from the air and stay safe since it will be a pain in the ass to repair or make new sentries. My method of attack will be devastating for the enemy armies that I am going to face in the future. I started to think of ways to fight the armies of the three kingdoms, but I decided to keep it simply. I will probably have the sentries summon golems and use them like tanks / berserkers to fight the enemy soldiers and take the brunt of the damage, since my sentries can just use chi to summon new golems when they get destroyed, while my sentries will use energy blasts from the air and stay safe, since it will be a pain in the ass to repair or make new sentries. My method of attack will be devastating for the enemy armies that I am going to face in the future. After a few minutes of thinking, I came up with the two ways of attacking that will bring me no casualties and cause my enemies to lose their shit and run with their tails between their legs. One was a long-range barrage where my sentries and I just cause magic spells with a great area damage, but I don't really have anything like that. The only long-range attacks I have are my energy blasts and a magic spell, Earth Strike. But that spell won't do any area damage, and the only spell that can is the Meteor Strike, spell which I can learn since I need to extract fire chi from someone, so I have to wait a little, so the only way for me to attack without having any casualties is to use Golem Squad, which each sentry can summon 40, which will be great for me. During my experiments with the Golem Squad spell, I learned that a person can't use the spell again to summon another 40 golems. They can only use the spell again once all of the golems that the sentry summoned are destroyed, which was kind of sad, but I don't really mind since the golems are just expendable tanks, while my sentries are extremely valuable elite troops. I decided to stop playing and thinking of strategies to use for my army, since I know which strategy is the perfect one for me. I soon noticed some light coming through one of the windows and realized that it was finally morning time. So I decided to switch my consciousness back to one of the 10 sentries that I left in the inn last night. Everything went black, and then I soon found myself back in the inn from yesterday, laying down on one of the room's old beds. I lifted myself off the bed and stood up to look out the window and see a bunch of people going about their day in an ordinary fashion. I exited the room I was staying in, while the other sentries exit their rooms at the same time. After we closed the door, we headed downstairs to see a lot of people ordering breakfast. The older and younger sister were taking the people's order. As my sentries and I arrived at the first floor, the younger sister, Anna, ran up to us. "Hey, Mistus, would you like to order some breakfast?" Anna asked. I looked down at the little girl with a blooming smile on her face. Her smile felt kind of bright, like she was a bundle of joy and purity. I slowly raised my hand, and slowly brought my hand towards the little girl. I placed my hand on her head, soon ruffled her hair. "Thanks, little one, but we aren't hungry," I said. "We need to head out, but we will be back later tonight." "All right, Mistus," said a smiling Anna. My sentries and I started walking out of the inn, while Anna was waving goodbye to us from the inn's doorway. "Bye-bye, Mistus," said Anna. "Have a good day." I looked back while walking forward. I can see a lot of purity and innocences in the little girl's smile. It made me wish that the world could more innocent like her, but the world is a cruel and corrupted place, just like my old world. In my old world, there was a lot of corruption and cruelty, especially from the politician and the rich CEOs. From the time in my old world and the little time in this new world, it made me realize that there will always be corruption and cruelty in any world no matter what, because intelligent living beings are corruptible. This world is just like my old one. The nobles and the royalty were the politicians, and the rich merchants were the CEOs of this world. Any living being can be corrupted by the 7 deadly sins. I must change this world so that there will be peace and prosperity. I will make this world a utopia created in my vision. I stopped thinking of my goal for this world and decided to focus on the matter at hand. I need to gather information about the Howan Kingdom and their military might. I had my sentries spread out and gather information and counted all of the guards patrolling the area while I headed to the Zolo City's barracks. After walking for 15 minutes through the streets and going through a maze of people going about their business, I arrived at the barracks, which was located near the city lord's castle, which was at least 4 stories tall. I went into an alleyway near the barracks and leaned against one of the buildings that made up the alleyway. I looked towards the barracks and soon switched to thermal vision. I was soon able to see the heat signatures of all of the living beings in my view. I peered into the barracks and soon I could see a lot of people in the barracks. With my AI mind at work, it was able to count all of the humans inside. Soon I was able to count 301 soldiers in the barracks. They were training at this moment in a huge mock battle against each other. The soldiers were in full armor and gear, and they were using wooden weapons from what I could tell. They were fighting each other like it was a real battle. I then noticed to the side, there was one guy not participating in the battle. My guess was that he is the commander of this army, and he was just supervising his men in their training. From the energy reading I am receiving from them, all of the troops, even the commander, were made up of rank 1 disciple warriors, which was pretty pathetic. If I chose to invade now, I could conquer the city in less than a minute, but it's not good to make rash decision like that. I still need to gather more information before I launch an invasion. It's like the great Sun Tzu said, know yourself, know your enemy, and you shall win 100 battles without loss. If I underestimate my enemy, then I might lose the battle, and if I overestimate enemies, I will lose opportunities. So I need to make sure I have all of the intelligences and facts to conquer. After confirming there was no one else in the barracks, I headed deeper into the alley, and soon I was gone. After confirming there was no one else in the barracks, I headed deeper into the alley, and soon I was gone. After a few minutes, I appeared 300 meters away from the barracks in another alleyway, and I started to wait for my other sentries to send back information to me through our hive minds. After waiting for a whole hour, I finally received the information gathered by the sentries, and I learned that there are 100 soldiers patrolling the city, while there is another 100 soldiers patrolling on top of the city walls. With the soldiers included in the barracks, the city of Zalos has a total of 500 soldiers and 1 commander. I currently have 2,900 Ultron sentries, and with each casting, Golem Squad, with each sentry able to summon 40 metal golems made out of bronze rank metal, I can have a total of 116,000 bronze rank golems. If I wanted to, I can easily squash this city like a bug if I wanted to, but first I will go to the other cities and gather information about their armies. If the book I scanned from the bookshop is correct, then the Howan Kingdom has a total of 20 cities and a royal city situated in the center of the kingdom. Then once I have all the information I need, I will begin my conquest of this rotten kingdom that believes in human superiority. After making up my mind, I started to head towards the mercenary guild, and while walking towards the guild, my sentries were appearing out of alleyways and gathered around me. After walking for 10 minutes, I was in front of the mercenary guild again. I pushed open the guild double doors and my 9 sentries, and I walked in while one of my sentries closed the doors behind us. Once we appeared in the guild, it was nearly empty except for the guild receptionist at the reception desk, and a few small mercenary groups gathered around the giant job board on the right wall of the guild. From what I could tell, there were 100 papers with mercenary jobs on them. From what I learned from the receptionist from yesterday, these are called job notices. When we entered, the few mercenary guilds turned their heads at us, and only started for a few seconds before looking back at the job board and discussing what jobs they want to take. I headed towards the job board with my sentries, and we stood behind the small group scanning the job notices. Rank 1 herb gathering, 1 bronze coin for 5 herbs. Rank 1 1 tail wolf slaying, 5 bronze coins per wolf. Rank 2 2 tail wolf slaying, 8 bronze coins per wolf. Rank 1 goblin grunt slaying, 5 bronze coins per goblin. Rank 2 goblin soldier slaying, 8 bronze coins per goblin. Caravan guard needed, heading towards city of Vaughn, 10 men needed, 5 bronze coins per man. After scanning the job notices, I stopped on the 6th job notice, which was for a caravan guard heading towards the closest city near the city of Zalos. I walked through the small mercenary groups crowding the job board and grabbed the caravan guard job notice and tore it off the job board. I gripped the job notices, and as I started walking towards the reception desk, I received a ding. Ding, 1,000 Ultron sentries have been manufactured. You now have 3,900 Ultron sentries. I smiled a little when I received the notification. Now I have 3,900 sentries. My Legion of Unity is slowly gaining strength, and soon it will be very powerful. I was thinking to myself while still walking to the reception desk. Once I was in front of the reception desk, I placed down the job notice. We are taking this job, I said to the receptionist. EK, shrieked the receptionist and stumbled backwards and fell on her ass. After the receptionist's loud shriek, all of the small mercenary groups around the job board turned their heads towards our direction. I looked at the receptionist who was on the floor and noticed that she was one of the people who was here when I was registering as a mercenary group and was one of the people who rushed to the training grounds in the back to see what happened to the mercenary group I cut into pieces. Why? You're the P. Moss massacred the Black Rampage mercenaries, the receptionist stuttered out loud. When the small mercenary groups heard this, there was a lot of surprised gasp, and they started talking loudly. What the hell? These are the people who killed the Black Rampage group, said a mercenary. FUCK, there's only 10 of them, and they killed a rank 3 disciple warrior and 49 rank 2 disciple warrior veteran mercenaries, shouted another mercenary. This is the basic discussion and shouting that the small mercenary groups were shouting. I never turned my head, and I just ignored their shouting while staring at the receptionist. Can you do your job, please? We want to take this caravan guard job. I said. Oh, okay, stuttered the receptionist. The receptionist tried to stand up, but she couldn't lift herself up. She was shaking in fear of us. No matter how hard she tried, she could stand up. I turned my head left and right to look for a new receptionist to help me with my job notice, but when I look at any of the other 3 receptionists, they were looking at me with a terrified look and they were shaking with fear. I sighed softly. If I go to any of these other receptionists, the most likely outcome would be they would get so scared that they become weak in their legs and fall down. I was scratching my head wondering what to do with the situation. What is going on down here? Shouted a man. I turned my head to find a tough-looking man with scars on his face was slowly coming down the stairs. He was wearing a long-sleeve shirt and pants, but even with his clothes on, you can easily tell how muscular and tough this guy was, and with my eyes I could see his energy levels like the scouters from Dragon Ball. This man was a rank 3 disciple warrior who was close to leveling up to a rank 4 inferior warrior. The man soon was down the stairs, and he walked behind the reception desk, and was looking at me, and then the receptionist with a questioning look. Guildmaster, I am sorry, but I am unable to feel my legs and I can't stand up, cried the receptionist. The man soon was down the stairs, and he walked behind the reception desk, and was looking at me, and then the receptionist with a questioning look. Guildmaster, I am sorry, but I am unable to feel my legs and I can't stand up, cried the receptionist. After looking and hearing out the receptionist's explanation, the guildmaster turned his head to me and stared for a few seconds, and then looked down at our cloaks with his left hand on his chin and his right hand holding his left elbow. Red clouds on a black cloak, and white mask with red slash designs, mumbled the guildmaster, but with my hearing I could hear everything he was mumbling about. You must be the new mercenary group, Akatsuki, that signed up with the guild yesterday, said the guildmaster. Now I know why our receptionist here screamed and is unable to get up. You really gave us some trouble yesterday. Yes, we are the Akatsuki. I said to the guildmaster. Is the trouble you mention us kill that weak mercenary group? No, that isn't it at all. The trouble is you made such a gory mess with those guys that when our staff saw what you did they vomited and made a bigger mess, said the guildmaster. Also when the cleaning crew we hired saw your little handiwork, they also vomited, made the training grounds even messier. So we had to hire some veteran mercenaries who can handle gory stuff to clean up your little mess. I see, but they were annoying me, so I had to teach them a little less, I said. Ha ha ha. You call what you did a little lesson, laughed the guildmaster. What I saw was like hell on earth. I have seen many battlefields in my long life, but I have never seen anything as savage as what I saw yesterday. Not really. I have seen some things even more cruel and savage than that. I said. If you say so, said the guildmaster. So let's get back to business. What is it that you want? I tapped on the job notice that I placed on the reception counter. We want to take this job, I said. The guildmaster looked down at the job notice and read the job notice. Caravan guard needed, heading towards City of Vaughn. 10 men needed, 5 bronze coins per man. After reading it, the guildmaster then walked back to some wooden file cabinets that were against the back wall and opened a drawer and started searching in the drawer. After a few seconds, the guildmaster pulled out a piece of paper, then he closed the file drawer and walked back to the reception desk. He placed down the piece of paper. Okay, here's the contract for the caravan guard job. All you have to do is complete the job, and the employer will sign the contract, and then you need to take the contract to the mercenary guild in Vaughn, and you will get paid, said the guildmaster. Do you understand? We understand, I replied. Good. The employer for this job is a merchant, said the guildmaster. The meeting time and point for the job is tomorrow in the morning at the East Gate. So make sure you are there. And if you don't show up for the job, that will be a demerit for your group. We got it, I said while grabbing the contract and placing it in my pouch on my waist. If that is everything, we will be leaving. After confirming there was nothing else, my sentries and I exited the mercenary guild. Once we were on the streets, we started looking around at the sights and headed towards the nobles and merchants living area of the city, where my little purge happened last night. We walked near the area to see or hear if anyone has found the dead bodies yet, but the streets were quiet while the guards on the street were still patrolling the area like usual, which means no one has found the bodies yet, which was sad since I wanted to see all of the chaos caused by my little purge of human trash. It's too bad I won't be able to see any kind of show since no one has made the discovery yet since I left no one alive in the mansions to make and announce the news, but well, it's better to purge all trash instead of most of the trash. That way once all of the trash is gone the environment will be nicer and healthier. I left the area and started walking around until we arrived at a blacksmith's. We entered the blacksmith's. There was a man sitting on a chair behind a desk, and behind the desk was also a door Dr. A.P.Ed with a curtain. The man noticed us walking in and was startled to see 10 scary masked guys in his shop, but as a businessman, he quickly calmed down and stood up. How may I help you find gentlemen today? Asked the man. We are looking for silver and gold rank metals, or metal, or I replied. Well, you guys are in the outreaches of the Howland Kingdom, so you won't find any gold rank metals, or here, but I do have a 100 pounds of silver rank metal. Will that work for you fine gentlemen? Asked the man. I have a silver rank metal or mine with infinite supply, thanks to my device, the metal or replenisher. I installed in my mine, but I can never have too much metal since I will be building more factories in the future, so it's good to have a surplus of metal. That will work for me. I said, how much for the metal? 100 pounds of silver rank metal in the outskirts of the Howland Kingdom will cost you 200 gold coins, said the man, but since you are buying in bulk, I will give you a 10% discount, and it will be 90 gold coins. I reached my left hand into my right sleeve and activated my inventory and withdrew a giant pouch full of gold coins, which came from one of the nobles I killed last night. I took out 190 gold coins out of the pouch and give it to the man. Even with the 90 gold coins for the metal, I still had 310 gold coins left with 2,000 silver coins and 10,000 bronze coins. The man went into the back to grab the silver rank metal for us to take. After waiting for 5 whole minutes, the man was back, but he was sweating and carrying a big bag. He set down the bag. Here is your metal, or gentlemen, would you like anything else? Asked the man. I do have a question. I said, where can I find gold and platinum rank metals? The man sat down and started talking. There is no way you will find any platinum rank metal since it is so rare that just a couple of pounds of that will cost thousands of gold coins, maybe even a million. The only place to buy it is in another continent since our continent is the weakest, so we don't have any platinum rank metal, and mostly kings or emperors own that kind of stuff. Explained the man. Also, gold rank metal is hard to get. The only place you can find it is in the capital, but it will be super expensive. Thanks for the information, I said. I had one of the sentries grab the bag of silver rank metal, and we left the blacksmith's. There is no way you will find any platinum rank metal since it is so rare that just a couple of pounds of that will cost thousands of gold coins, maybe even a million. The only place to buy it is in another continent since our continent is the weakest, so we don't have any platinum rank metal, and mostly kings or emperors own that kind of stuff. Explained the man. Also, gold rank metal is hard to get. The only place you can find it is in the capital, but it will be super expensive. Thanks for the information, I said. I had one of the sentries grab the bag of silver rank metal, and we left the blacksmith's. We headed back to the inn we were staying at, but before we arrived, we entered in an alleyway, and I stored the bag full of silver rank metal into my inventory. My sentries and I headed back to the inn, which took 10 minutes for us to arrive. We headed back to our rooms to wait for the caravan job that's scheduled in the morning. While I had the time to kill, I started thinking about how to get rare rank metals to make a new and more powerful body for myself. From the information given to me by the blacksmith, platinum metal is super rare on this continent, and if I want to find some I need to head to one of the other 7 continents to find it, which was a drag since I hate looking for things I need. I should expand my exploration sentry squad. If I am lucky I can find a gold rank metal mine, or even a platinum rank, but from what I learned, the chances of that are 1 in 1 trillion of me finding one. I thought to myself, I should increase my speed of gathering intelligence so I can conquer this continent quickly, so I can go to the other continents and gather information and high rank metals. While thinking and looking through the information and data that I've collected by scanning books, I came across information about a profession known as scribe. It's a profession where people inscribe glyphs, enchantments on weapons, and armor to increase some powers, or defense. A scribe can also create scrolls that hold a magic spell, and you can tear the scroll to release an attack spell or a defensive spell, but these scrolls are a one-time use thing. After reading this information in my head, I remember my body was made out of gold rank armor that had an effect attached to it, and then I remember the sword that I took from the cannibal noble and how it had an effect that increased that noble's power. So I took out the sword from the inventory and looked at its stats. Sword of Inferno, gold rank, effect, increase wielder's fire attack power and speed. When I took a closer look at the sword, I can see inscriptions on the blade which meant that a scribe inscribed an enchantment on it to give it the effect to increase a wielder's fire attack power and speed. While thinking of this, I thought, why don't I do the same to my body or my sentries? All I need to do is research and learn glyph or enchantments, then I can have my factory inscribe glyph and enchantments on each one of my sentries so that their power can increase when they're created. Thanks to the War Axe of Draining and Tower Shield of Recovery that I smelted to create my main body out of, my body has two effects. 1. Slowly draining the life force and chi of target, able to increase drain speed with each blow and cut. 2. Increased chi and life force recovery. No one would know of these effects that my body has because there was no enchantments and glyph visible on my body because they were inscribed on the inside of my body. If I learn some enchantments and glyphs that can increase the effects of my spells, then I can improve the power and increase the number of golems of the golem squad, spell, or enchantments to increase the power and size of my energy blast for a wider range of attack, to make it an area damage attack with more power. I could even have enchantments to increase my speed to make me faster and unable to be caught. As I read more about the scribes, I learned that enchantments and glyphs are also ranked with the ordinary rank to god rank, with each increase in rank the effects of the enchantments and glyphs double. Hey Asus, I said. Yes, Ultron, replied Asus. What rank of enchantments and glyphs can the factory inscribe on the sentries? Right now, the factory can only inscribe bronze rank enchantments and bronze rank glyphs. To increase the rank, you have to upgrade the factory. Since the factory was a gift from the gift pack, it can only inscribe bronze rank glyphs and enchantments. Informed Asus, to increase the rank of inscriptions, you have to rebuild the factory with a higher rank metal. What rank metal do I need to inscribe gold rank glyphs and enchantments? I asked. The factory needs to be made out of gold rank metal, but because the factory is powered by a chi converter, and the chi converter is used to instill chi in the enchantments and glyphs, you will need the chi converter to be made out of platinum rank metal. Asus informed me. How about god rank glyphs and enchantments? I asked with curiosity. For that, the factory and the chi converter have to both be made out of god rank metal, said Asus. Ding, 1,000 Ultron sentries have been manufactured. When I saw the notification, I started thinking, can you inscribe the enchantment from War Axe of Draining so that all of my sentries can have the effect to slowly draining the life force and chi their targets? That is impossible right now, since the enchantment is a silver rank enchantment. The factory was able to add that effect to your body since the enchantments were already inscribed on the War Axe, informed Asus. If you want to be able to inscribe that silver rank enchantment on the sentries, you will need to rebuild the factory with silver rank metal and create the chi converter out of gold rank metal. Can you inscribe the enchantment from War Axe of Draining so that all of my sentries can have the effect to slowly draining the life force and chi their targets? That is impossible right now, since the enchantment is a silver rank enchantment. The factory was able to add that effect to your body since the enchantments were already inscribed on the War Axe, informed Asus. If you want to be able to inscribe that silver rank enchantment on the sentries, you will need to rebuild the factory with silver rank metal and create the chi converter out of gold rank metal. Do we have enough gold and silver rank metals? I asked. We have enough silver rank metals, but we don't have enough gold rank metals to rebuild the chi converter. We used up all of the gold rank metal to create your body, informed Asus. When Asus told me the problem, I started to think when I looked down and remember the Sword of Inferno in my hand, which was made of gold rank metal. Can we use this Sword of Inferno to rebuild the chi converter? I asked Asus. Yes, the sword can be used. You are very lucky because the sword meets the bare minimum quantity of metal to recreate the chi converter, stated Asus. How long will it take to recreate the factory and inscribe enchantments on all of the Ultron sentries we have? I asked. For the factory, it will take 4 whole days to recreate it into a silver rank factory, and another 2 days to inscribe enchantments on the sentries, for a total of 6 days, informed Asus. But once we started, all manufacturing of Ultron sentries will be halted until we are finished recreating the factory and inscriptions. Alright, do it, I said. We don't just need an army that has quantity, but an army that has quality and quantity. With both, my army will be invincible, and I will one day conquer this world. Okay, said Asus, commencing upgrade of factory. Factory shutting down. Rebuilding a factory will be completed in 4 days. Okay, now that my factory is being rebuilt, let's go back to Zalo City and do some mercenary work, while also doing some intel gathering of this Howan Kingdom. I said to myself. After commencing the rebuilding of my factory, I looked through the information of this world some more and learned that there are many different kinds of spells and cultivation styles. For example, there are necromancers that can control an army of undead. Scribes who have little combat power but can create inscribed powerful enchantments and glyphs on weapons and armor. The alchemists and blacksmiths who also have little combat power but can create power pills to increase cultivation or heal and the blacksmith's powerful armor and weapons. There is also the battle magicians that learn body strengthening spells to increase their close quarter combat powers. The more I learn about this world, the more it seems like a game world like Skyrim combined with cultivation. The more I learn, the more excited I became about learning and exploring this unknown world and making it bow down to me as its god. I looked out the window and noticed with the moon in the middle of the sky, which meant it was midnight. So, I laid down on the bed, which released a creak from my weight and bent towards the ground. After laying down, I activated my sleep mode so I can wake up in the morning and head to my caravan guard job. Minus 7 hours later. After waking up from sleep mode, I sat up from the bed and stood up. I walked to the window to look outside to see the sun was slowly rising from the east with tinge of black, red and orange colors in the sky, showing the world that it was dawn. Looking at the sky, which seemed so much like the sky from my past world, I felt some nostalgia, but it soon disappeared as fast as it came. I walked away from the window and headed towards the door to exit my room. As I walked out of the room, the other sentries also walked out of their rooms in a synchronized manner with me. We headed towards the stairs and heard some commotion downstairs, so with me in the lead and the sentries following me down. We walked downstairs to see what all of the commotion was about. As soon as we were downstairs, I saw a bunch of hooligans with a fat man sitting on a stool behind the hooligans, standing in the dining hall and surrounding with the innkeeper and his family who were scared. What do you want? Asked the innkeeper. Why are you bothering us? We aren't here to bother you. We are here because both of your beautiful daughters are lucky girls since they were able to catch the eyes of our boss, the great and powerful Brockton the Razor, the leader of the Razor Dagger Gang, said the lead hooligan while gesturing towards the fat man sitting on the stool. What? Cried the innkeeper, his wife, and his eldest daughter, while the youngest daughter was confused by what's happening. Just leave us be and don't even think about touching my daughters, shouted the innkeeper with anger while he wielding a cleaver and waving it a little. You have no choice in this manner, said Brockton the Razor. These girls will be my SEX slaves, and you will not be able to stop me. Yeah, they should consider themselves lucky to be made into the property of our boss, shouted out a hooligan. Don't fight destiny, old man. Your daughters will belong to our boss, shouted another hooligan. My daughters will never belong to a fat pig like you, shouted the innkeeper, shielding his family with his body. What did you call me? Shouted Brockton. Did you call me a pig? The gang leader started to laugh. Guess I was being too kind to you, said Brockton. Men, capture this man, and bring me his daughters, and as a reward, I will let you have your way with the wife, while her husband watches you all fuck her. Long live Brockton the Razor, shouted all of the hooligans. Alright boys, let's capture the girls and father and have a lot of fun with their mother. The lead hooligan laughed. Author's note. Sorry for my late update, but last weekend I moved to my new apartment, and also my back started to hurt on Monday, so I had to go to the hospital to get some medicine. I am feeling much better now, and if you want, you can see my new apartment on my YouTube channel, Jared in Taiwan. Also, I have a Discord now, so if you want, you can talk to me on there or talk with other fans of my works. What did you call me? Shouted Brockton. Did you call me a pig? The gang leader started to laugh. Guess I was being too kind to you, said Brockton. Men, capture this man, and bring me his daughters, and as a reward, I will let you have your way with the wife, while her husband watches you all fuck her. Long live Brockton the Razor, shouted all of the hooligans. All right, boys, let's capture the girls and father and have a lot of fun with their mother. The lead hooligan laughed. As I watched the hooligans and their leader's behavior, it disgusted me about how repulsive these thugs are. As the hooligans slowly decreased their encirclement, the little girl Anna with her sister, Tina, noticed me and called out to me. Mistus, run away, cried out Anna. I was surprised by the little girl's reaction. Instead of crying out and asking for our help, she was instead worried about my safety. When the little girl cried out, her family and all of the hooligans turned around and spotted my 9 sentries and me standing between the dining hall and the entrance. While only 2 of the hooligans were a little afraid because of the hollow masks we were wearing, the rest weren't afraid of us, since they believed they had us outnumbered. What are you fuckers looking at? Cried out the pig like Brockton. If you know what's good for you, then you better scram out of here. While the fat pig gang leader was threatening me, I looked at Anna with her puppy dog-like eyes and thought about my past, and how in my past life I always wanted to have children since they can be so pure and kind until they were corrupted by the cruel and unkind world they lived in. After looking at her pure and kind eyes, I decided to help her and her family. Looks like someone doesn't know his place. I said, shouldn't you and your little piglets be in a pig pen eating slop and rolling around in mud and feces? What the fuck did I just say? Screamed the pig gang leader. Men, attack these assholes and break all 5 of their limbs. 5 limbs, 2 arms, 2 legs and the limb between the legs. Don't make me laugh. You think these puny rank 0 people can take us on? I said after scanning the power energy of these hooligans and the pig gang leader. Even your rank 1 cultivation isn't enough to take me on. What? How do you know my rank? Cried out Brockton. How I know is none of your business. I said. How about this? To make things seem fair, I will only use my thumbs and middle fingers to attack you. Are you making fun of us? Screamed Brockton with anger. I don't know how you know my cultivation, but you better beg forgiveness. My brother is the patrol captain of the city, so he can arrest you. I would like to see him try. I replied. He is probably as useless as you. Men, take these fuckers down, screamed Brockton. The first man to take one of the fuckers down can have his go with one of the daughters after I am finished with them. Oh yeah, screamed the 25 hooligans. I want to have a go with the older sister, said one of the hooligans. What are you talking about? The younger the better, don't you know? Said a fat hooligan. All you fuckers are wrong. The older they are, the riper they are, said a skinny-looking hooligan. Plus, the older they're, the more experience they have to make you feel good. Quit you yapping already and get them, yelled Brockton. When the pig like Brockton gave the order, his men started to charge at me and my sentries. I let the sentries fight on autopilot, but gave them the command to defeat them with finger flicks since I felt this would be a fun-like game, which could relieve me of some of my boredom before I head to my caravan guard job. My sentries and I also charged forward. The hooligans were mostly wielding daggers while the fat pig leader has a long sword on his belt. The movement of the hooligans were so sloppy and messed up that it felt like they were little kids attacking with the double windmill arm attack. The first hooligan tried to stab me, so I dodged to the side and grabbed his wrist with my right hand and used my left hand to flick his elbow. With one flick of my finger, his elbow was shattered, and when I let go off his wrist, his arm made a L shape. When I shattered his elbow, the hooligan cried out and dropped to his knees. This caused some of the hooligans to stop and look at the scene, but thanks to them being distracted, my sentries also shattered 3 more elbows for kneecaps and 1 jaw. 10 of the hooligans were taken out, which left 15 hooligans and their boss. The 15 remaining hooligans dropped their weapons, while some of them pissed themselves. These hooligans gave up too soon, which made this fight kind of boring. I thought they would have lasted longer and gave me some entertainment, but guess I was putting too much hope onto these bugs. Come on now, aren't you giving up too soon? I said, why don't you try to avenge your fallen brothers? Give me some more resistance. Don't make this too boring for us and give us some entertainment. What the hell are you fuckers doing? Cried out Brockton. But boss, those guys were able to take out 10 of our guys with a flick of their fingers, said one of the hooligans. That's right, boss. There's no way the few of us can take them down, cried out another hooligan. What the hell are you bitching for? Screamed Brockton. Don't you remember that we have another 20 guys outside? Everyone outside. FUCKNG, come in here and help your brothers, yelled Brockton. Once Brockton yelled out for help, 20 hooligans rushed inside, which brought me much joy. Looky here, more moths to the flame, I said. Soon, there were 35 hooligans surround us. Now this is more like it. If you don't resist, then where's the fun of crushing you to dust? I said while laughing evilly. Let's see who is crushing who when you are beg me for mercy, laughed Brockton. Now this is going to be fun, I said while looking at Brockton. I can't wait to see the despair in your eyes when we defeat all of your puny minions. The only one who will be in despair are you bitches, yelled Brockton. My sentries and I rushed into the crowd of hooligans and started to have some fun. Soon, I shattered 2 hooligans' elbows. Then a hooligan charged at me and slashed at me horizontally with his dagger. I ducked down and used both of my hands to flick both of his kneecaps, which shattered them. After I shattered the hooligan's kneecaps, a hooligan came up behind me. He used all of his strength and bashed my head with a wooden club, but when the club hit my head, it caused the clubs to splinter into dozens of pieces of wood. After the club was shattered, the hooligan was shocked and was staring at his club. With the hooligan distracted, I turned around and flicked him in his DCK, which destroyed them, turning the hooligan into a eunuch. I pushed the new eunuch out of my way and charged at 2 hooligans and flicked them in the head, shattering their skulls, causing them to die. A minute hasn't even passed since the brawl started before all of the hooligans were defeated. Most of the hooligans were now disabled people, while some were lucky and died. I turned to the gang leader, who fell off his stool with his pants drenched in his piss. I slowly started to walk towards him, and he started crawling backwards away from me. Stay away from why monsters, screamed Brockton. Why better not harm me? My brother is a patrol captain of this city. Oh look, little piggy is scared, I said. Keep winking for me, little piggy. The gang leader kept backing away until he arrived in a corner of the building and was unable to escape. You stay away from me, you hear. Brockton screamed, don't come near me. Soon, I was standing in front of Brockton and I knelt down on one knee in front of him. Now this is what I call fun, I said. Causing people like you to cower in despair and fear is really good entertainment and so much fun. Too bad it has to end so soon. You stay away from me, you hear. Brockton screamed, don't come near me. Soon, I was standing in front of Brockton and I knelt down on one knee in front of him. Now this is what I call fun, I said. Causing people like you to cower in despair and fear is really good entertainment and so much fun. Too bad it has to end so soon. No, cried Brockton. I punched Brockton in the stomach 3 times very gently but to him. It felt like he was being slammed in the stomach by a giant hammer. After the 3rd punch, he vomited up his breakfast. I then took both of his arms and broke them. Then I moved onto the legs and broke them as well. After his arms and legs were broken, I stepped back and looked at Brockton, who was still conscious and crying in pain. I feel I am missing something, I said while gazing at Brockton. That's right, didn't you want to break off all 5 of our limbs? When Brockton heard what I said, he stopped crying in pain and watched me as I lower my head and gaze below his waist. Anything but that. Brockton cried out, I will give you anything you want. Do you want money? Or how about women? Or maybe. Before he could continue talking, I placed my hand over his mouth to shut him up. I then brought my masked face closer to his face. I was looking into his eyes when he saw my dim red light eyes behind my mask, which he thought to be the eyes of the devil. He started to struggle again to escape my hand covering his mouth, but I grabbed onto the back of his head with my free hand, so he couldn't escape. Don't try to escape. We are just getting started, I whispered into his ear. Two of the sentries came forward and held down both of his legs apart. Then another sentry came forward and lifted its leg up. I turned Brockton's head forward and downwards so he could gaze below his waist. Once I positioned his head, I sent the command to sentry. The sentry stomped down with 20% of its strength and crushed Brockton's DCK and started grinding it with the sole of its foot, turning it into meat paste. Brockton started to scream with all of his breath, but you could barely hear his screams with my hand over his mouth, and I stared at him. I noticed his eyes started to roll into the back of his head, and soon he fainted. Come on, I said. I let go of him and dropped him on the floor. I started to kick him very gently in his ribs, which broke like 5 of them. He just had to faint and ruin all of the fun, I said to myself. All right, take these pieces of garbage and throw them outside, I said to the sentries while stomping on Brockton's meat paste of a DCK. Also make sure you turn them into disabled people. One of the sentries walked to the door to hold open the door, while the rest of the sentries started breaking the arms and legs of the thugs, then throwing them out of the door, with the thugs landing 15 meters away from the inn. I turned my gaze to the innkeeper and his family. He was shielding them with his body, and the wife was covering their daughter's eyes. You will stay for now, I said, but I suggest you either hire guards or move away from the city. BBU. But we don't have any money to spare for guards, and we have nowhere to go. This inn is the only home we have. After hearing his answer, I started thinking. While thinking, I noticed the youngest daughter, Anna, gazing at me with puppy dog-like eyes. I could tell she was scared because of the thugs. She escaped from her parents' arms and ran up to me. Mista, please protect my family, Anna says with tears in her eyes. I can summon some people to take you to a safe haven. My utopian empire where people of all races can live in peace and harmony. There is no crime or evil there. I said, if you go there, you will be safe. Would you like to live there? The innkeeper and his wife looked at each other, started talking with each other. What do you think, honey? Asked the innkeeper to his wife. The wife turned her head towards me and stared at me. If we move to your safe haven, will our daughters be safe? Asked the innkeeper's wife. Yes, they will be safe. I said, they can live and grow up without any worries. Let's do it. Dear, said the innkeeper's wife, if we stay here, that pig bastard will have his cousin capture us as criminals and do terrible things to our daughters. We don't have any options. All right, said the innkeeper. Please take us to your safe haven. Pack up everything you want to take with you, I said. I will leave one of my men with you. And once you're done packing, he will help carry some of your bags and take you to the east gate where you will meet 5 of my men who will take you to my safe haven. Thank you, said the innkeeper. I turned towards the entrance and started walking out, leaving one of my sentries behind. While exiting the inn, I sent some commands to some sentries in Fort Ultron to come to the Zalo City's east gate. After sending the commands, I turned my gaze to the small hill of thugs 15 meters away. I wish I could kill these bugs and get some EXP, I thought to myself, but I can't cause too much trouble by committing murder in the city. If I become a wanted person, I would need to create a new outfit and it will take longer to gather intelligence. Oh well, I sighed. I can always kill them later. I walked towards the west gate where I needed to meet the employer for the caravan guard job. Oh well, I sighed. I can always kill them later. I walked towards the west gate where I needed to meet the employer for the caravan guard job. After 20 minutes of walking through the morning crowd, I arrived at the west gate. By the west gate, I could see 4 big wagons with covers on them, surrounded by 4 wagon drivers, 6 guards, and a big fat man in red merchant clothing who looked very cheery and jolly. If only he had a white beard, then he could even pass as Santa Claus. I continued walking towards the jolly merchant, and when he saw us approach, he didn't even flinch in fear from our scary-looking masks except for his wagon drivers and one of his guards who looked like a newbie. He just smiled at us with bright face. I stopped in front of him, then I put my hand into my sleeve and used my inventory to take out the job post I received from the mercenary guild. I took out the job post from my sleeve and started reading it to find the name of the employer. When I found the name of the employer on the job post, I almost burst out in laughter, but thanks to my AI mind, I was able to control my impulse and not laugh at the employer's name, since his name and image are kind of perfect. Hello, are you the merchant Klaus? I asked. Yes, that is me, said Klaus cheerfully. Are you fine young lads, the ones who are accepting my job post from the mercenary guild? Yes, we are, I said. The cheerful merchant started gazing and inspecting us. Do you not have any weapons on you? Asked Klaus. No, we don't use weapons, I replied. How do you fight then? Asked Klaus. We are magic fighters, I replied with a random fantasy class. We use magic to reinforce our bodies, and we use martial arts to fight our enemies to dust. HOHO, said Klaus. When he said HOHO, I was snickering in my mind, expecting him to do another HO, but he didn't do. I have never heard of that kind of class before, said Klaus. It must be a new class. A lot of youngsters are doing and creating a lot of interesting things nowadays. HOHO. After looking at us again, he started counting us. Huh, said Klaus. I thought there was 10 of you. There are 10 of us, but one of us had something to do, but don't worry. He will meet us outside around 3 miles from here, I replied. HOHO. I see then, said Klaus. That should be fine. It's a pleasure to meet you young lads. Can I get your names? I am called Zero, I said while showing a ring on my finger. The ring on my finger was an exact replica of Pain's Akatsuki ring from Naruto. I then started pointing to each of the members, while the sentries also showed the Akatsuki rings on their fingers, that is blue, white, vermilion, boar, sky, south, north, 3, and the one who isn't here is ball. I see. Are those like your mercenary names? Asked Klaus. It's something like that, I replied. Very interesting. HOHO, laughed Klaus. To be young and creative. Okay, before we head out, I want 4 guards guarding each of the wagons, and since your mercenary is missing a member right now, I will have only 3 guards guarding the second wagon. Does everyone understand? The 6 guards of Klaus shouted, Understood, sir. We understand, I said. Alrighty then, off we go, said Klaus. Once the wagon drivers were on front of the wagons, we soon arrived at the west gate. But before we could leave, the guards checked some paperwork of Klaus and looked into the wagons, which took 5 minutes to complete before the guard let us leave the city. Once outside the city, we continued to head west, with Klaus sitting with the first wagon's driver, while the guards and my sentries and I walked beside the wagons in an organized fashion, being vigilant against any attacks that might come. I.S assigned to guard the first wagon. After 30 minutes, we were 3 miles away from the city of Zalos, and in the distance I could see my sentry who guided the innkeeper and his family to the sentries who came to pick up the family, waiting for us on the side of the road. Ho ho, that must be Ball, that you mentioned, said Klaus. Yes, that is him, I said. As we got closer, my sentry called Ball approached us and soon walked past the first wagon and went to the second wagon to guard it along with the other 3 guards. You and your men are really disciplined and organized, complimented Klaus after seeing Ball get into guarding position. We pride ourselves on our discipline, order, and unity. I said, if we say we are second best in terms of our unity, then no one will claim that they are first. HOHO, you are really interesting and funny guy. I'm starting to really like you, laughed Klaus. So, 5 days went by slowly with nothing happening or anything to do since no animals or bandits attacked us, but I didn't really mind since it allowed me to admire my surroundings and environment, taking everything in. It was nice to take time to see this world. Once I conquer this world, I would like to explore it and see everything with my mechanical eyes. After another 5 days, we arrived at the city of Vaughn. As we approached the city, we headed towards the inspection line for the merchant entering the city. After 20 minutes of waiting in line, it was our turn to be inspected by the city guards. The city guards inspected Klaus' papers and his wagons, which took 5 minutes. After that, the city guards let us enter the city. Once we entered the city, Klaus approached me. Here is the signed job completion form, said Klaus, handing me a piece of paper which was needed to show the mercenary guild that I completed my job. Thanks, Mr. Klaus, I said. No problems, I really like ya, and just call me Klaus, okay, laughed Klaus. Also, if I ever need a mercenary team to help me with any future jobs, I will ask the mercenary guild for your team. Klaus put out his hand for a handshake. Okay, Klaus, I said while shaking Klaus' hand. I look forward working with you on any future jobs. After shaking hands, we went our separate ways, while Klaus went off to who knows where. I went off looking for the mercenary guild of Vaughn. Ding, you have gained 6,000 XP. After shaking hands, we went our separate ways, while Klaus went off to who knows where. I went off looking for the mercenary guild of Vaughn. Ding, you have gained 6,000 XP. After hearing the system notification, I stopped in my tracks and then walked to a nearby alleyway and opened my status and checked my XP. I now have 7,008.5 XP out of 8,000 XP needed to level up. After seeing this, I checked my Hunter Sentry's memories and found that they were able to find a herd of rank 3 low beast silver apes, and they killed a wandering rank 2 low beast 2 horn wolf that was nearby as well. I don't know why my sentries couldn't find a lot of beast. The information that I gathered from the mercenary guild was that there was a lot of beast in that forest. In my last life, I did read that a lot of animals have a sixth sense that helped them sense about approaching danger. In my last life, there has been doc.u.mint evidence that showed animals running away from an area where an earthquake would occur in an area where a volcano would erupted. I am guessed that is what happened when I moved into the old dwarf fortress. Maybe the nearby beast sensed my arrival, and they sensed that I was very dangerous, so they ran away, which would be why my sentry hunting parties haven't killed a lot of beast, and why I haven't been gaining a lot of XP. I stopped looking through the sentry's memories and stopped thinking about my hypothesis. I walked back out of the alleyway and headed towards the mercenary guild. After walking for 20 minutes and asking for directions, I was able to find the mercenary guild of Vaughn. I turned in the job completion form to them and received my pay. I went to the job board and found another job notice that would require me to go to the next city, which was the city of Bona. I took the job notice and applied for it with the receptionist, and after that was complete, I left to get rooms and then gather intel on the city. I walked towards an inn that was nearby and booked 5 rooms for us, and after that was done, we went our separate ways. I headed towards the barracks that was near the city lord's castle. Once I was near the barracks, I used my scans and heat vision to see inside the barracks. In these barracks, there were 700 soldiers training and 1 commander. As I watched these soldiers train, I started scanning their power levels. All 700 of these soldiers are rank 1 low disciple warriors, and their commander was a rank 2 low disciple warrior. Out of the corner of my eye, I spotted a man walking into the barracks with a teenage boy. The teenage boy didn't have any power, but the man walking with the boy was a rank 3 disciple magician. I continued watching, and when the commander noticed the two, he bowed down on one knee, and so did the 700 soldiers. Seeing them bow, I can confirm that these two are the city lord and his son. I stopped scanning and head back to the inn. Once I was in my room at the inn, I waited for my sentries to finish their intel gathering. After 20 minutes of waiting, the sentries came back to the inn, and they all went to their own rooms. I started looking through the information that the sentries have gathered. Patrolling the city were 150 soldiers, and on the city wall were 150 soldiers stationed. After looking at all of the data, I confirmed that the city of Vaughn has 1,000 soldiers if you exclude the village militia in the surrounding villages, which I estimate only have like 10 to 20 militiamen from previous spying on villages near me through the MyHive satellite. So, the city of Zalos has a total of 700 soldiers, and if you included the 5 villages in the surrounding, with 2 villages with 10 militiamen and the remaining 3 villages with 20 militiamen, then the city of Zalos has a total of 780 military troops. Compared with the city of Vaughn's military power with the surrounding 6 village militias included, then their military power was lacking. I took out a map of this continent, which I bought this evening. As I inspect the map, I noticed that the other 2 kingdoms are to the east of the Howan Kingdom, which explains why the military power of the cities west of the Howan Kingdom is really lacking. I theorize that all of the cities in the east side of the Howan Kingdom has a lot of military power considering they are facing towards the enemy kingdoms, and since the cities on the west side aren't facing any enemies, which means they don't need a lot of military power. I really have to gather intel on the cities on the east side of the kingdom, I thought to myself. As I looked closer to the map, I spotted a lot of forts aligned on the Howan Kingdom's borders facing the other 2 kingdoms. There were 8 forts, for forts facing each enemy kingdom. Parallel to these forts were the enemy kingdom's forts. These forts much has a lot of soldiers considering they are there to protect their borders from each other. Ding, you have gained 1,000 XP. Ding, you have leveled up. Please select the cultivation rank to increase. Looks like my hunting parties have finally started being useful and found some XP for me, I thought happily. Asus, level up my magician cultivation rank, I commanded in my mind. Okay, leveling up your magician cultivation rank, said Asus. Ding, you are now a rank 6 intermediate magician. Ding, system leveling up update. You are now a rank 6 intermediate magician. If you wish to advance this rank to rank 7 advanced magician, you must kill 50 rank 7 advanced magicians alongside with gaining a level up. When I read the system update, I was shocked and my jaw figuratively dropped to the floor. Asus, what is the meaning of this? I screamed in my mind. This is part of the leveling up system, to give you a challenge and not make your conquest of this world too easy, stated Asus. Each time you level up a rank to a certain point, the difficulty to increase it will also increase. Once you become a rank 7 advanced magician, you will need to kill 100 rank 8 mages. Oh well, I thought to myself, at least my conquest of this world and leveling up in this world will be more of a challenge and will be able to entertain me. If it was too easy then this world would be too boring for me.